The story begins with the protagonist asking readers, if they had the opportunity to be reborn, what would they want to accomplish in their new life? The girl wants to be a popular movie star when she grows up. She asked what Yuebin dreams of becoming when she grows up. The guy replied that he wanted to combine all forms: dragon, snake, tiger, leopard, elephant, crane. Yuebin wants to become the greatest martial arts master. He will protect the girl with his fists and beat anyone who tries to harm her. The girl was embarrassed. She thought that Yuebing knew how to win a lady's heart. The girl's father had recently gotten a promotion, and her family would be moving to the capital tomorrow. Yuebin was very surprised. In the near future, the two will not be able to see each other. The girl suggested that they promise each other that they will go to Feicheng Language University, where they will realize their dreams. The girl asked her not to forget her. Her name was Junlin, which means beloved and graceful. Yuebing, on emotion, quickly ran somewhere. He was overflowing with energy. He felt that he should practice. The guy jogged over to the martial arts hall, an ancient sign hanging on it. He is out of breath and asked his grandfather to teach him kung fu soon, because he wants to become a great master. Grandpa practiced kung fu with Yuebin. He was a strict teacher, but never blamed for lack of interest. Grandpa said that from that day on, they would not practice anymore. Yuebing's grandfather was sitting in front of the TV. He said that it could be considered that Chinese kung fu no longer existed. At the time, Yuebin didn't realize how serious it was. The scene that was shown on TV left a huge mark on his life and the entire martial arts community. The bout was over, and the winner was China's first MMA rookie Ji Yuanfeng. In this competition, the modern style was up against traditional martial arts, and Mr. Taekwondo couldn't do anything. The heart of Yuebing's grandfather could not bear such an offense, and he soon passed away. China began to develop vigorously. Everything around them changed. Their small town where the guy grew up started to expand. Then, it became a capital city. It was the year 2018. Someone called out to a boy who was standing in the street and asked him to stop for a moment. It was a man in a bear suit, inviting the guy to study martial arts and join his sect. He was advertising his 7-form dojo. A month of training there cost 300 yuan. The boy was very frightened of the bear and cried. The child had already turned around. He was alone in the street and was very scared. The boy called out to his mom. The man in the bear suit tried to calm the child down and was ready to make a discount for him. At this time, the child's mom came up. She yelled at the man and hit him. She thought that no one wanted to learn martial arts anymore. Underneath the bear suit was Yuebing. He was 28 years old, a master of the 7 forms of martial arts, still unmarried. Today, he failed to find disciples again. If this continued, he would definitely starve to death. At this moment, Yuebin heard the news that the world-famous movie star Junlin was getting married and was being broadcast live from the scene. The engagement was sponsored by a jewelry store. It is going to release its anniversary products. The television showed the groom placing the engagement ring on his bride's ring finger. The engagement was complete. The groom is an executive of Hu International Company. His name is Yang Feng, and the bride in her 30s has been honored with many local and world awards. The girl advertised her engagement ring and thanked all the guests for their congratulations. Yuebing thought that Junlin was still just as beautiful despite the passage of so many years. The guy realized that they were no longer in the same world. Their lives were drastically different. But if Yuebing hadn't lost that match, he would still have a chance to be with her. In the past, Yuebin had broken his forearm during one of his matches and the limb was separated. The guy was lying on the floor all beaten up, tears streaming from his eyes because of the defeat. Because of such serious injuries, Yuebin would never be able to fight again. Baker had treated his arm too harshly. Traditional Chinese kung fu now found itself defeated by modern martial arts. This night was the doom of kung fu. Yuebing was going to use the tournament money to buy himself a big house and for it to be nice enough to marry this girl. And in the end, Yuebing lost his hand. One hold and it was over. He felt sorry that he wouldn't be able to fulfill his promise. Night came. Yuebin returned to his apartment. He received a notification on his phone. They wrote to him that they were inviting all the old classmates to a reunion, including Yuebin, and they were meeting at the Haizheng Tai Chi Hotel. Yuebing felt that this would be a good opportunity for Huang Yao to show off. He was going to refuse. At that moment, another message notification came to the guy's phone. Yuebing was shocked when he read it. He didn't expect to see this. He was texted that Junlin was also coming, and it would also be her birthday. Yuebing had time to think. This news had excited him. Now he was going to come to the meeting, and it was all because of Junlin. The guy really wanted to see her. Even though deep inside Yuebing kept telling himself no, he still came anyway. The guy was very nervous before meeting her. Yuebing brought a present with him and hoped that Junlin would like it. The guy heard him being talked about from behind closed doors. Yuebing thought that someone remembered him after all. He kept hesitating to go inside the hotel. His classmates thought he wouldn't show up because he didn't fit in with the others and doesn't want to embarrass himself. The former class chairman didn't want to invite him either. It was the headman who said to do it. He stealthily approached the guys. The class president was Yang Feng, and he apologized for insisting on inviting Yue Bing. The class chairman immediately started sucking up to him and decided to toast him. Yang Feng explained that his fiancée would appear a little later. He also felt that there was no need to wait for Yue Bing since he definitely wouldn't show up. Yang Feng was going to go socialize with other people and not bother the guys anymore. Yue Bing was shocked that Junlin's fiancée was also here. Plus, he was basically the one who invited the guy. The guys thought Yue Bing's life was miserable. Wrestling could have given him a bright future, but unfortunately, he broke his arm. Some thought he should have given up then. After all, it was just a petty competition. The chairman felt that it didn't matter whether the guy would have lost or given up. After all, he was still on the losing end. He asked if the guys knew who the organizer of the match was. Turns out it was Hu's group, the same group that invited the King of Invasions to China. Brother Hu wanted Junling to be his girlfriend, but it wasn't working out because of Yue Bin, so he decided to get rid of him. The guys thought that the headman had invited Yue Bing to this meeting to sprinkle salt on the wound. The boy heard all this and became very angry. Yue Bing remembered seeing Junling on TV. He wasn't sure if she would be happy if he killed her fiancé. Yue Bing felt that if he did that, he would ruin Junlin's life. The guy's life was already ruined, so he had nothing to lose. Yue Bing felt that that time had already passed, and this world was already closed to him. He let the gift out of his hands. At that moment, someone called out to Yue Bin and said that he had dropped something. The guy replied that he didn't need it anymore. It was Junlin. She thought it was a fan who had left a gift in a strange way. She was going to open it. Junling looked at Yue Bin's wake and was very surprised. She couldn't believe her eyes. Junling shouted after Yue Bin. She asked him to wait. Yue Bin seemed familiar. She felt like she knew him. She asked if the guy's name was Yue Bin. The guy replied that he didn't know any Yue Bin and thought the girl was confusing him with someone else. The gift to the girl was a starry night ring of endless love. It was to be given to the one he loved the most. Yue Bing turned around and looked at Junlin. He was shocked after all. He didn't expect to meet her there. When Junlin saw this gift, she immediately realized that Yue Bing was in front of her. She was very happy to meet him. Yue Bing was about to leave this place. He never thought that they would meet there. Yue Bing decided to start a dialogue. He said that they hadn't seen each other for a long time. At that time, a huge truck was driving down the road, its headlights on. Yue Bin noticed the truck. He was shocked. The guy didn't know what to do. The truck was flying at full speed. It wasn't going to stop for the guys. Zhang Lingna drove straight at Zhang Ling. She was standing on the road. At this time, Yue Bing was standing next to her. There were sounds of collision. It was clear that Zhang Lina had crashed into a person. There was blood on the ground. The truck drove forward some more and stopped. Zhang Ling was sitting on the pavement. She was alive, however. The girl was crying and calling Yue Bing's name. The guy pushed her away. The girl cried and asked why Yue Bin did it and why he was such a fool. Yue Bin was lying on the ground. He had serious injuries. Junlin told him not to move. She was going to call an ambulance. Yue Bing was pondering the situation at this time. It seemed strange to him, after all. It was forbidden to drive a heavy vehicle here. Plus, this truck wasn't honking. It wasn't even trying to slow down. Yue Bin realized that this was not an accident at all, and everything was planned. A masked man got out of the truck. This man wanted to run over Junlin and end it all. He never thought that someone would get in his way. The man presented the gun to Junling's temple. The girl was in a stupor and cried bitterly. The man's task was to take Junlin's life. He was ruthless and had no intention of stopping. The man smirked. He said goodbye to Junlin and was ready to execute his plan as well. The girl smiled and said that if they were to be reborn, they should continue practicing martial arts. She asked them not to forget her name. Yue Bing screamed. He didn't want to believe what had happened. A gunshot was heard. That shot sounded like the ringing of bells. Yue Bing gradually started to lose consciousness, and while the life was slowly leaving the guy, he remembered a story. It was a story about a butterfly that flapping its wings in Iowa can cause an avalanche of effects that can be seen as far away as Indonesia. It's the butterfly effect. The day Chinese Kung Fu died completely ruined the guy's life. In fact, that fight was inevitable, but Yue Bing was not okay with it. He couldn't accept that he would die this way. If Yue Bing could live his life one more time, he would be the wisest person on the planet. Yue Bing suddenly woke up in his room. He was lying on the bed and didn't understand what had happened. The TV was on in his room. There was a news program on. The presenter said that tomorrow is the opening ceremony of the first Olympic Games in Beijing in the year 2008. Yue Bing was shocked that it was the 2008th year. He didn't understand what had happened and how this could be. Yue Bing walked out of the house and quickly went to the mountain. He was very out of breath, however. He kept climbing. His grandfather had told him that there were many martial arts schools in this world, but there were not many great masters. The one who knows all the techniques are above other great masters, and to reach the top, a guy needs to master all 7 techniques. Yue Bing was standing on top of a hill. The weather around was warm and a light breeze was blowing. Yue Bing realized that there weren't many skyscrapers in the city. The air was quite clean. This was how his city was 10 years ago. He realized that he had been reborn. This time the guy was going to follow his dream step by step and get it all back. Yue Bing was determined to become a great martial arts master and revive Kung Fu. In the 2006 year, the shares of most electronic companies were cheap. Yue Bing was going to buy them and wait until the 2018 year. In 2008 year, the average real estate price in the city was small. In 10 years, it would skyrocket. Yue Bing was going to buy a few apartments and then rent them out. In the 2008 year, there are several popular games that are not yet fully developed. Yue Bing would like to buy the company and become the CEO. The next 10 years would see an economic boom, and now Yue Bing was caught in the beginning of the golden decade. Yue Bing thought he had all the winning cards and was going to blow his life apart. But in this life, Yue Bing has one duty that he will have to fulfill. And it's a chore. Even though Yue Bing is reborn, he's limited by his own abilities and money. That is why there is a saying, even if one can be reborn in this life, nothing will change. At this moment, Yue Bing's father walked into the room, and he thought it was strange that his son was cleaning up. After all, he was going to an internet cafe. Yue Bing replied that he saw that the house was dirty and decided to clean it up. He asked his father to bring the groceries to the kitchen because he was going to cook dinner. Yue Bing's father abruptly dropped the grocery bag on the floor. Yue Bing turned around in surprise. His father noticed that Yue Bing went to the internet cafe every day and rarely came home. His father didn't understand why his son decided to do the cleaning today. Yue Bing took away the cigarette. He had told him many times not to smoke. After all, smoking is very bad for health. He said his father should not worry about going to university. Yue Bing was strongly insisted to enroll in Fei Cheng's language school. The father didn't recognize his son. He even thought the man was possessed by a ghost. A few days later, Yue Bing received a package. He hurriedly opened it. It was an enrollment letter from Fei Cheng University. Yue Bing was accepted as a student for the 2008 year. Yue Bing's father cried with happiness and spoke to his late wife's picture. For his son would be the first person in the family's history to receive a higher education. The father was willing to sell the house and liquidate all their assets just to send their son to university. Yue Bing told his father not to exaggerate. After all, students were like grass right now. But it had actually become quite popular already. Father yelled at Yue Bing. After all, this university was special. He had already found all the information about it on the internet. This university is on the first place in the province. Besides, there is a very large number of beauties there. Yue Bing's father really wanted his son to come back with a beautiful girl for the vacations, and then he could become a grandfather in a few years. Yue Bing wouldn't be fazed by such talk. His father told his son to study hard and not to practice confab, because his knowledge would not feed Yue Bing. There was not enough money for the boy's studies and living expenses, so father decided to sell the house. Half of the money will go to Yue Bing's education, half will be invested in a small business. In the past life, Yue Bing's father also sold the house. And in fact, the relationship in their household is not so good. In that life, his father also started a small business, but then the economic crisis happened and they lost money. Also because of this boom, the house skyrocketed in value after a couple years and there was no way they could buy it back. My father became depressed. Yue Bing got angry. He didn't want his father to pitch the house. He was willing to work things out about the tuition himself. The tuition for 1 year is 5,000 yuan. With everything else, he will need about 10,000. Yue Bing really wished that his father didn't have to worry about him. After all, he could solve everything on his own. A little later, Yue Bing was practicing his punches in the forest. He was trying to diffuse his emotions. In this life, the guy has to make sure that his family comes to power and will then live long and prosper, even better than Hu Shi's family. 2 months later, it was time to check in at the university, the older students helping the newcomers with their luggage. 2 girls passed by Yue Bing. They were surprised at the guy's appearance and asked since when, and the school started enrolling African students. Yue Bing was standing near a cherry blossom tree. He had entered this university again. In his past life, he had promised to meet Jun Lin again under the famous love tree of the campus. But in his past life, he couldn't keep his promise. The sight of this tree makes Yue Bing feel nostalgic. He never thought that he would be reliving his college years again. The guy was going to take a picture of the cherry blossoms as a keepsake. He pulled out his phone. As suddenly, someone came up to him from behind and disturbed the guy. Yue Bing turned around in surprise. He didn't expect anyone to approach him. There was a girl in front of Yue Bing. She apologized and wanted to ask Yue Bing something. At this moment, Yue Bing recalled a scene from his past life as well, how Jun Ling asked him not to forget her and told him what her name meant. Yue Bing was surprised that he remembered this particular scene. This time when he thought about it, he felt unusual. Jiang Ling stood in front of Yue Bing. She smiled welcomingly and asked if Yue Bing knew how to get to the girls' dormitory. Yue Bing still had very hazy memories of his past life. At that time, Jun Ling recognized Yue Bing and was surprised that they went to the same university. The girl smiled in her past life. She noticed that it had been a really long time and suggested that they have dinner together tonight because there was a lot of catching up to do. Yuebing then replied that he needed to help his guild raid the boss and offered to talk another time. And now Yuebing decided that things were going to be different. He was going to go from a boy to a real man. His body started to move on its own. He hugged Junlin tightly and wasn't going to let her go. The girl stammered, her face flushed. She didn't seem very pleased with the gesture. Junling slapped Yuebing and called him a pervert. Yuebing didn't expect such a reaction. Yuebin had nothing else to do but to go to the men's dormitory to check in. The boy came to room 419. This would be where he would spend his college years. Yuebin failed. Not only would the guy not be recognized by Junling, but probably by his own parents as well. At least Yuebing managed to take a photo of Junlin in front of the sakura tree. From behind, someone praised the photo. From behind, a guy came up to Yuebin. He thought that Yuebin was not bad since he managed to take a picture of Junlin on the first day. This guy startled Yuebin. He asked why the guy who entered didn't make a sound. It was his roommate. This guy's name is Shuda. He lives in the dormitory longer than anyone else. The guy is a real intellectual. After graduating from university in the vulgar life, he married a beautiful wife. Shuda was about to reveal information about Zhongling. After all, there were only 17 people gathering information about Zhongling. Among them, 7 were capable of striking up a conversation with her. And among 7 people, no one can get her phone number or email. Yuebing was surprised that his neighbor had only just arrived and already managed to take away so much information. Shuda felt that Yuebin needed to look forward to the future. At one moment, a book on the shelf caught the guy's attention. It was a martial arts manual. Shuda didn't expect Yuebing to know kung fu. Yuebing revealed that he used to be trained by his grandfather. When Yuebing was going through his grandfather's things, he came across this book and took it with him. Shuda was glad to have this manual in his hands. He was going to read, and perhaps thus learn kung fu. Yuebing took the book from Shuda with sadness in his voice. The introduced thought that it was all useless. After all, martial arts need to be trained with the body, and many guidelines are passed down from generation to generation and are hard to unlearn. Yuebing knew from the Reformation romances that people could achieve great success by copying books and music. However, Yuebing didn't really know what to do. He thus asked his late grandfather about it. Meanwhile, in the women's dorm room, someone was very angry and thought the new students were like savages. The angry girl's name was Jo Chi. She was angered with an axe in her hands that the prettiest of the new students was being harassed on her first day. Her friend felt that right now, they should focus on the current goal. After all, they shouldn't let Junlin feel resentful. The girl was shocked that it was only their school, and anything could happen in the future. Zhongling herself thought that it was better not to report to the police. Perhaps Yuebing was just mistaken. However, Jo Chi thought that such a person should not be allowed to roam free. She was convinced that guys at that age only thought of one thing, and that was girls. However, Junlin noticed that when Yuebin hugged her, it was very sincere. And even if he's a little darker than usual, he's not a bad guy. Her friend thought it was Stockholm Syndrome. Jo Chi also wanted to touch Zhongling, if that was all it was about. One of the girls asked if the others were free this weekend. Her classmate was organizing a meeting. She suggested we go to it. Meanwhile, Shuda was showing Yuebin his computer. It was completely full of very dynamic movies. Shuda asked what genres Yuebing wanted to watch. In all one-language school, no one had such a large collection of movies. Yuebin replied that he was already grown up and told his friend to watch such a thing himself. Shuda added that he might have movies with an actress who looks like Junlin. He has several. Yuebin's mood immediately changed. He gave his neighbor an email and asked him to send the movies to him. Shuda suggested to Yuebin to go out this weekend because his school friend is throwing a party. Yuebin said yes. Meanwhile, night had fallen. It was 3 in the morning. Yuebing went to the dormitory's restroom. Yuebin was not feeling well. He had run to the toilet 3 times this evening, because the food Soida had given him had caused food poisoning. Yuebing didn't take the toilet paper because he panicked. He took his grandfather's old allowance instead. Yuebin's phone is lying beside the pillow and there is no way to call Shuda. Yuebing's grandfather had spent a lot of effort to come up with instructions on the 7 forms of combat, but Yuebing still decided to tear off 2 blank pages. Yuebin apologized to his grandfather. Even though Chinese wrestling is dead, he promised to change that in the future. At this moment, strange sounds were heard. Someone shouted that Chinese kung fu was not dead. Yuebin was shocked. He didn't understand who was talking to him since he was the only one in the bathroom. At this moment, Yuebing noticed something on the floor near his feet. Yuebinu saw blood dripping from his grandfather's allowance onto the floor. The voice said that there were some important things Yuebinu needed to listen to. The voice explained that a grandmaster can only live once, but martial arts live forever. The voice asked if Yuebing wanted to become a grandmaster. The strange voice began to explain that there were 7 kinds of creatures born by nature. It was a dragon, a snake. The voice continued that the other creatures are the tiger cheetah and the elephant. And the two remaining creatures born of nature were the crane and the monkey. They are all beasts, 7 forms and millions of kinds of beasts. Meanwhile, Yue Bing was underwater. The voice asked Yue Bing if he wanted to learn the secrets to become a grand master of all 7 forms. Yue Bing didn't understand who was saying this, and whether he was asking if the guy wanted to become a great martial artist. Yue Bing had indeed been reborn. However, the wheel of fate had already begun to turn, changing its direction in this life. He must not be idle. The man who broke his arm is the Grappling King, and also the Chinese conglomerate, Hu Chou and the Mercenary. These are all enemies Yue Bing is about to face. If a guy wants to defeat these powerful enemies, he needs to get stronger. Yue Bing shouted that if by becoming a great master he got rid of the regret of his past life, then he was ready. The strange creature liked Yue Bing's answer, for it was without hesitation. It was the monkey suit that spoke. She invited Yue Bing to go through to the 7 forms of Forbidden Grounds. The monkey is the guardian of this place. Yue Bing didn't realize where he had gotten to, since he had only torn out 2 pages from the manual. He just needed some peace and quiet. Monkey was running around Yue Bing. She was very happy that she was finally able to meet the current owner of the management. Yue Bing tearfully replied that he wanted to learn martial arts. Monkey didn't like Yue Bing's behavior and slapped him. It still didn't get to the guy. Ben was just a warden. He had nothing to teach Yue Bing. The monkey showed the guy the prison cells around. The only people who could teach them anything to Yue Bing were the most famous figures in the history of the 7 Forms clan in the cells. They were called the 7 Sins, and each prison cell had a different hieroglyph on it. Ben begged to start with the one closest to the Yue Bing era, the great master of the crane style from the Ming dynasty. At the same moment, the crane style master's cell door was kicked open. Ben and Yue Bing were very surprised by this. The door flew behind their backs with great speed. Yue Bing understood that these doors weighed several hundred kilograms. He was surprised that it was a person who pushed them aside so easily. There was some non-human sound coming from the chamber. Yue Bing thought that what was happening was like art movies. Ben explained that masters can make specific sounds, internal and external sounds. The external sound comes from the movement of the hands and feet. Such a sound is called the roar of sinew and bone. The old man in the cell is just warming up because he's been restrained for too long. Yue Bing tensed up, no doubt. He was intimidated by the sounds coming out. A man appeared from the cell. He was very terrifying and looked more like a ferocious monster. In an instant, the shackles fell from his hands. He was finally free. In an instant, Yue Bing no longer saw the master. He had moved somewhere out of his sight with great speed. Yue Bing realized that this person's movements were simply too fast, and his eyes couldn't follow him. Master thought that Yue Bing was just a little kid who still had milk on his lips. Master was certain that scum like Yue Bing was definitely not worthy of learning the crane style. This person ran behind Yue Bing's back and thought that he should die in this prison. Master was going to use the crane-style killing technique. Yue Bing remembered how he used to think that the crane style was too boring. He asked his grandfather to teach him some fighting techniques. Grandfather believed that this was not the most important thing in battle. There was a 4th technique in leadership that only a great master could impart. This 4th technique is called assassination. It is used to kill people. Meanwhile, the crane-style master from behind ran at Yue Bing, about to finish him off. He was going to do it without spilling a drop of the enemy's blood using a special killing technique. Yue Bing had already imagined how he would be buried, and how his parents would mourn him. If Yue Bing was a split second slower, then his head would leave his body. All these things he sees in his head becoming reality. However, luckily for him, Ben came to the rescue in time and used the lightning strike technique. This technique amazed the master, and lightning bolts appeared all around. Yue Bing explained that the old man was just playing a prank on the guy. Yue Bing was shocked that it was the old man, because he was obviously trying to kill him. Master wouldn't teach Yue Bing even if he was tortured. He believed that all these techniques were either stolen or a false parody. Yue Bing stated that this martial art was taught to him by his grandfather. He was a follower of the crane technique. The master laughed. He thought it was truly one of the funniest jokes he'd ever heard. The master's name was Chu Yi Nao, and he was the last follower of the crane technique, a martial arts manual that had been thrown into the river. Yue Bing realized that Grandpa was not a follower of a 7-species martial arts master. Yue Bing didn't want to learn from the master anymore. He turned around and walked away. Ben tried to stop him because only Yue Bing could enter this place. Yue Bing said that after the defeat of Chinese martial arts, they were questioned. Right now, there are a bunch of foreign arts represented in mixed martial arts competitions, but no Chinese martial arts. Yue Bing reacted so emotionally to this that he cried. It really upsets him that everyone is saying that Chinese martial arts are dead and their masters are frauds. Chu Yi Nao had never heard of other martial arts. The world had changed since he left, and now there was an arena to showcase Chinese kung fu. Master was convinced that the world had really changed. He wanted to ask Yue Bing something. Chu Yi Nao also cried. He asked if he passed the technique to Yue Bing, would he be able to show the power of Chinese martial arts on the world stage. Yue Bing was sure of it. He was going to beat them all up and talk to them with his fist. Chu Yi now said that he would wait for that day to see everything with his own eyes. Yue Bing and Ben Ben were already excited. They knew exactly what this meant. Master was still going to accept Yue Bing as a disciple. His teaching method was not for the faint of heart. Bin Bing was pleased. He offered to make the guys master and apprentice. Yue Bing was going to not disappoint Chu Yi now. The master was not clear about Yue Bin's background. However, his passion for Chinese martial arts shows that his character is not bad. Even Chu Yi now is not as passionate as Yue Bing. This seemed incredible to the master. However, the guys soon found out that Yue Bin wasn't really crying. He was using eye drops. Ben Ben and Chu Yi now were angry that Yue Bing had fooled them. Ben Ben tried to smooth things over. He said there was no need for formalities and you could start practicing right away. Yue Bing then began to learn martial arts. Time flows differently in the 7 forms of forbidden lands. And in the outside world, 1 day in this realm is 1 minute in the outside world. So even if it was only 1 night, Yue Bing had lived for 10 days in this area. The next day came. Shu Da was trying to wake Yue Bing up. After all, it was already noon, and if he didn't hurry up, all the delicious food in the dining hall would be eaten by others. Yue Bin replied that he was awake, but he might need some help to get to the dining room. Yue Bing balls exhausted after such hard training. Shu Da thought the guy had been watching adult movies with an actress similar to Jun Lin all night. Shu Da noticed that Yue Bing's hand wasn't so swollen yesterday. The guy wondered how his hands had gotten so rough overnight. Shu Da even thought that his arms might have gotten stronger because of watching adult movies. This made the guy laugh. On this day, something incredible happened in the canteen of Feicheng Language School. In all the years of operation, no one had ever done such a thing before. A student appeared who managed to eat 23 beds of Nova rice with egg. No one knows who it was. It was Yue Bing. Shu Da, he had never seen someone who ate so much before. He asked if last night was good. Yue Bing said yes. The training methods of the great master of the crane technique were really cruel. If this continued, Yue Bing wouldn't be able to endure. At this moment, the guys heard someone cheering that Senior Hu Yao had come to the university today. Shu Da has heard this guy's name more than a few times during his time at the university. He has a good academic record and a family business. A group of girls surrounded Hu Yao. They admired him and were big fans of the guy. Yue Bing remembered that in his previous life, the guys were responsible for him breaking his arm, but in this life, he was completely different. Yue Bing was going to not let this event happen again. He was determined. Nowadays, the language school is rapidly developing, so it is very difficult to find a beautiful and quiet place in the middle of the city. Shu Da and Yue Bing came to Tutsheng Park, which was near the school. Shu Da liked to eat lunch and meditate there. Yue Bing thought about spring hovering around and about the beautiful girl in his arms. However, no matter how hard he tried, even after 4 years of college, he wouldn't have a girlfriend. The quiet park is only frequented by the elderly. Yue Bing thought he could come here in the mornings and practice, run and meditate. Now that Yue Bing thought about it, he found it very useful. Shu Da called out to his friend and asked him to look at something. In front of the guys was an old grandfather who practiced Tai Chi. However, that wasn't what Shu Da wanted to show him. Behind the old man was a beautiful girl. Shu Da wanted to show off her dazzling white legs. The guys didn't understand why someone like her was in this park. The girl noticed that she was being watched, and it seemed to be freshmen. The girl winked at Shu Da and sent him an air kiss. Shu Da was shocked at this kind of attention. Yue Bin explained that the girl was literally teasing the guy. At this time, her bag was next to the girl. Someone reached out and grabbed it. It looked like a robbery. The man grabbed the girl's bag and ran away. The girl screamed that the bag contained her wallet. She called for help. Yue Bing stood right in the path of the robber. Shu Da told Yue Bing to step aside. Shu Da was worried and shouted that this man was running straight at Yue Bing, and the guy was clearly no competition for him. The robber had a knife in his hand. He was going to stab Yue Bin, who wants to stop him. Yue Bing remembered training with the master. Chu Yi now had explained that Yue Bing could not perform the second method until he had fully mastered the previous method. The master added that he would like Yue Bing to use the method to build up his body mass for at least a year, so that he would lay a good foundation. During Yue Bin's childhood, his grandfather also always emphasized the importance of education and fundamentals. The knife-wielding robber flew straight at the guy. Yue Bing closed his eyes and concentrated. The boy remembered everything his master and grandfather had taught him. He was going to apply his techniques. At one moment, something strange happened. A bang was heard. The girl didn't realize what had happened. She turned around sharply to look at the mugger. But the robber was sealed into the wall. He was unconscious. No one realized what it was. The man had his teeth knocked out and was bleeding from the wear. He was punished for his actions. Yue Bing quickly went home. Shu Da noticed that that beautiful girl wanted to come over to thank him, but Yue Bing ran away. Shu Da knows that Yue Bing likes Junling, but he could have used this opportunity to meet the girl himself. Yue Bing already knew in his past life that he would not have relationships with girls in the future. and nothing would bud between a guy and this beauty. The girl's name was Manji. She's well off, and people can take things from her and she won't even notice. Her grandfather came to visit, and Manji said that she wasn't focused at that moment, and it won't happen again next time. The girl was angry because she wanted to sincerely thank Yue Bing, but he ran away. Mengji thought that Yue Bin was just lucky and his opponent tripped over his own foot and Yue Bin could have been stabbed. Her grandfather explained that it was not luck. Yue Bing must have been a student of a prestigious martial arts school. After all, when ordinary people face an attack from the front, they retreat because of their subconscious. This will not only hinder the attack, but also make their center of gravity unstable. But Yue Bing accurately dodged his opponent's knife attack and rushed into the vacuum zone and turned it into a strong counterattack. People who can do such a thing must stand on their feet very steadily. Yue Bing's feet had grown like old trees into the ground. Manji was surprised because Yue Bin looked very thin but appeared strong. Grandpa explained that some people deliberately make themselves look weaker. Manji's third uncle asked her to come to one of his tournaments. For the past few years, he'd been organizing boxing matches. Grandpa didn't think there was much money to be made from underground boxing matches. Of Grandpa's 3 sons, only the third one likes gambling the most, and it's sure to hurt him. Grandpa was tired of his son provoking him every time. Manji tried to calm the grandfather down because he was still young. Grandpa will always protect their family. Even if it is strong wind or rain with him, their family is invincible. Mengji thought Yue Bin's bravery was just extravagant. She had to thank him. At that moment, Manji, along with her grandfather, approached the other costumed men who looked fierce. There were so many of them. They lined up in front of the limousine and all bowed their heads to Mr. Feye. The girl didn't understand how Yue Bing could be so strong. Meanwhile, underground fights were taking place. This place was called the Underground Tigers Club, and today, the queen of underground fights was performing. Dance. And if the girl wins today's game, the next game will be a title defense match, and if it is successful, she will receive a bonus of 100,000 units. The girl was determined. She only had 2 matches left. It was going to be over very quickly. Dance fought her opponent, his face contorted in pain. The girl used a chokehold. The girl believed that violence was always the most effective way to achieve the surrender of an opponent first physically and then spiritually. Fang Tian slammed the ring a few times, which meant he was giving up. The girl was happy to win. She was dancing and had already won her 11th consecutive match. Boundless energy was hidden in her body. Dance did a few somersaults around the ring, with fans cheering her on. The girl believed that once the human spirit submits to violence, things like fear or cowardice, all weaknesses are revealed in human nature. In any case, the girl could not live without violence. The use of violence awakened courage in her. Dance did numerous backflips and stood on the edge of the ring with 1 foot. She assumed a graceful pose. Fans from the stands shouted Dance's name. She rejoiced in victory. The girl combined dance and violence. She looked forward. Meanwhile, Chu Yinao was explaining to Yue Bing that the crane fist was divided into 4 steps: learning, playing, fighting, and killing. And the beginning of each step of the fist contained a skill. This skill is called White Crane Spreading Wings. There is also a mysterious killing method. However, the master was not going to teach Yue Bing this. Yue Bing had heard that only a master of the killing method could become a grandmaster. He wanted to learn how to kill. Chu Yinao explained that the killing method was a supreme killing technique. He believed that one could not become a true master by possessing only this power. Chu Yinao continued that if Yue Bing wanted to become a master, he must find his own destiny, no matter if it violated the current laws. The master believed that in this era of bloodshed, there was no need to continue killing. Yue Bing wondered what it meant to seek his own destiny. He didn't quite understand what the teacher meant. So, it was time to start practicing the FA method. Master and Ben Ben looked intimidating. They said that Yue Bin was forbidden to die. Crane fighting has a certain style called a routine, and the practice is a set of many individual techniques. If Yue Bing wants to learn this method, he must first understand the routine. Yue Bing began to repeat the movements of the master who was showing him how to place his hands and feet. The guy should imagine that the enemy was in front of him and feel his movement. Time quickly flew by in the forbidden lands of the 7 martial art forms. 3 days had already passed. Yue Bing didn't expect to be so tired after doing the fixed movement routine exercise. However, after these days, he feels much stronger. Yue Bing noticed that the master didn't even break a sweat while training with him. Apparently, this is the gap between the guy and the guru. The master told the guy to diligently train further. Right now, Chu Yinao wants to teach Yue Bing the method, 1 crane soaring through the sky. Yue Bing explained that in his time it was called parkour. It's just that parkourists are more flexible than normal people. Master asked Yue Bing to let Yue Bing show him this method, and then the guy could decide if he wanted to learn it. The master disappeared in the blink of an eye. Yue Bing didn't even realize where he had gone. Chu Yinao was moving very fast. Simply at the speed of light, it was impossible to keep track of the advances. The master quickly ran along the walls. He had incredible speed and agility. In an instant, the master pushed himself off the ground and jumped high, showing the guy all his skills. Chu Yi now asked what Yue Bing thought about this technique now. Yue Bin thought that the master had the technique of Marvel superheroes, and it looks like a real version of Spider-Man. The master explained that a guy had to endure adversity if he wanted to learn this impressive skill. Ben tried to calm Yue Bin down. He told him to relax. The guy had a bad feeling. At the same moment, a loud scream was heard. The ordeal for Yue Bing was very hard. Yue Bing returned to the real world. At this time, Senior had already come to fetch Shu Da, and the latter had brought Yue Bing with him. The elder ordered Zhang Lina for the guys, however. There was only room for one. There was no room for Yue Bin. Turns out Senior bought this Zhang Lina with his own money earned from his part-time job. Shu Da thought it was admirable that the guy earned so much as a student. He asked what kind of job it was. The elder replied that Shu Da was not up to this job. He looked very arrogant. Yue Bing said that he would get there himself, and asked him to give him the address of the place. Shu Da replied that it was too far away. Yue Bin was about to run to the place the guy asked to call him when the guys got to that place. Looks like Yue Bing wasn't kidding. He rushed away from the guys. They didn't even have anything to say. This place is more than 10 kilometers away from them. The elder thought it was unusual. Shu Da thought that Yue Bing was joking. Zhou Qi waved her hand at the senior. Senior knew that the girls' middle school class was next to Shu Da's class. Shu Da's attention was caught by something. He was looking intently at the girl behind Zhou Ji. It was Jun Lin. She was considered this year's new beauty. The guy thought she was prettier in real life than in the photo. Yue Bing was standing on the roof of one of the buildings. He realized the direction of the address his friend had given him. At this time, on a city street, a boy asked his mom if superpowers existed. Mom said they didn't. She told her son not to watch action movies because they teach you how to jump from heights. From that day on, the boy's TV time is reduced to half an hour. Mom was already angry because her son wouldn't listen to her when she was having a serious conversation with him. The boy's attention was caught by something behind his mom's back. He looked at it with surprise. Yue Bin was there, jumping from one roof to another. The boy thought he was flying in the sky. Mom turned around, however, there was nothing behind her back. The boy said he wasn't lying. The mom got angry. She was going to slap the kid. The boy tried to justify himself. The boy thought that superheroes really exist, and Yue Bin is one of them. At this time, Yue Bing swiftly reached the address that Shu Da had discounted to him. This entertainment club should be in Yue Bing's neighborhood. It was an unfamiliar place for a guy. Yue Bing thought that the most important thing was to enter first. The guy also needed to call his friend and tell him that he was already there. The older man didn't realize how he did it. At this time, the boys were on their way to their destination, and were only halfway there. Shu Da revealed that Yue Bing had already arrived, and he would wait for them outside the club first. The senior thought that Yue Bing was lying after all. It was impossible for a cab to arrive before they did. Junling was surprised that Shu Da's roommate Shu Da is Yue Bing. The guy asked what's the big deal. Junlin explained that she knows someone with the same name as Yue Bin, but it's probably all more of a coincidence. The girl added that it was just a childhood friend she was playing with at the time. She hadn't seen him in years. Shu Da explained that his neighbor might be different from what the girl expects. Shu Da suggested that the girl could talk to Yue Bing and get to know him better. Junlin didn't know what to answer. Memories from the past came flooding back at her. She recalled how, as children, she and Yue Bin had promised to go to a language university and realize their dreams. The girl realized that those promises shouldn't be taken seriously, and she should probably find a boyfriend already. After all, she doesn't even know where Yue Bin is now. Unfortunately, the girl thought she was stupid enough to keep her promise. Meanwhile, the guys had already arrived at the Tianchi Entertainment Club. It was a very decent place. Yue Bing noticed that this place was quite beautiful. He wondered how much it cost to spend the night here. Meanwhile, Boss Zhang, Haisani, and Dance were walking down the corridor. They were discussing how they were going to have fun next time. Yue Bing listened to their conversation with surprise. He didn't know these people. They were going to go to the villa on Beshui Mountain. It was quite an unimaginable place. The boss said Fei Lao might show up too. Haisani noticed that there was nothing to hide from the boss. He also said that Fei Lao is a pure child. They were discussing old man Fei Lao, and if someone good at literature, calligraphy, or painting it is worthwhile to be interested in him. Meanwhile, Yue Bin's phone rang. It seems his friends had reached the club. Yue Bing reached into his pocket for his phone but dropped it, the phone flying to the ground. Yue Bin bought this phone just recently for summer practice, and if it breaks, the guy will die. However, at that moment, someone picked up the phone. This person was very agile. Looks like it was Dance. She luckily caught the phone. The phone was already near the ground. She deftly picked it up. Everyone was shocked by it. Yue Bing noticed the girl's amazing agility, because she was standing behind 3 people, including Yue Bing. And it was the fastest reaction. Dance gave Yue Bin and his phone to Yue Bin. He thanked the girl. Boss Zhang was not surprised. He had expected such a reaction from Xiao Wu. He felt that it was very professional. The girl had bandages on her arms and a tracksuit. She looked like an athlete, a fighter. Yue Bing wondered for a second which one of them was stronger. He was very interested in this. Boss Zhang heard that the girl is participating in the defense of the championship lead in a month. He asked if she knew who her opponent was. Xiao Wu thought it didn't matter who the opponent was. Haisani asked if she was ready. The dance was ready. No matter who her opponent was, the girl was going to overpower him. Yue Bin's friends were already parking. They should be at the club any minute now. The guy wanted to go to the restroom. At a neighboring table, President Ma was loudly shouting that their penguin game should represent something more weighty. Yue Bin thought about the penguin's journey and President Ma. Yue Bing couldn't believe that this was familiar company. The guy felt awkward. President Ma was the founder and CEO of Penguin Maloney. He will run China's social entertainment industry in the future. The presidential aide explained that the Chinese industry is now dominated by Desheng, and there has not been a single heavyweight product in 5 years. President Ma asked if they don't get agency rights for the 2 Southern Dynasty matches. They are supposed to be open to testing after all. The assistant explained that other companies are developing quality games in the same way, and he is optimistic about the future of both of these companies. President Ma wondered if their company couldn't produce masterpieces that could combat these games. The president really wanted someone to explain what the future holds for him. Yue Bin said that there are 2 game presentations ahead of this company. Everyone was surprised. The presidential aide was angry that the boy had overheard their conversation. President Ma told him to let him finish talking. Yue Bin started to tell that one of the games has the best anti-terrorist story, and the convenience of this game is provided by one device. And the other game has good taste, a rich program and skills. He also added that if they come across a League of Legends game, they should definitely buy it with the developer company. Yue Bin explained which companies President Ma should follow. Yue Bin explained what the future holds. It was a great plan that the president had been thinking about for years. He felt that Yue Bin had the same ideas as him. Yue Bin advised President Ma to keep it up and then he will be recognized. Yue Bing believed that the mission of the president was to create happiness from the heart. The president even cried. Meanwhile, the guys had already arrived at the club. The senior asked where Yue Bing was. Shuda was going to text him. Junlin told the guys she was going to the restroom and told them to go pack the first box. The girls thought it was weird that Junlin's phone was ringing non-stop. They thought she had a boyfriend. The older man confirmed their speculation. He said he had seen it with his own eyes. The guys were shocked that Junlin had a boyfriend. If anyone knew about it, her popularity would drop. The girl on the phone said that she only has a couple of classmates with her. She will be careful and cautious. Junlin was already angry. She thought that whoever was calling her couldn't pick her up. She told him to just leave. Junlin didn't want anyone to know about this man's attitude towards her. Junlin hung up the phone. She heard someone worrying about how his hair was lying. It was Yue Bing. He knew beforehand that Junlin would be at this meeting, so he bought hair gel. Junlin thought that Yue Bin was following her, but that's a crime. The girl thought she'd better leave and find her classmates, at which point she crashed into someone. Loud shouts were heard. Someone was indignant that Junlin had soiled his shirt. Apparently it was very expensive. Yue Bing heard these arguments. He realized that there was someone outside arguing. Junlin paid the man $100 for the shirt, however. He claimed it was worth much more than that. The man told him to go to their room and spend the night with his brothers and thus offset the cost of the shirt. The girl stated that it wasn't an authentic shirt, so 100 yuan would be enough. Junlin talked about the differences between the man's shirt and the original shirt. The man's friend laughed that his shirt was fake. Wei Xiao was very angry with Zhongling. He reached out to her and felt that she should accompany him today. However, something stopped the man. It was as if there was a dark, disturbing energy around Junlin. The boys were surprised. They didn't expect to see something so frightening. A cold and determined aura appeared behind her back. Goosebumps ran down the backs of those men. Yue Bing appeared behind Junlin's back. He told him not to touch the girl. Junlin remembered the episodes of her childhood. Someone laughing because of her playing with Yue Bin every day. Junling was crying bitterly, and the guys were laughing and didn't understand why Yue Bin wasn't coming to save her. The guys were going to cut the girl's hair off and take her heart. However, at this moment, Yue Bing appeared. He shouted loudly and stopped the guys. He told her not to touch her, and introduced himself as the heir to the family of a uniformed fist. Junlin was surprised that this situation reminded her a lot of an episode from her childhood, but this person would be like an African with a British accent. Yue Bing at this moment smiled at Junlin and said hello to her. Junlin was upset that it was Yue Bin who was saving her. She thought she had gotten into the wolf's den and then came to the tiger's den. However, at some point, Yue Bing didn't seem so creepy to her. Da Junling began to realize that it was the same Yue Bing in front of her. Yue Bin said that he still remembered Junlin's name, just like she told him as a child. Tears came to her eyes. She still couldn't fully believe what was happening. Yue Bing walked up to the man closely. He was going to make him pay double. In her past life, Junlin met Yue Bin in the dining hall. They haven't seen each other since the first day of class. Probably because Yue Bin plays games all the time. In fact, the girl wanted to ask Yue Bin if he was still boxing. Yue Bin explained that he had stopped his practice because he saw no future, and now he just wanted to find a good job. Junling remembered Yue Bing's disappointment well that very day. The girl felt sorry for him. However, obviously Yue Bing didn't give up. After all, they had promised each other. However, in this life the situation is completely different, and Yue Bin has also changed. Junlin finally realized that Yue Bin was the same boy from her childhood. She clung to him. Junlin was very happy that they had met. She noticed that Yue Bin had matured and also continued practicing martial arts. Yue Bing also thought that Junlin had grown up. He was also happy about the situation. The guys went back to their friends. They were all in shock and didn't understand what had happened. Shuda asked with a surprised face what happened in the restroom. They were surprised to see Junlin walking hand in hand with Yue Bin. The guys didn't understand what Yue Bin was doing to please her so much. One of the girls asked if Yue Bin was Junlin's lover or if it was just a coincidence. Junlin explained that she hadn't seen Yue Bin in over 7 years and didn't immediately recognize him. One of the girls said that she had heard something from Junlin on the first day of school, and the rumors spread quickly. Shuda was very upset. He believed that Yue Bing was an honest man with big eyes. He said that they were no longer friends. While Yue Bin was gone, Senior had said something about Yue Bin to the other guys. It affected their attitudes towards him. All the boys were surprised at what the older man had told them. They couldn't believe it. In elementary school, Senior had known her, and Junlin had been too close to one man. And this man wore a wedding ring, so their relationship is not so simple. Shuda felt that Yue Bing should be careful in the future. Yue Bing didn't understand what was going on. Yue Bing for noticing the wine on their table. The guys didn't realize where the other people had disappeared to. Yue Bing realized that something was wrong here. The guy felt that they should leave. At this point, there were a lot of men approaching the guys. They were clearly not friendly. One of them said it didn't matter if they wanted to leave. The man had a cigarette in his teeth. He said the guys have to pay for the drinks first. The elder has paid his share. There is 50,000 left, and each must pay 10,000. Yue Bing realized that this senior was working as a wine hunter. The guy wasn't going to panic. It's a secret night fishing. Hunters demand to pay for other people for all the fun, end up splitting the income. Sometimes things don't go well and they bring in their acquaintances, then try to make amends. Yue Bing immediately thought it was strange that a young student could afford to buy such an expensive Junlina. Now Yue Bing understood why Shuda had acted like this in his past life. Back then, he was also asked to come to the organization. However, Yue Bing was very much attached to computer games and didn't go with his friend at that time. After that, Shuda went to this party alone without Yue Bing. The guy came back the next morning and was not himself. When Yue Bing was sleeping, he heard sobbing. Now he thinks he didn't think he was imagining it. Indeed, Shuda lay sobbing all night in his bed and over the situation. After that, Shuda became depressed. He didn't say anything about that night. And for a year, he only ate instant noodles. The guy couldn't stand it and ended up in the hospital. He had a stomach ulcer from eating the noodles. That fierce man guessed that the guys were from Faching faculty. He demanded to give him the money. Juchi shouted that the man was a criminal and was going to call the police. However, Yue Bing said it was pointless because they had 2 menus of low and high prices. Besides, even if the bottle contains fake wine, it is enough that the bottle is original and it will already be expensive. Yue Bing realized that they had planned all the workshops, and there was only one way out of this situation. The solution was violence. Yue Bin suggested changing the venue because it was too crowded for the show. All the guys went out the back door of Tianqi's entertainment club to the street. The gang from the club looked intimidating. They were armed with bats and weren't going to mess around. The guys came out as well. Shuda appeared very scared. He looked around in surprise. Something caught the guy's attention. He was stunned and couldn't move. Shuda saw a human arm sticking out of one of the trash cans. The guy realized that these people were killing debtors. Everything around them was splattered with blood. Shuda decided that it was better to pretend that he couldn't see anything, otherwise they would be killed. However, the boy's legs were trembling and he couldn't take a step because of fear. Juchi thought the guy was pathetic. She didn't understand why she liked a man like him. It looked like the guys knew each other. The girl realized he hadn't changed at all. Their ringleader was going to explain a few things to Yue Bin before he died. There are 3 big gangs in Faicheng among them. The Lion Club is the most influential, and its founder is the old man Fei Lao. Yue Bing asked how old he was, noting that it turns out elderly patients with secondary disease do exist. This club has many industries in the city, including real estate restaurants, underground casino clubs, and so on. This club was run by San Yi Chao. Rumor has it that Sang Yi Chao has bullet marks on his back, and it is said that it was 20 years ago he blocked 3 bullets that flew at Fei Lao. So if the guys don't pay today, San and Chiao and Fei Lao will be affected. Juchi stated that some of them were simple students who were unable to pay huge sums of money. The man explained that they have an installment plan. They will pay that amount in a year or two, they just need to sign a paper. Junlin asked them to wait for a moment. The girl actually had money. The man told people who could pay to approach him and the rest to take a step back. Junlin was going to help her classmates pay for everything since her expenses for this month had already arrived. Yue Bing was shocked that she has given 50,000 yuan for expenses. He only gets 1,000 a month. Junlin stated that the bank card was in her bag. She asked for a moment. Junlin was surprised to notice that she didn't have her bag in her hands. It had been left in the break room. The girl wondered what she should do in such a situation. She turned to Mr. Villain, explained that her purse was in the room and asked him to go get it. The guys thought they were all going to die, because Junlin literally addressed this man as a villain. The man got angry and thought Junlin had fooled him. At that moment, the assistant told the manager that one was missing. They noticed that the bespectacled man who was standing behind the guys had disappeared. The manager told them to find him. Juchi wasn't surprised that Shuda was missing. Outwardly he might have changed, but inside he was still the same. The men started searching. Suddenly one of them found something. There was a hole in the wall, with shoes lying next to it. They realized that the guy had fled through this opening. This situation made the manager laugh a lot. He didn't expect that Shuda could get through there. He had never seen such a thing. However, these shoes were just a decoy. Shuda was actually hiding in a box nearby. The manager was going to look for the guy. Shuda thought that when things calmed down, he could escape. He realized that it wasn't wrong, but was very afraid. The guy had read that ordinary people could do nothing against bad and powerful people, let alone even the real underground life in the Lions Clubs. The manager thought Yue Bin was stupid after all. This is a student friendship that isn't even one. Yue Bing told the man not to say that after all. His friend couldn't just run away. Juchi tried to object to Yue Bing. Yue Bing stated that Shuda had most likely just drank fake wine and was now squatting in the restroom spitting it back out. Shuda heard all of this, however. He definitely escaped. The guy was shaking with fear. Yue Bing thought that maybe his friend had been attracted to an attractive passerby, so he should call first. These all words made Shuda angry. He wanted Yue Bing to shut up and stop making excuses for him. Yue Bing wasn't going to stop. He assumed that Shuda was currently talking to his mom via video link at the nearest internet cafe. This made Shuda even more angry. He realized how wrong he was doing. The guy didn't want Yue Bing to think that he had gotten to know him in these few days. He thought that Yue Bing didn't understand him. One of the men thought Yue Bing was talking too much. He swung a bat at him. All the guys were in shock. They looked on in amazement at what was happening. However, Yue Bing was calm. He had something else he was going to tell the men. Yue Bing believed that Shuda would never leave his friend and run away. He was looking forward to his return. Shuda was very moved by Yue Bing's words. He thought he was an idiot, and he himself cried bitterly. Shuda thought that he was very afraid of death. But after Yue Bing's words, his body instantly rushed forward. The guy abruptly jumped out of the box and shouted that he was back. At that moment, there was a blow with a stick. There was blood on her. Shuda started to remember events from the past. Someone approached the guy on a rainy day. This person remembered the guy. It was little Juchi. She asked if the guy was being bullied. Shuda replied that his friends were just joking around like that at him, and they would definitely come back. Turns out the guy had been bike locked. Juchi was going to tell the teacher about it. However, Shuda didn't reply anything. The girl was about to go home. Juchi said that when the hands are clenched into a fist, they become a weapon against violence. She hoped the guy wouldn't lose them. The next day, Shuda continued to be bullied by boys in his class and extorted money. Shuda replied that he didn't have any money, after all. He had bought the book, and it was better for the guys to ask others. One of the guys looked Astarshi. He asked if they weren't friends and got really pissed off. Shuda remembered the words that a hand clenched into a fist was a weapon against violence and clenched his fist himself. His classmate laughed at the kid. He slammed his head against the desk. Shuda cried and didn't know how he could resist this violence. The guy believed that his hands still couldn't become weapons. They were only tools to please violence. At this moment, Juchi and her friend walked past the classroom. They saw everything. Juchi thought Shuda was a coward after all. He couldn't say anything to those guys. A little later, Juchi received a love letter, however. There was no name on it. Juchi realized that it was a letter from Shuda. She looked at him judgmentally. After that, the girl tore up the love letter right in front of Shuda's eyes. Juchi didn't care who the letter was from, after all. A man who doesn't dare to write his name must be a coward. Currently, Juchi was very surprised that Shuda had come out of his hiding place and set himself up for a strike. Shuda was already thinking that he had lost his mind, however he was going to confront these men. Shuda shouted that Yue Bing should get behind him, and if the men wanted to fight, they should start with him. Yue Bing came here with the guy to strengthen their friendship, and he took a step he hadn't taken in his past life. Yue Bing thought that Shuda needed to rest. He slapped his neck to make him pass out. Yue Bing asked Junlin to take the guy to the hospital. The girl was worried about Yue Bin himself. Yue Bin grabbed his t-shirt. He was determined. The guy ripped his shirt. He told me to leave these men to him. He wanted to solve the problem. The girls listened to Yue Bing. They took Shuda under their arms and led him to the hospital. Junlin was worried about Yue Bing because even if he practiced martial arts, he still had to be careful. What caught Junling's attention were Yue Bing's muscles. They shone under the moonlight. Junling even drooled. She got embarrassed and noticed how Yue Bing had grown up. The men didn't waste any time either. One of them shouted to stop Yue Bing. Yue Bing wasn't going to listen to this. He approached the man at the speed of light and punched him in the face with his fist. The man immediately blacked out. He flew far away from Yue Bing. At that moment, another man decided to compete with the guy. He approached him from behind and was about to strike him. However, Yue Bing would be faster. He turned around sharply and jumped, avoiding the blow. Following that, Yue Bing punched the man in the jaw, several teeth flying out. After that, he stamped the man's head into the ground with tremendous force. However, his reprisal didn't end there. Yue Bing kicked the man in the stomach. The man flew far away. It looked like all of his opponents had been defeated. Zhongling had put her friends with Shuda in the ambulance. She was now going to return to Yue Bing. The girl ran with all her legs. She hoped Yue Bing was all right. She knew he still dreamed of becoming a martial arts master. But this was unfathomable. Junling cried in despair. She ran and hoped that Yue Bin would wait for her. When the girl approached the scene, she heard loud screams. She didn't immediately realize what had happened. Junlin was out of breath. She stopped for a second before entering the backyard of the club. Junlin was shocked at what she saw. The girl was stunned. In front of her stood Yue Bing, whole and unharmed, with the bodies of battered enemies lying around. Yue Bing looked very formidable. He had single-handedly massacred all of them. Meanwhile, the club manager called someone and said they had been attacked, and it was a strong practice. He called Sang Ye. He asked if the little dancer was with him and asked her to defeat Yue Bin. Yue Bing noticed that someone was missing. He suspected where that person was hiding. Sang Ye heard shouting into the tube. It seems the man was also dealt with by Yue Bin. Sang Ye thought that unfortunately, people always die. The man told Dance to check everything out, and as a prize he would add another 50,000 to her. Dance replied that she could go check it out, but told her not to forget that for her, a man was only a partner. At that moment, someone knocked on the door that led to the backyard. It was the blonde-haired guy. Yue Bing abruptly opened the door so that the guy almost fell down. The boy thought it was the older man. However, he realized with surprise that it wasn't him. Yue Bin told this guy to come over and take off his shirt if he didn't want a picture of him getting beaten up to go viral on the internet. At this moment, the screams of this guy were heard. It seems Yue Bing had beaten him up as well. Yue Bing took Junlin's hand. They were about to leave. However, one man woke up. He was holding a knife and was going to kill Yue Bin. At that moment, someone quickly approached him. The man didn't even have time to notice anything. Someone kicked a man in the face, a boot mark imprinted in his face. It was Junlin. She wanted her and Yue Bin to finally be left alone. Yue Bing didn't even realize what had happened or what that sound was. Junling pretended that nothing happened. Yue Bing was afraid that the people from the Lion Club would soon pass through here. He took Junling in his arms. Junlin stammered. She didn't understand what he did that for. Yue Bing explained that the girl was too slow. He told her to hold on tight. Loud screams could be heard in the back of the club. Someone was begging for help. Tans had already arrived on the scene. She was very struck by this picture. 6 adult experienced fighters were defeated. The girl couldn't believe they were beaten by one man. At that moment, Dance heard someone asking to save him, the sounds coming from around the corner. Tans was wary. She didn't fully understand what had happened here. It was the same guy Yue Bing had dealt with. He was sealed into the wall. The manager noticed Dance. He told them that they were beaten by Yue Bin and he couldn't get far. The men believed that they couldn't forgive Yue Bing, and the girl should avenge them. Dance replied that she was a boxer, not Sang Ye's dog. She didn't like this attitude. The manager gave the girl 2 coupons for food and told her that Yue Bin was very tan, so she wouldn't make a mistake. Meanwhile, the boys had already arrived at Faicheng Language University. Junlin called the hospital to see how Shuda was doing. She was told that nothing adorns his life. The hospital told her that Junlin should rest today. The girl hung up the phone and said thank you. Junlin explained that his friend was fine. Meanwhile, they had already reached the girl's dormitory. Yue Bin explained that the front door was already locked. Junlin remembered that the entrance to the dormitory closes at 12 o'clock. The girl thought the only option was to stay in a hotel. Yue Bing immediately became embarrassed upon hearing this sentence from Junlin. Yue Bing thought that this was very similar to cliched romance novels. He was glad that he would stay with the girl for a whole night. However, Yue Bing didn't have any money at all to pay for a hotel room. The guy's only option was to stay at Tucheng Park. Junlin noticed that the scenery here was beautiful. This night, the guys sat on the bench and talked a lot. They caught up on what they had missed in 4 years. Junlin noticed that Yue Bin had changed a lot. For a second, she thought she was dreaming. The girl noticed that Yue Bing had become tall and darkened a lot and also seemed more mature. Junlin thought that when Yue Bing talked about martial arts, he seemed cheerful, just like when he was a kid. Yue Bing smiled at the girl and said her name. He stared at her intently. Junlin was embarrassed by her own words. She had said everything she thought. Yue Bing said that she wants to open a martial arts hall in the future, and will take students. Yue Bing knew that there were very many shining schools under this illustrious starry sky. Yue Bing was going to create Xingyuan, the strongest martial art one day. His master heard all those words. He was surprised at such a determined attitude of his student. Junlin noticed that she still didn't have Yue Bin's contacts. They were going to exchange them. Yue Bin gave the girl a phone to enter her details. Junlin asked if he was afraid to show his chats. Junlin tried to find a communication app on Yue Bin's phone. At that moment, the girl saw their correspondence with Shuda. There, the guy wrote that the actress in the movie looks like Junlin. Junlin was surprised that they mentioned her in their correspondence, and even chatted about the movie character. Junlin looked at the picture of this actress. She recognized her, however, other than hair color and height, they had nothing in common. However, here Junlin thought that a work of art cannot be evaluated superficially. Perhaps Yue Bing thinks that they are similar. It seemed to the girl that Yue Bing imagined that this role was played by her. However, Junlin then pushed all these thoughts away. Yue Bing wanted to hug her shoulder at this moment. At this moment, Junlin abruptly jerked her hand and struck the tree that was growing next to them. Yue Bing didn't understand what happened and why the tree broke. The girl tried to pretend that nothing had happened. Junlin managed to fake it in time, because her image is that of a pure, innocent, silly, and sweet girl. Junlin didn't understand what emotions she should have right now. She wanted to show off her acting skills. Junlin asked how it was possible to watch such strange movies and imagine her as the heroine. Yue Bing said that he was going to explain everything, however. Junlin was unwavering. The next few hours, Zhongling gave moral lessons. Morning came. Two people were chatting nearby. The girl bought 2 cups of milk tea. It seemed to be Junlin's acquaintances. One of the girls was very nervous that Junlin still hadn't arrived. This girl had been here all night. Her friend had told her to sit down and rest. The pigtailed girl noticed Junlin coming. She was very excited. The other girl was so stunned that she even dropped her glasses. This girl played up the price and started telling me how she had been worried for a long time, and that if something happened to her, she wouldn't survive it. However, Junlin wasn't alone. The girl was curious who this guy next to her was. She was already angry that the guys had spent the night together. The girl couldn't accept it. She didn't know her sister was already running around on men. She didn't know what she should do, or if she should be angry with her sister. It turns out it was model Ding Tsaier, and a crowd of fans immediately ran up to her. Yue Bing noticed that it looked like a celebrity had come to visit him at the university. Junling tried to get out of there quickly. At this time, Ding shouted loudly for Junlin to stop and wait for her. It turns out Junlin was Ding Tsai's younger sister. Fans felt that if they got closer to Junlin, they would get closer to the model. The entire crowd of fans ran after Junlin. The guys at this time were trying to run away from them. That was why Junlin didn't want others to know about their relationship with her sister. The boys were finally able to break away. They were really out of breath while they were running. Yue Bin and Junlin ran to the rooftop. Here fans shouldn't be able to find them. Ditsai and her friend also escaped from the fans to the rooftop. The girl thought being a celebrity was a real headache. Yue Bing recognized her. She used to be the person who incited others to bully Junlin. If Yue Bing remembers correctly, this girl isn't an ordinary master, and there's nothing good about her appearance. Ding Kai told Yue Bing to stay away from her beautiful sister because he didn't deserve her. Junlin apologized to Yue Bin for her sister's defiant nature and for saying nasty things. Ding Kai yelled at Yue Bing and told him not to touch her sister. Yue Bing wouldn't think of falling for this girl's provocations. After all, he was already an adult. Junlin said that Ding Tsai's family sheltered her, so they have different last names. The other kids bullied Junlin because they thought she was an orphan. When Yue Bing was a child, he wasn't interested in such things, but now he was curious about Junlin's story. Junlin revealed that she doesn't know her biological parents, because her adoptive parents don't want to talk about it. Junlin wanted them to know her when she becomes a celebrity. Yue Bin finally realized why Junlin wanted to become a famous star. If Yue Bing had found out earlier, the tragedy wouldn't have happened either. Yue Bing was going to prevent the girl from becoming a celebrity. However, Yue Bin can't just take her personal life and interfere because that would be too cruel. The military training started from this day. Yue Bin needs to approach the first corps by 9 o'clock. The weather outside was nice. It was a clear day. There were kids walking around near the campus, all minding their own business. Dance arrived at this legendary university. She thought that if she hadn't decided to fight, she would have attended the university. The girl apologized to teacher Xiaoling for not living up to his expectations. Dance had a goal to find Yue Bing. All she knew was that he was very swarthy. An African guy walked past her. She thought he fit the description very well. Dance looked into this guy's eyes. She asked if he was Yue Bin. The guy didn't know Chinese. He spoke English. He smiled at the girl. At this time, Dance and her victim arrived at the Tianchi Club. The manager was there with his men. They were clearly not happy about what was going on. The guy was a prince of a kingdom. He asked to be released and said they could have his money. The club manager said they wouldn't touch the lad. If they continued, it would escalate into an international scandal. The manager gave Dance coupons for food for a whole year. The girl was very excited. They were coupons to an upscale restaurant that Dance had never gone to. Meanwhile, in Feijiao, military training was underway in the Lushan military district. Shuda, along with Yue Bing, went there. They saw a real tank. In fact, Shuda was a real fan of machinery. At that moment, someone approached the guys and noticed that Shuda was very interested in military equipment. Yue Bing recognized the guys. They were the other two participants of the games from the next room. One guy's name was Yugen. He was the second oldest in their company, nicknamed Lord. The second guy's name was Zhang Meng. He was born in the countryside, but he was very strong from birth. He was only 16 years old. Yue Bing was very happy to see the guys. He couldn't help himself and ran to hug them. Because of Yue Bing's strange expression, the guys misunderstood him. The guy even cried. The guys doubted that Yue Bing wasn't gay. They were scared out of their wits. After that, the rigorous training began. All the guys lined up in a row. After a month of training, Yue Bing's physical data improved, and also everyone became swarthy. To visit Yue Bing, Jun Ling came to visit him. She called out to him. Yue Bing said that during their military training, they didn't have a chance to meet. Jun Lin was very surprised at what she saw. Yue Bing had changed a lot. The girl's nose even bled. She thought she would even die from blood loss. Since Yue Bing had gotten a lot of sunburn over the vacation, it seems he had developed antibodies to UV rays. After the military training, Yue Bing received a call from his father. The man hadn't done that in a long time. Yue Bing's father asked his son to listen to the noise of the city today. Yue Bing realized that it was just the wind. The man was on the tallest office building in the city. Yue Bing's aunt wanted to introduce him to a nice girl, and if Yue Bing refused, his father would jump from there. Yue Bing said he couldn't go. The man continued to blackmail his son. Yue Bing said he had no money and would only talk if the man left him money. The man pretended that his number was out of range, but Yue Bing understood. Yue Bing realized that asking his father for money was useless, and he needed to find a solution himself. Meanwhile, the action was taking place at Maorong Private High School. There was a physical education class, and the teacher told the students to make sure to do stretching after class. And that was the end of the gym class. The teacher was a young girl. The teacher's name was Wu, and a little girl ran up to her. She had something she wanted to show Teacher Wu, the girl stammered. It turned out to be a drawing of a girl together with Teacher Wu. The teacher liked the drawing very much, praised the girl, and said that she would become an artist in the future. The girl was very excited. She smiled widely and said she would try her best. At that moment, a soccer ball was flying straight toward the teacher with the child. The teacher reacted quickly and kicked him away with her foot with great force. The shot was so hard that he punched the ball and left a big hole in it. The teacher became embarrassed that she had miscalculated the force. She wasn't going to ruin the ball. A father with a child came up to her at once. It turns out it was a ball from the World Cup. It was very expensive. The man started screaming. He was going to call his superiors and complain about the teacher. Teachers passed by who didn't treat Teacher Wu very well, for she only had a middle school education. A little later, Teacher Wu was called in by the vice principal to talk about what had happened. Teacher Wu tensed up. She realized that there was about to be an unpleasant conversation. It was rumored that the girl got the job thanks to the deputy director, and he often calls her to him. Other teachers thought that was the reason she was quietly crossing parents of students. At this moment, Yue Bing came over to the girls. He was looking for Teacher Wu. He was told that she had gone to the vice principal's office. Yue Bing smiled and thanked the other female teachers for the information. One of the teachers thought it was funny that the other sent the guy to the deputy's office. The teacher had a plan for them to be seen doing shameful things in the classroom. Yue Bing walked down the corridor and looked for the vice principal's office. Teacher is the girl Yue Bing's father tried to set him up with. The father was told that this girl grew up to be a real beauty. The man thought their children would be very beautiful. Yue Bing was surprised that his father even mentioned future children. Yue Bing found the deputy's office. He heard shouting from the office, the deputy asking what Teacher Wu had done and why she had insulted the students' parents again. These people are sponsors of their school, and even the principal has to respect them. The deputy was called and told to fire Teacher Wu, but he said that if she agreed to his proposal, no one would touch her. The girl was to come to dinner and bring expensive wine there. He told Wu to sit on his lap. Teacher Wu replied that she didn't have time for that. She was busy tomorrow. The girl was about to leave. The deputy director screamed. He told her to stop and insulted the girl. The deputy said the girl only got the job because of him and she wouldn't have a future without his help. The deputy said the teacher's younger brother is in jail right now and the girl should think about him. The deputy also knew that she was involved in underground fighting after work, and it was against school rules. The deputy knew she needed the money. As long as she obeyed him, no one would know about her extra work. The man looked creepy. He told Xiao Wu to follow his instruction and not to worry about being found out. The deputy was willing to cover all her expenses so she wouldn't have to worry about it anymore. He said otherwise the teacher would lose his job. He said he would be gentle with the girl. At this moment, someone wanted to hit the deputy director of the cream in the face. A fist appeared in front of his eyes. Turns out it was Yue Bin. He walked into the office and almost punched the man in the jaw. Yue Bing said that if his fist hit the man, he would lose a few teeth. The deputy director was indeed very frightened. He almost fainted. Yue Bing told Teacher Wu to go with him. The girl didn't even realize who this guy was. The teacher realized that Yue Bing was the guy she wanted to be introduced to. Actually, Yue Bin is not the first guy she's introduced to. They were all older and more successful. Yue Bin is the first one so young. All the men before were scared and ran away because the girl told them that her younger brother was in jail. Yue Bing thought that these men were scared of the girl's brother, and he didn't even feel like coming on a date. Yue Bing said not to take this date seriously. Teacher Wu didn't plan to look for a boyfriend herself. The guys already needed to go about their business. The girl thanked Yue Bing. The moment the guy was leaving, he was approached by Master Crane via telepathic communication. Master said that Yue Bing had been his only disciple for a long time, and so he had an assignment. Master wants Wu to be his apprentice. In fact, Yue Bin will be her teacher. Yue Bing was shocked. He felt that this was all too sudden. Yue Bing turned around and asked the teacher to wait. He invited her to the tea restaurant. Yue Bin said that they made a pretty good omelet there, and suggested she go. Teacher Wu wanted to refuse, but her mouth was drooling. Finally, Yue Bing talked her into it. The guys came to a famous Hong Kong-style tea restaurant. Yue Bing finally realized why men were running away from Wu on the first date. Turns out it was because they were afraid they would go bankrupt. The girl ate out a lot. Wu was finally full. She gorged herself on several plates of noodles. She hadn't eaten heartily in a long time. Yue Bing finally decided to cut to the chase. He asked if the girl was doing goshu. Teacher Wu didn't know what it was. She asked if it could be eaten. Turns out goshu is China's national martial art, created to strengthen the country and the army. The girl has never been versed in martial arts, but she relies on her instincts in actual combat. At this moment, Teacher Wu glanced at the cake at a neighboring table. Yue Bing asked if his girlfriend wanted it, but she refused. But it was already clear from Teacher Wu. She was drooling again at the sight of the food. Yue Bing had already ordered her a cake. The girl cut off a piece of it. Teacher Wu was very happy because she liked the cake. It was delicious. Yue Bing realized that when he returned to the university, he wouldn't have a penny. Yue Bin said that he is a martial arts practitioner and thinks the girl has great talent, so he wants to take her on as a student. Teacher Wu asked what the guy's combat level was. The world has a ranking system based on fighters' accomplishments. In his past life, he was a city-level fighter. But now the guy is not officially registered, and so he didn't fight. He doesn't have a level. Teacher Wu was going to think about Yue Bin's proposal, but she can't promise him anything since she's a city-level fighter. This night, Yue Bing came to the Forbidden Land of 7 Forms to discuss everything. Master Crane was upset that Yue Bing couldn't persuade her to become a disciple, and he would be practicing all night tonight. Yue Bing thought that it was hard to find good disciples, but he would definitely find disciples next time. Master wanted her to be the one to be his disciple. Yue Bing didn't understand why that was so. The master turned around and walked away. Yue Bing shouted and asked him to wait. Master turned around and looked at Yue Bing. He asked what happened. Yue Bin promised that the girl will definitely become his apprentice, and she will definitely agree. Yue Bin will do so in exchange for learning how to kill him. Meanwhile, the Forbidden Land of 7 Shapes guys were all arguing. Master was angry that Yue Bing wanted to learn how to kill. He wasn't going to teach it. The master knew that Yue Bing considered himself strong, and therefore wanted to learn how to kill. But the abilities were beyond human capabilities. Not even the strongest of bodies can withstand such a load once he himself lost. Yue Bing was surprised that there was someone who was stronger than a master. The master explained that this man must be dead by now. Gone many years, he was not from China. This man was a samurai who was overseeing the invasion of troops on the mainland. The method of killing the master had failed because of him. Yue Bing had heard of the famous Kendo sect in Japan. Yue Bing was surprised that Master Crane had lost to such a person. Ben noticed that the master sighs every time he mentions it and starts acting weird. Apparently the master cannot untie this knot of fate and reincarnate, so he exists only here. Ben remembered that Yue Bing still hadn't received the rookie gift set. Ben gave Yue Bin the treasure map. It was not well drawn. Yue Bin was surprised. This map was drawn by a master. Yue Bing immediately started sucking up and saying that it was a true masterpiece. Master told Yue Bin not to talk. He thought that he should study literature, not just martial arts. Practicing in the forbidden lands of the 7 forms consumes much more energy. Without money, Yue Bing would starve. The master said that there is a tree near the west wall and a treasure box buried near it. The tree always blooms with pink petals. Yue Bing thought that it should be in the center of the city. Suddenly the guy remembered Tucheng Park. He had never really thought about why the park was named that, he suddenly realized. The boy remembered that there was only one tree in the park that bloomed with pink petals. And it was the love tree of Feicheng Language University. The guy went to it. Zhangqi was talking to Shuda at this time. The guy suggested her to go to a good place. Shuda knew that if a man and a woman spent the night under the love tree, they would pass all the exams at the end of the semester. Shuda thought that the girl would definitely fall in love with him now because this legend of lovers is real. Zhangqi had heard that this place was quite popular because there was a corpse buried there. The guy thought it was a rumor. The guys agreed that it's just a campus legend, and it's impossible to bury a corpse under the tree of love. When the boys came to the tree, they saw an intimidating man. His eyes were glowing. Zhangqi and Shuda were very frightened. They were dousing themselves with cold sweat. The boys got scared and ran away. They thought someone was really burying a corpse. It was actually Yue Bing who was trying to find the treasure. He thought those screams were strange. Yue Bing finally unearthed the chest. He decided to stay at the hotel for one night. Yue Bing thought that this box had been buried 100 years ago, and it was a miracle that no one had taken it away. The boy opened the drawer. Inside were porcelain vases. He wondered where the craftsman got these things. It was an antique from the Ming Dynasty. Its price was very high. First, Yue Bing needed to determine the value of these things. He thought it was best not to overcharge too much. The next day came. The sun was shining outside. The weather was perfect. Yue Bing went to the nearest antique store. He took the item to determine its value. Yue Bing heard passers-by talking about a martial arts TV show being filmed nearby. Yue Bing was attracted by the talk, however. He had his valuables with him. He didn't care about that. All the passers-by abruptly ran to see show because a descendant of Qing Xuan was filming there. Yue Bing had heard of this person. He couldn't believe that such a thing was possible. Yue Bing still decided to take one look at this show. He stood in the crowd of spectators. The host announced that the new guest of their TV show had arrived. A car pulled up to the filming location. It was the headmaster of the martial arts school, a descendant of Qing Xuan, Mr. Zhen. A long time ago, Feicheng district was an uncontrolled territory. Lawlessness ruled there, and one day young Master Jia came there. And he was met by 3 vicious mastiffs. The dogs were intimidating. They were the 3 dangerous criminals of this neighborhood. Their eyes as red as blood. Evil mastiffs walked in a group attacking people. They were evil in the eyes of the residents. When Master Jia saw these mastiffs, he folded his hands behind his back and calmly said that today he would teach those evil animals a lesson. The master slammed his palm into the air and his clothes began to move, and the air became scalding this minute. Suddenly lightning flashed in the sky from nowhere. The 3 mastiffs were so frightened that they turned and ran away, the master taking them to his mansion. One of the spectators knew that the physical strength of the 3 mastiffs was equal to that of a tiger. Everyone thought that if Master Jia could defeat a tiger 10 years ago, now he could defeat 2 at once. The host announced that they would choose a willing person to experience Master Jia's power. The crowd was full of well-wishers, all raising their hands and asking to be chosen. The master's choice fell on a tall guy with an athletic figure. All the spectators thought that the master had chosen not a simple man, but one who was in the very dawn of strength. Master Jia noticed that the boy had a good physique. The guy replied that he was honored to meet him. The master liked the guy's modesty. He was going to use 1/10 of his power, and he was going to show it off. The master swung his hand around, he folded his fingers and was about to strike. The blow landed on the guy's stomach. From the outside, the blow seemed very strong. The guy stepped back. He clutched his stomach and looked pained. The boy crouched in pain. He staggered and could barely stand on his feet. However, it was all acting. Master Jia was paying the young man a reward for this performance. The guy gritted his teeth. It looked like this wasn't the end of the show. In the next second, Master Jia threw another punch. The guy flew aside. It was the 7 forms fist technique into the tiger. All the spectators were surprised that Master Jia had knocked this guy out. They were going to call an ambulance. Yue Bing realized that it was all very much played up and the guy was a real liar. Master Crane explained that Jia Shizhen did use his fist, but it was different from the 4 training methods. Yue Bing didn't understand what it meant or why it happened. It was the art of acting. Once upon a time long ago, practitioners went out and sold their fighting techniques as decorative martial arts. The Crane Master did not know how this man had learned the fist. Yue Bing had to follow him and find out. Master Jia was going to wait for a few days before airing, and his reputation would rise again. Yue Bing approached Master Jia from the back. He called out to him. Yue Bing said that he actually likes Gosha too, and asked him to exchange sparring experiences. Master said that he did not share his experience with strangers. He was angry with Yue Bing. Master Jia tried to scare Yue Bing with the 3 evil mastiffs in this house that could tear the guy apart. And indeed, behind the bars, the roar of the animals was heard. Their eyes showed. However, the 3 mastiffs were not mean at all. They were friendly dogs. Yue Bing was shocked that it was 3 legendary mastiffs. The guy was already nervous. 10 minutes later, Yue Bing Surge decided to show the man his sparring skills. The man accepted defeat. Master Jia said that he had bought the 7-shaped fist at the antique market 10 years ago. Yue Bing asked if the man knew about antiques because he had something he wanted to sell. The man looked at the vases and said that if this thing was real, it would be worth about 3 million. Yue Bing realized that this money could be used to open a martial arts hall. He couldn't even dream of such an amount. Master Jia was going to auction this vase. He promised that the guy would sell it for a good price. However, the master had long plans. He was going to trick Yue Bing. The boys came to Yufeng pawn shop. It was clear day. This was the biggest pawn shop in Faicheng City. The man was going to show a porcelain bottle here. There are some of the best pawn shops in town, and this one was also among them because its owner Chao Sanye. Yue Bing meet Third Master Chao again. The guy thought that they were bound by fate. The guys came to the inspection room. They were asked to wait because the result of the examination had come. The seller of this pawn shop is an old acquaintance of Master Jia. He was going to make him buy the bottle cheaper. The man thought that Yue Bing was an ordinary college student and he was no match for him. Meanwhile, the shopkeeper Yu Feng came in. He said that the final price was known according to the results of the examination. The shopkeeper, with a sly look, said that it was a very high-quality fake, and its price was 200,000. Master Jia was surprised that it was fake. It seemed too murky to him. The man couldn't believe it. 15 minutes ago, the shopkeeper came to Sang Ye and reported to him that a boy had brought in some porcelain. He thought it was a small matter for him. It was explained to him that the guy presented an official glass vase from the Ming dynasty, and it was worth 5 million. Sang Ye felt that there was someone behind this young man since he had such things. It was explained to him that even though he was represented by Master Jia, they were only friends with him. Sang Ye knew that the master was just a liar. He thought that traditional martial arts were trash compared to modern ones. Sang Ye felt that Master Jia wasn't even a rival to him. He was only going to accept the vase for 200,000. Master Jia asked if the shopkeeper had made a mistake. The shopkeeper said he had checked all 3 times. Master Jia thought that Sang Ye might be here as well. The man was not remotely scared. Yue Binu doubted that this is the best pawn shop Yunfeng. He demanded to give him back the vase. After all, he doesn't want to sell it. The shopkeeper explained that he and the other pawn shops were strategic partners and he wouldn't be able to sell it anywhere else. Meanwhile, in the famous land of the 7 forms, the following events took place a few days ago. Master Crane thought that it was time for Yue Bing to start a new practice. He explained that their technique was like the speed of light. That is, their technique is fast. He was going to show Yue Bin the reception of the white crane with its wings open. At this moment, Master Crane transformed into his other form and shouted loudly. The shopkeeper and Yue Bing along with him heard the crane's cry. They didn't understand what was happening. At that moment, blood appeared from nowhere. It was all happening very fast. Yue Bing clenched her hand. It was shaking from the exertion, blood dripping from it. Yue Bing sharply hit the shopkeeper's stomach with his fist. The shopkeeper flew far away. The shopkeeper was unconscious. He was lying on a table, dust rising around him. Master Jia didn't understand what had just happened. He recognized this trick. Master Jia even thought that Yue Bing was a saint after all. He could do such a thing. Yue Bing asked where his vase was. The shopkeeper replied that it was in the VIP hall. Meanwhile, Sanye was glad that he had gotten this vase. He was going to give it to Fei Lao so that he wouldn't be angry with him anymore. At this moment, the door of the VIP hall was kicked open by someone. This person possessed tremendous strength. It was Yue Bing. He demanded the vase back to him. The guy was very determined. In the VIP hall, Sang Ye was not alone. He was surrounded by many of his people who looked eerie. Yue Bing noticed that there were more people here than hands, but felt that he shouldn't be intimidated by such a number. Yue Bing apologized to the people. He was going to go to the bathroom. He needed to take a break and think. Yue Bin went to the restroom, which was not far from the VIP lounge as he had intended to do. A number of men, Sang Ye's guards, immediately ran up to the entrance of the restroom. Yue Bin was talking to Master Crane in the restroom. The journey to the restroom seemed like an eternity to Yue Bin. The master explained that it was because his body was in a critical position. Yue Bing thought that this was the essence of his technique. He was going to run out through the window. There was no window in this toilet. Yue Bing was very surprised. Yue Bin saw no other way out. He was drenched in cold sweat. Yue Bing clung to Master Crane. He cried and said that he couldn't die here. Crane Master was going to help his student, but it's only once because he is his teacher. Yue Bing can use the ability to transport sinners to the real world. Master Crane can stay here for about half an hour. The guards thought Yue Bin was sitting in the toilet too long, perhaps constipated. At that moment, the restroom door opened, revealing 2 silhouettes of people. At this moment, Master Crane flapped his wings. A strong energy rushed through. The guards didn't realize what those crane cries were. They were terrified. At that very second, the entire crowd of men flew away and covered the floor in blood. San Ye called his father and told him about the vase. His experts said it was real. My father was well versed in antiques. He came to look at this rare vase. They were about to go look at it when their wall shattered into pieces. An explosion sounded. They saw one of their men fly across the room. Sang Ye recognized his bodyguard. He didn't understand what had happened here. There was a huge hole in their wall. The third master didn't dare to step over that wall. Sang Ye told his father to run. He was going to call someone for help. There was a light at the end of this wall. It seemed to the two of them that they had gone through a long tunnel, and they were surprised at what they saw at the end of that tunnel. These two saw a crane, a real white crane with its head held high. Shannel, along with his father, were amazed. They had never seen such a thing before. The two couldn't believe that one person scattered all the bodyguards, and they were very strong. The crane master explained that he used his technique, and he could test the power of Chinese martial arts on them as well. The third master realized that there was a great master of traditional martial arts in front of him. He was frightened. Meanwhile, it was getting dark outside, with a large round moon visible in the sky. Still, Yue Bin sold the vase for 5 million. They were going to let all those bad guys go. Sangye's father asked his son to tell the truth before he died. Sangye was going to finish this master off if he ever went into his territory again. This time the man was going to defeat him. Because of the master, he fell in the mud in front of his father. The master walked through the city at night. He looked around and was amazed at the beauty. Master was talking to Yue Bing about how much things had changed since he had lived in China. The master believed that Yue Bing was born in a beautiful era and asked him to promise that he would protect the country. Yue Bing had promised this to Master. He was going to do just that. The white crane ran out of time and began to fade into the white light. Yue Bing was going to make sure that martial arts would flourish again in this country. The guy was very determined to accomplish this mission. Now Yue Bing had 5 million on hand. The housing prices were very low. Yue Bing was going to spend the money to buy a villa where they would open a martial arts hall. It was the largest city. The average house price is only 4,000. The neighborhood that has risen the most is Shan. The area had beautiful scenery, nice lakes. It is a real feng shui treasure. Yue Bing had 5 million on hand. He can almost buy a house in this neighborhood. Yue Bin came to a famous real estate company. She showed him a Chinese-style development. The real estate agent was going to rip off Yue Bin. He said the house would be worth 5 million. Yue Bing thought it was too high a price. He was going to give the agent 4.5 million. The real estate agent was surprised at Yue Bing's cognition. He couldn't be fooled. The agent was about to call the owner for instructions. Yue Bin said he had 20 minutes. 20 minutes later, Yue Bing and the real estate agreed on a deal. The real estate agent said the certificate could be done in 3 days. Yue Bin suddenly thought it was a dream that he was buying a house. Yue Bing cried with happiness that he could already afford to buy real estate at the age of 18. Yue Bing wished he could take his father away right now, or else he would be scared to death. Now Yue Bing was going to open a martial arts hall and become a teacher. Suddenly, Yue Bing was called out by someone. She asked what Yue Bing was doing here. Yue Bing thought that voice sounded familiar. He turned around. It was Junlin with a tall guy beside her. Yue Bing recognized this guy. The person next to Junling is Hu Yao. In the previous life, this person was the one who broke Yue Bing's arm. He was trying to keep him away from Junlin. Yue Bing tried to keep his temper in check to avoid punching this guy. Now was not the time to fight with him. Yue Bing introduced himself. He knew that Hu Yao was a college student. Hu Yao had already heard of Yue Bin, after all. Junling had told him a lot about him. The guy could believe that Yue Bing held an important place in the girl's mind. Hu Yao was the student council president, so offered to help. In case of difficulties, he was going to shake Yue Bin's lesson. Hu Yao was practicing taekwondo. He was going to give Yue Bin a warning through shaking. The boys shook hands. They grasped each other tightly. Hu Yao did not understand what was happening now. He was very surprised. Yue Bing had inhuman strength. He felt like he was shaking a massive solid rock. Yue Bing laughed, amused by his opponent's reaction. Hu Yao yanked his hand away. It was red and swollen. The boy cried out in pain. Yue Bing asked if everything was all right. He said he just subconsciously squeezed his hand. Hu Yao realized that Yue Bing was strong and that he had underestimated him. Junling was upset. She asked how Yue Bin could bully Hu Yao. Yue Bin said he was sorry for hurting her boyfriend. Junlin said he wasn't her boyfriend, he was just a family friend. They were going to go downtown. Yue Bing said this on purpose. He wanted to get information from Junlin. Hu Yao noticed that Junlin was speaking to Yue Bin in a more intimate tone, not formally like he was. They were on their way to a boxing match. Yue Bing was surprised that the guys were going there. He queried about it. Junlin explained that in underground tiger boxing, Fai Sheng was now the third-ranked boxer. For the past few months, a new star was born on the stage. Dance. The girl suggested that Yue Bin go with them. The guys actually went to the fight. They came to the Tiger Rentals. The second-floor rostrum was reserved for Hu Yao, the best place. Hu Yao was Hu Cheng's son. The secretary was surprised that he had come to see the fight. The secretary found out that Hu Yao is a student of the State University of World Languages. She asked to take care of their future. Hu Yao seemed to be upset about something. He coughed and was about to say something. Hu Yao said that he had booked Zhongling a VIP seat. He looked very even friendly. However, Junlin wasn't listening to him at all. She was having fun and chatting with Yue Bing. Junlin suggested that Yue Bin should go to a boxing match since he is good at martial arts. Yue Bin replied that he would not participate in this underground fight boxing. Yue Bin added that they are not practicing for worldly fame and fortune, but to strengthen the body and protect people. Crane Master heard everything. He was glad that Yue Bing understood the essence of martial arts at a young age. Jun Ling remembered that as a child, Yue Bing had clenched his fists to protect her. In the eyes of Crane Master and Zhong Ling, Yue Bing's figure was getting taller and taller. Yue Bing smirked sinisterly. He had purposely made this pathos speech to increase favor. Hu Yao thought that practicing martial arts for physical fitness was ridiculous. He believed that martial arts couldn't stand up to Bo Hit. After all, martial arts are only for physical training, not fighting, and that's just a cloud of lies. Hu Yao said that one can treat martial arts as a hobby, however. One should not dive too deep. Hu Yao said that this was the era of free martial arts. Only the strongest would be respected at this stage. All the fans in the stands shouted in support of Dance. They told her to dance. Hu Yao liked this kind of greeting. He smiled sinisterly. The hostess was in a rabbit costume. Her name was Miss Me, and she greeted the guests. The girl was going to familiarize the audience with the rules of the game. There were many forbidden blows in traditional fighting, such as a kick to the back of the head, a kick to the leg, and an insertion to the eye. Yue Bing knew that such actions would most likely result in death or disability. The presenter said that these techniques are not prohibited in their Tiger Arena. Yue Bin was shocked that they didn't have any rules. The host went on to say that in their case, there were 2 ways to end the tournament. The first way is to surrender, but this method will cause public applause and loss of reputation. The second method was for the participant to be knocked down after not getting up for more than 10 seconds. The presenter explained that their game is unique. They are very primitive, violent, and arousing. The presenters welcomed tonight's challenger. She told him to come out. It was the one-eyed Zhang Lu who had been defeated by the dance. The man believed he had changed, and tonight he must drag the girl from her throne. Next, Miss Me wanted to introduce the current host of the show. All the audience cheered. They had been waiting for this moment for a long time. A girl came on stage. She waved her long tail. It was a dance. She stood on a pedestal and looked proudly at the audience. The girl looked confident. She was definitely going to win today. Yue Bing knew this woman. Her name was Xiao. It seemed like they had met before. Yue Bing realized that Dance was the same gym teacher from the private high school. The guy never thought that the seemingly petite, weak girl was a major underground fighter. This underground fight is brutal and bloody, with all contestants having to sign a life-and-death contract. Yue Bing didn't understand why Xiao Wu chose to go this way and what she was doing here. The anchorwoman stated that the death match has officially begun. Zhang Lu acted very fast. He swung his fist and was ready to strike the girl. The man started the fight with a blast of rain supplies, but none of the blows hit his opponent. Yue Bing was surprised that Xiao had such a flexible body. He didn't expect to see such a thing. Master Juravel told his apprentice to note that the girl is light and fast. She is a good student for blood boxing. Xiao dodged again. She was indeed moving at the speed of light. Zhang Lu did not expect such a strong opponent. He tried to strike again. The man realized that the girl had dodged to his side, catching the fleeting gap, and now his weak side was completely exposed. The girl was aiming for the very spot that would lead to the breaking of many bones. Severe fractures can damage internal organs. The girl hoped for a knockout punch. Dance threw numerous punches to the man's ribcage. They were very fast. Zhang Lu was losing consciousness, blood spurting out of his mouth. Fighter Zhang Lu appeared to be very injured, but still retained consciousness, which means the battle continues. At that moment, all the spectators shouted from the stands for Dance to kill the opponent. Yue Bin asked Manager Chen why all the spectators were yelling to kill Zhang Lu. This meant that after the opponent falls to the ground, he dies, ensuring an absolute victory. Dance claimed to fully abide by the rules of the official fight competition and never used any prohibited moves. The audience all wanted the girl to kick him in the head or break all his teeth. The audience was hoping that Dance wouldn't let him get up again and finish the fight in spectacular fashion. Dance looked at her opponent. She thought for a moment. The girl didn't want to use those techniques. She said the fight was over. Zhang Lu didn't like this arrogant tone. He had already seen such a tone last time. Zhang Lu reached the far north to wrest the throne from the girl. On his way to conquering the dance, he came across a veteran soldier who began to coach him. After going through rigorous basic training, the man's actual combat training began. His opponent was a Siberian bear, but was indeed huge. Fighting against the bear day after day, Zhang Lu's body grew stronger and stronger. He used sambo to fight. His striking technique is known for killing and spreading the Siberian continent. Zhang Lu got up from Paul and pounced on Dance from behind. He wrapped his arms around her body. Dance realized the man was going to use a technique. A deflection, she tensed. Zhang Lu put his plan into action. He threw the girl over his head. Dance hit her head hard on the floor, blood spurting from her mouth. The man still continued to hold her tightly. He wanted to make sure she was defeated. Hu Yao explained that this trick is called a German backflip, and it can cause serious damage to the opponent. Yue Bin would have been a boxer in the past, and he's familiar with this trick. It can cause back and neck injuries. Everyone thought that Xiao would no longer be able to stand, however. The girl was still conscious. For the dance, such a grab was a surprise. She thought it was necessary to quickly resume the attack. Zhang Lu thought that Dance would lose because she didn't kill him in time. The man wasn't going to make the same mistake as the girl. He was going to kill her. Zhang Lu felt as if he had lost his mind. He started hitting the girl with his fists. Dance felt like she would pass out at any moment. The man had really grown up. Zhang Lu was out of breath. He made every effort to defeat the girl. The man thought it was over. He already thought he had won. The dance lay knocked out. The announcer was about to start the countdown. The girl understood that Zhang Lu was beating her, but she only considered it as 1/10,000th of one person's cruelty. At this point, the presenter began counting down from 10. Dance began to remember events from her childhood. Her mind went blank. Her father had gambled again and wasn't himself. He was angry at his wife for leaving him 2 children and running away. The boy's father was drunk. He thought his children were useless and was holding a bat. Xiaowu was well aware of what was coming next. She told her brother to hug her. The father started beating his children. They were screaming loudly and calling for help. There was a full moon outside and it was a dark night. The children went outside. Xiao's brother asked if his sister was in pain. The girl said that in a few days everything would be fine if their father didn't beat them up. The brother thought himself useless, for his sister had always protected him and the boy himself was unhurt. Xiao was going to get a passport at 16 and take her brother out of this house. Her brother asked where they would go if they ran away from home. Xiao was going to go with her brother Hui Province to the big city, away from there. At the age of 16, the girl did just that. She left home with her brother. The 2 children suffered every day in that house. They were glad to get away from there. Xiao was finally free, but she was overcome with longing that she didn't have a home. Everyone already thought that Zhang Lu had won, however, unexpectedly. Dan stood up. The man didn't understand how this was possible. He was sure of his victory. The girl used a projectile movement technique and grabbed her opponent's neck from the back. From then on, Dance decided that she would shelter herself from the wind and rain. At this time, the hostess counted down the countdown, but for Zhang Lu's defeat. All the spectators supported the dance. They wanted the girl to win. Finally, the presenter counted to 1, which meant the girl had won. The combat participant Zhang Lu lay on the ground for more than 10 seconds. It was over. The battle dance queen was the reigning winner, and she won a record 12 consecutive victories. If the girl wins one more time, she'll become a full-fledged host. That was the end of today's fight. All the spectators were very supportive of Dance. The manager told Sang Ye that their attendance hit a new high today, and it's all thanks to the dance. The only thing the manager was worried about was the dance contract coming to an end. Sang Ye was going to talk to the girl about the contract renewal. It was very important to them. Meanwhile, they came to the fighter's locker room to talk to the Dance. Dance wasn't going to renew her contract. Sang Ye thought the girl had been recruited by another fight club. Dance assured that no one recruited her. She was only willing to participate in 13 games even at the beginning of the signing. After the next victory, the girl would have enough money. After that, she was going to leave the martial arts. Sang Ye was angry because the dance was very important to them, but he said that she could earn even more. The girl needed to make $200,000. If she kept fighting, she would lose herself. Sang Ye asked if Dance had spoken to his 3rd son. Dance said her mind was made up and thanked her for her kindness. The girl said goodbye to Sang Ye. She already had to go. Sang Ye was very angry that Dance was leaving. He broke the cup. The man was furious that Dance had allowed herself to speak to him in that tone of voice. Sang Ye was sure that his son Chao had his own way of letting her stay and work for him. Meanwhile, in Zhang Lu's living room, someone was shouting loudly and asking what the other had done. The second man said he put the cake in the living room. He made it with his own hands, and he ate the top filling of the cake. It was Zhang Lu who shouted. He was asking if the other person had a conscience. He was angry. The man thought things like the filling should be eaten with the cake. He was going to hit another person. However, this man was completely calm. He was wearing a hoodie. Sang Ye, along with the manager, felt a violent shaking from the neighboring living room. The two ran into the living room to see what had happened. Sang Ye, along with his manager, were amazed. They didn't think it was impossible. Zhang Lu was unconscious, with the guy who beat him standing next to him. He was the next opponent to Dance, Jun Hyun, the man introduced himself. At this time, Coach Chen ran behind the Dance. He asked the girl to wait. The man felt that Xiao couldn't waste her youth here and she should go to a regular boxing arena. However, the girl needed money, and from the official fights, she only couldn't make money. Besides, Dance has already knitted for battles. She can't go back. Xiao wasn't going to fight. She only had one last fight left. The events unfolded in Jinligan. A tall mountain could be seen on the horizon. Max and Joan Lin were walking home on a dark night. They were returning from a battle. Yue Bing was surprised that Xiao had become the top fighter in the underground combat arena. He didn't understand how she could be taken as a disciple. The guys reached Jun Lin's house. The girl thanked the guy for walking her. Jun Lin's house was huge. Apparently, her family was quite wealthy. Yue Bing recognized this mansion. It was the #1 house on top of Jinli Mountain. Jun Lin usually stays in the school dormitory and only comes back to live here temporarily on weekends. Yue Bing's house is halfway to the top of the mountain. so he and Zhongling are half neighbors. Yue Bing had bought this house for a while. He was going to tell the girl about it. Junlin was shocked that Yue Bin had bought a house on Jinli Mountain. She hadn't expected it. Junlin knew that the house halfway up the mountain was very expensive. She asked where the guy got that kind of money from. Yue Bing tried to think of a reason where he got the money from and somehow justify this purchase. At this moment, Junlin saw that a piece of paper was lying on the ground. The girl was stopped by this. She thought it was a flyer or something. Junlin picked up the sheet. It was a commercial in which women spent time with men for money. Junlin thought that after so many years, Yue Bing's family had already penetrated the rich woman's heart. Yue Bin asked what Junlin was looking at. The girl showed him the flyer. Yue Bin asked if Junling thought Yue Bin was under the care of a rich woman. Yue Bin noticed that Junlin's face gave her away. The guy ran to the girl. She asked what he was going to do. Yue Bing grabbed her cheeks. She said she would never dare to go to Hu Yao again and asked Yue Bing to give her a break. Junlin was surprised that after so many years, Yue Bing still remembered this trick. It was the girl's biggest weakness. In the past, he had grabbed her cheeks when she did something he didn't like. Junlin thought that Yue Bin, such a successful person, still played such childish pranks. But the girl liked him. Yue Bing really hadn't changed, and that was great. The girl liked him more and more. Yue Bin said his father won the lottery and brought Yue Bin to buy a house. Junlin remembered when she was a child. She often went to Yue Bin's house. His father would often give her candy. Yue Bin said that Junlin would come to this house often in the future, and she should feel at home there. Junlin's mind started having strange thoughts about her own home, cohabitation, and marriage. Junlin had already thought that Yue Bin was proposing to her, but it was very awkward and too fast. The girl got angry and punched a hole in the wall. Junlin pretended not to know where the hole came from. She said there was an air hole. The cost of erecting the wall is another big expense. Yue Bin's heart ached. Yue Bing hoped that everything would go well and he would be able to take Xiao as a disciple. Meanwhile, it was turbulent in the Hu family at the Feiken residence. Mr. Hu's butler reported that his guests were already waiting outside and asked if he wanted to see them now. These guests were all masters in various fields of combat, and one of the worst was a provincial strength athlete. In his house, fighters from different fields really gathered, from boxing, from judo, sambo, and others. The butler reported that everything was ready. He had found these men. Hu Yao praised him. He said that his butler would become the most powerful butler in their family. Hu Yao was further about to embark on a devilish special training. He wanted Junling to see him. Meanwhile, in the forbidden land of the seven forms, Yue Bing shouted at the master and asked him to come down. Crane Master was sitting on a huge chain. He told Yue Bin to practice by himself first, after all. He wanted to be quiet. Yue Bing asked Ben Ben what happened to the master and why he let the guy go today. The manager suggested that he was thinking about Xiao. Master Crane thought she was a good sapling, but she'd spent her youth in the arena of underground boxing. The boy looked at his teacher sadly. He understood his feelings. Master Crane asked if the guy could really make Xiao his disciple if he taught Yue Bing how to kill. Yue Bing was shocked that Crane Master had agreed to teach him this technique after all. Yue Bing wasn't quite sure, but if he could kill the Crane Fist technique in front of her, she would be touched by the power of martial arts. Crane thought it was a good plan and they should try it. Master Crane explained that in order to use the killing technique, Yue Bing must be determined and be willing to overcome difficulties. Bloody boxing is light and fast. It is the fastest of all striking skills. But Yue Bing had little time to practice. The master was going to show the real power of this technique. The master used a trick, the brightly colored wings of a white crane, and snapped the tree in half in one fell swoop. Yue Bing was shocked at this speed and the fact that it was impossible to see the trajectory of the fist. The crane master asked the manager to bring props. Ben Ben did. The manager threw 2 metal pipes at Yue Bing. He didn't expect this. These metal objects landed on the ground. They were very heavy. Yue Bing realized that they weighed several feet. He thought that they were not props, but torture instruments. Master Joravel explained that Yue Bin had to work his fighting style to the max if he wanted to master a new technique. Yue Bing had to practice with this prop 10,000 times a day. It was a technique that goes beyond the human body. Master Crane wondered how long Yue Bing would last. He chuckled. 6 days later, Sangye Tiger Arena reported that Dance did not want to sign the contract. Sanye reassured manager Zhang for everything was under the control of his third son, Chao. Sanye asked if the manager had heard about the deputy elementary school's decision 2 years ago. Zhang knew that the man was a respected person from a higher social circle. It was said that Principal Zhou saw the teenager bullying the old man and tried to stop him. But this boy had a knife in his hand, and the principal defending justice was stabbed to death. The manager thought this boy was crazy, but luckily he was punished and sent to juvie. Sang Ye revealed that the boy who stabbed the deputy principal is Xiao's younger brother, and she owes a huge compensation. The reason a girl fights in underground boxing in the Tiger Arena is just to pay off a debt. Sang Ye was not going to let go of the dance so easily. He wanted the girl to work until she was crippled. Meanwhile, the girl went to the bank. She wanted to cash out all the money. Xiao took all the winning money in compensation for tomorrow's game. When the money is returned, her life will be easier. At this time, someone approached her. With her back to the dance, someone was running fast. She didn't have time to react. This intruder snatched the bag from the girl's hands. It contained all her money. Xiao ran after the man. She told him to return the bag. However, the man was running very fast. He was sure she wouldn't catch up to him. The man threw the bag to his accomplices, which were 2 other guys. They caught it. Xiao was surprised that someone could run much faster than her and was also able to take her bag from her. The man threatened the girl that if she took a step forward, he would break her legs. The man shouted loudly and told Xiao to stand still. He threatened her that one more step and she would lose her leg. He asked if the girl could move her leg now. There were abrasions on Xiao's leg. Just one blow had incapacitated her. The man was about to leave. He said goodbye to the dance. She tried to stop him. The man said they would see each other again. He named the dance. Xiao was surprised that this man knew her battle nickname. She didn't expect it. The girl did not understand who the man was or why he had taken her bag. Meanwhile, in the Tiger Arena manager's office, someone was laughing loudly and happy to get all the money dance. It was Sang Ye. That man had brought all the money to him. Thus, the dance was to continue working for him. The intruder was Zhuang Hen. Sang Ye told him to strangle the pride dance. The man wanted Zhuang Hen to become the next master after defeating Xiao. Meanwhile, his niece came to see Sang Ye. He was surprised that she came as his father-in-law would not be happy about it. It was Mendy, and she ran joyfully to her uncle and promised that she hadn't said anything to her grandfather. The girl asked me to let her watch boxing. She was interested. Sang Ye agreed. He told her to come to tomorrow's match. It would go down in the history of the arena. At the same time, Yue Bing was in the forbidden land of the 7 forms practicing 10,000 strikes a day. Thus, in this world, he had practiced for a full 5 months, and in reality, not much time had passed. After practicing, his body was sweating and sore, so much so that he couldn't move. However, Yue Bing was determined and still made 10,000 strikes. Master Crane praised him, and now he could practice 10,000 strikes in 6 hours. Yue Bing replied that his body had changed. He was now more confident in hitting, and his punch was more powerful. Master Crane knew that to break the boundaries of the human body, one must have an iron will. Yue Bing noticed that there was a sound that seemed flat in his body, but it was very faint. Sometimes it's like the growling of a beast, and it sounds loud. And sometimes it's like a dark cloud-covered sky, like a rumble. Master Crane knew it was an unusual noise. It was the sound of tiger, leopard, and thunder. Master Crane noticed that Yue Bing had indeed persevered for a whole 5 months. He was proud of his disciple. Yue Bing was already very eager to finally learn how to kill. Master Crane had agreed to train him after all. Master Crane explained that in order to use the killing method, he still needed to find sentience. It feels like facing a strong enemy and feeling his body burn. Yue Bing was stunned by such words. He didn't fully understand what it meant. This feeling required Yue Bing to gradually understand, and right now, Yue Bing should rest. Yue Bing was upset that his teacher left him and ran away. He noticed that his teacher liked to understate things until the end. Yue Bing realized that with his current strength, defeating Xiao shouldn't be a problem. He was going to sign up for the duel. It was Sunday. The spectators came to the arena to watch the match. The host announced that tonight was the dance's 13th fight. She wondered if the girl would be able to defend her title. After that, a dance opponent entered the arena. The girl was surprised to see him. This fighter seemed very familiar to the girl. She realized that he was the one who had taken her bag. Zhuang Heng was introduced. The man said hello and said that they had met again. Dance screamed that the villain she met that day was Zhuang Hen. She demanded her bag back. The man paid attention to Xiao's beauty. He wasn't going to give in to women. All the spectators supported the dance. They cheered for her and thought she was invincible. The popularity of the dance is very high, with over 90% of the audience betting on it. Sang Yi thought it was a reflex because before this, dance had won 12 battles in a row. The man believed that it wouldn't be a problem for Zhuang Heng to defeat Xiao. The manager was going to make this guy their star champion because he was sure to win tonight. From then on, it didn't matter if Dance agreed to renew her contract or not. Zhuang Hen would take her place. Sang Ye felt that manager Zhang had overlooked the most important points. That was human nature. He believed that Zhuang Heng had not changed, and like in the past, he would start consuming wine or playing comeback games. He had a difficult character. Sang Ye realized that the dance was not like him. She was not only strong in self-control, but also more loyal. What's also important is that this woman's talent is higher than Zhuang Heng's. The manageress understood Sang Ye's plan that he just wanted to teach the dance a lesson, not his own hands. Sang Ye believed that their casino would harvest. He believed that this trick with 1 stone and 2 crows. Sang Ye was about to lock the dance in the birdcage he had so carefully prepared for her. He felt that the girl could not run away from him forever, for she belonged to him. At this time, the weather outside turned bad and there was a rumble of lightning. Someone rose in a battlesuit, his sash developing in the wind. Yue Bing was saddened that the weather forecast was never accurate, and one should lazily lie at home in such weather. Yue Bing thought that Xiao came to the arena unprepared. She had to make sure she recovered. Meanwhile, in the arena, everyone was cheering the dance with fans shouting loudly. At this moment, Menji was shocked by what she saw. She hadn't expected such a thing. Sangye, along with the manageress, were also shocked. It looked like something hadn't gone according to plan. Zhuang Heng was brutally beating the dance. He was ruthless. The man struck one blow after another on the body of Xiao, who was lying on the ground. The presenter remarked that the dance is completely weakened today and is not fighting at full strength. Zhuang Heng was completely confident of his victory. He was going to break her leg as promised. Zhuang Heng noticed that that blow seemed particularly painful to her, and today she barely made it to the stage. The man had plates strapped to him, so his kicks are particularly hard. Zhuang Heng believed that on this stage, there was only a winner and a loser, and nothing else mattered. There was already a crack in the girl's bone, but she wouldn't give up, for her brother was still waiting for her. The girl thought she couldn't lose. She swung around and wanted to strike. However, the dance was unable to do so, tears spilling from her eyes. Zhuang Hen hit the girl's chin with his knee. He thought that she was still too young. Dance fell to the ground, blood pouring from her mouth. The host realized it was over. The result was a surprise to everyone. Zhuang Heng stood victoriously over Xiao's body and rejoiced in his victory. The dance was defeated. Zhuang Heng became the new champion of the Tiger Arena. Xiao recalled an event from the past. Back then, her brother thought she was working in a restaurant and asked what was wrong with her hands. The girl told her brother that she washes hundreds of bowls a day and her hands would naturally get ruined. Her brother felt he could not study at such a time. He wanted to lessen his sister's worries. Xiao thought that the most important thing now was that he studied well, and she was going to change jobs next week. The vice principal helped the girl get a job, and she told her brother to study hard. Xiao wanted their little family to get better and better. But 2 weeks later, the brother wondered why Xiaowu still hadn't returned home. He heard his sister screaming. She was asking what the principal was going to do and trying to stop him. The boy ran out of the room. He was going to find out what was going on. The principal then drank too much and started introducing himself to Xiao. She tried to stop him. At one point, Xiao shouted and told the principal to leave, but he didn't listen to her. The girl asked the principal to please calm down. She was already tired. Xiao slapped the principal. The man was very angry. The principal threatened that Xiao, her brother, would die. He believed that there was no woman he could not get. Her brother realized how humiliated her sister was. He got very angry. The boy was going to protect his sister. He was filled with anger. Brother Xiao quickly ran towards the two. He told his sister to get out of the way. The boy had a knife in his hand. He was running straight at the principal and wanted to kill him. At one point, blood spurted. The boy still stabbed the man with the knife. Thereafter, shouts from passers-by and police shouts were heard, and the younger brother was taken to the police. 2 weeks later, Xiao went to the hospital to ask the principal for reconciliation. The principal was angry because her brother almost killed him. He was going to get a 10-year sentence. Xiao asked the principal to take pity, for her brother's life would be ruined in such a case. The principal thought about reconciliation. He had a cunning plan. He said if the girl gave him $200,000 and begged for mercy, then he would agree. Xiao remembered her childhood. Even when she was beaten by her father, she never begged for mercy. The girl thought she could overcome everything with her own strength and settle in the capital. However, things didn't go according to her plan. The girl fell to her knees. Xiao asked Director Zhou to spare her brother and sign a reconciliation agreement. After that, her brother had a shorter sentence because of the agreement, and the girl was in debt. In the next 2 years, the director was injured, and also his wife heard unpleasant rumors. As Xiao was walking down the street, she heard an advertisement about making money and becoming a star. It was an advertisement for a tiger arena, with a one-eyed man advertising the arena next to it. The girl didn't know that boxing could also bring in money. She thought it wasn't a bad option. Xiao went to Sunny's boxing gym. It was very big. There, Coach Chen said that this place is not for Xiao. He asked why she came here. Xiao was determined. She wanted to train in boxing and participate in fights. Xiaowu came to her senses in the Tiger Arena's nurse's station. She was dreaming of the past again. Xiao looked at her leg. She was in pain. A splint had been placed on her shin. Xiao stood up. She wanted to find Master San and ask him to give her money back to her. In Sangye's manager's office, the results of Xiao's examination were brought in. The doctor said it was a very serious bone fracture, and even if it was treated, there would be consequences. At this moment, Xiao walked right up to the manager's door and heard their conversation. The doctor said that Dance would no longer be able to bat. The girl was shocked. Manager Zhang yelled at Zhuang Heng for breaking his leg dancing. The man replied that he was a professional athlete and would fight as hard as he could. Zhuang Hen was ready to sign a 10-year contract with the Tiger Arena. Sang Ye thought that this person would be the best choice, and with the contract in his hands, he wouldn't disobey. The decision to sign the contract was made. They raised their glasses to that. At this moment, Xiao walked into the office. She was furious. The girl said that Zhuang Heng is a robber and he stole all her savings. Sang Ye wasn't going to give her the money. He smirked slyly. It turns out he was the one who ordered Zhuang Heng to steal the girl's money. Now she is useless. He told her to get out. Xiao was angry. After all, she had worked hard for Sang Ye. She demanded her money back. The man told his men to beat up this loser and get her out of here. Sang Ye laughed loudly. Things were working out just fine for him. It was pouring outside, and someone's sad sobs could be heard. Xiao was thrown outside and left there to die. She was all beaten up. Dance was conscious. She sat upright in the road and looked up at the sky. The girl's life was ruined. She apologized to her younger brother. At this moment, someone approached Xiao. He asked what happened to her leg. It was Yue Bing. He asked who did this to Xiao. Xiao Wu did not immediately recognize Yue Bing, however. He seemed familiar to her. However, she quickly remembered that she had gone on a blind date with Yue Bing, and then they had lunch together. Xiao felt sorry that Yue Bing saw her at this very moment. She asked what Yue Bing was doing here. Yue Bing came there to take the girl as a disciple. He was unwavering. Xiao was all beaten up. She was surprised that Yue Bing still wanted to accept her as a disciple. She explained that her leg was broken, and the doctor said she wouldn't be able to fight. Xiao used to think she hated violence and boxing, but when the doctor said she couldn't fight, her heart turned to ashes. Until this moment, the girl hadn't realized how much she loved to fight. Guy asked if he asked the best doctor to fix her leg. Would she fight in the arena again? Xiao thought that Yue Bing was a very good person. She agreed to become his disciple. Yue Bing handed her the umbrella. He was going to go and do something. Xiao realized that Yue Bing was heading towards the arena. She asked what he was going to do. The guy replied that Xiao was his disciple from now on. He looked very serious. Tears came to the girl's eyes. She hadn't expected to be treated like this. Yue Bing replied that he would help Xiao take shelter from the wind and rain. The guy looked intimidating. Meanwhile, the arena invited anyone who wished to come out and fight the master. The host asked if anyone wanted to try to fight Zhuang Heng. No one in the audience was going to do it, for they realized they were likely to be destroyed. However, there was one daredevil. It was Yue Bing. He was going to challenge him. The host replied that a warrior had appeared who dared to challenge the master. Yue Bing introduced himself as a martial artist, the successor of the seven-formed martial art. The manager was very surprised when he heard the guy's words about martial arts. A surprised girl was standing nearby. The audience member looked closer and realized that the guy on stage reminded her of someone. The girl remembered that when she was near the river, someone stole her bag. The guy on the stage helped her and stopped the robber. Fighter Zhuang didn't take his opponent seriously. He couldn't believe that an ordinary martial arts master could step into the ring. The fighter said menacingly to his interlocutor that martial arts before modern fighting is just garbage. Yue Bing strictly asked the interlocutor, didn't he break the leg of the girl named Dance? Zhuang cheerfully replied to the guy that the woman was useless. He added that if he hadn't broken his leg, someone else would have been able to do it. Yue Bing decided not to listen to his interlocutor anymore. He tossed aside his robe. The main character Evil said that the girl Dance is his student. He added that when someone bullies the student, the master himself steps in for her. The guy said that Wan Hen will pay for humiliating the girl. The fighter was very angry. He yelled that his opponent was very arrogant. The protagonist told the fighter that any tricks he pulled against him would be useless. Yue Bing got into his professional fighting stance. He prepared to fend off the blows. Spectators were angrily shouting at the fighters to start fighting soon. One of the guards outside the hall said they needed to go inside. His colleague replied that they needed to guard the gate and not let anyone in. He reminded them that they might be scolded by manager Zhang. From behind, someone suddenly walked up to the guards and tapped their heads. A girl with a broken leg was standing near the entrance to the hall. The bodies of the guards were lying next to her. Dance told herself that she had to stop the fight. She was afraid that Zhuang might kill the protagonist. She couldn't understand why it was so quiet in the stands. Dance looked closely at the duel. She was very much amazed. The girl noticed that Yue Bing had received more than a dozen punches from his opponent. At the same time, the guy stood firmly on his feet. Zhang felt pain in his leg. It was as if he had hit a hard rock. The fighter very grudgingly realized to himself that his opponent was like a tall old tree. The protagonist told a surprised opponent that his techniques belonged to martial arts. Yue Bing told the interviewer that his stance could strengthen muscles for a man. Zhuang swung his fist to strike the protagonist. He shouted that he did not believe in his solid body. Yue Bing bounced sharply in the ring away from his opponent. The latter was very surprised. The man was very much astonished. He couldn't understand where the guy could have disappeared to. Yue Bing told his opponent calmly that he had used the soaring crane technique against him. The protagonist knocked the surprised fighter from behind with all his might. He yelled a white crane, spreading its wings. Zhuang felt as if he was losing consciousness. Yue Bing struck his opponent with a special blow that could cause amnesia. The protagonist told his opponent that he could still be conscious even after his powerful punch. The fighter got angry. His body turned into a muscle shield. Zhuang figured he could put the guy into a coma in 3 seconds. Zhuang decided to himself that he would defeat the guy if he couldn't withstand his next attack. The girl looked at the main character and noticed that something strange was going on. The guy's eyes turned red. Yue Bin took a special stance and prepared to defend himself further against his opponent's attacks. The duration of a second may be different for a particular part of the world. It only takes 3 seconds for the flowers to fall. That's enough time. A small hummingbird can flap its wings 180 times in 3 seconds. For some people, 3 seconds is enough time to complete reproduction. The protagonist thought that 3 seconds would also be enough time for the killing technique. The master was telling the protagonist about the method of killing a crane with his fist. The girl explained to the guy that before striking a strong blow, you need to practice speed. Yue Bin said he can throw 5 punches in a second. That's the level of a professional boxer. The master told the protagonist that he should feel the encounter with the enemy like fire. The guy asked the interlocutor, how many blows can she strike? The girl explained that the teacher could deliver 24 blows every second in a burning body state. She delivers 50 blows every second. Yue Bing decided that his mentor couldn't throw 50 punches per second. The audience looked closely at the protagonist and noticed that his eyes suddenly turned red. Yue Bing felt very clearly that his entire body was now burning like a flame. The protagonist thought that people's bodies feel the difference when they face a strong enemy. If a fighter's eyes stop red, it means his body has reached its limit. Zhuang looked at his opponent with great anger. He decided that he must win. Yue Bing swung his fist to try and achieve a special killing technique. The main man yelled angrily as he would throw a murderous series of punches. The onlookers had no time to react when Yue Bing was able to successfully land 30 punches on Zhuang. In an instant, the fighter's body and will collapsed. He didn't realize he would be defeated by martial arts. The angry protagonist stood in front of his opponent. Zhuang was very beaten up. The manager and the girl beside him were very much astonished. They couldn't believe that Zhuang had been defeated. The spectators in the audience were very much surprised. They could not understand how Zhuang Heng could lose the fight. The dance was astonished. She realized that the main character used a 7-formed fist. The main character asked the anchorwoman, "Is she ready to announce the results?" The girl announced that the newly minted master had lost. She added that the winner was Yue Bing. The manager was sitting in his office. He was very angry and shouted at everyone to leave. The protagonist told Master San not to fool around. He reminded him that he had taken his apprentice's money. The manager shouted angrily to his subordinates for someone to get the guy out of the room. Yue Bing reminded the manager that he had been shot by Fei Lao before. He threatened his interlocutor that his fist could be more painful than a bullet. Girl near the table asked her uncle to give the money back to the guy. She recalled that Yue Bin had once helped her. The girl with yellow hair smiled happily at the protagonist. Yue Bing looked at the girl. He thought that she had helped him and he wanted to thank her. Someone in the room identified himself as Joe III. He told the interlocutor that he would give him anything he wanted. The interlocutor demanded that the bag be returned to the girl. The main character was walking with a girl. The rain had stopped outside and the air was full of dust. Yue Bin turned around and looked at his girlfriend. He decided that he hadn't done enough to impress the girl. Xiao Wu looked at her friend with great attention. She wanted to say something to him. The boy and the girl were looking at the setting sun. Xiao said that everything around them was very bright. The girl looked at the sunset in the distance. Her heart was relaxed. She finally made a decision. Yue Bing told the interviewer that she didn't need to force herself to become his disciple. Xiao smiled happily at the protagonist and said she needed food and lodging. She called him master. A girl came to see the principal at a private secondary school in Maorong. The man was surprised because of the student's resignation. The director asked Xiao Yu where she could find a job after her dismissal, reminding her that she still owed him $200,000. Joe looked slyly at the girl and said that as long as she was his mistress, there would be no need to return the $200,000. The man looked at the student. He realized that as long as he kept pushing the girl, she would give up sooner or later. Xiao looked angrily at her interlocutor and said that he would receive retribution sooner or later. Joe laughed very merrily. He said that revenge is the best joke for him. The man proudly said he had had dozens of mistresses over the years. Suddenly, Mr. Joe heard what sounded like someone under the table repeat his voice. The main character showed up with a tape recorder. He told Director Joe that they met again. The director was very surprised. He couldn't understand how the guy had gotten under his desk with a tape recorder. Joe stood scared in the center of the room. He yelled for the guy to get out of his office. Yue Bin told Man that his wife might accidentally find the tape recorder. He added slyly that Mrs. Joe used to be on the weightlifting team. The man thought about it. He had a very realistic idea of what would happen if his wife got angry. The main character told the man that if he forgave the debt to the Xiao girl, he would not say anything to his wife about the tape recorder. The man jumped up sharply. He shouted angrily that he could take the recorder himself. The protagonist and his girlfriend are serious about fending off the man's attack. The guy and the girl forcefully pounded Mr. Zhang with their hands. As a result, Joe was beaten very badly. When the man woke up, he signed an agreement to forgive the debt to Xiao's girlfriend. Yue Bin came with his girlfriend to his luxurious villa. The guy pointed the girl to the gate and told her that she would be living in this place from this day forward. Xiao was very happy. She remembered that she used to live in cheap apartments for $400. Now she would live in a villa. The girl saw a sign that said there was a martial arts hall. She realized that this place would have many interesting stories to tell. Xiao told the protagonist that she had to take care of her injuries. The girl made a small wish in her heart. Compared to Xiao's desire, the protagonist fell into deep thought. At that time, the overseer was playing cards with the girl. He shouted that Master Crane had lost again. The girl told her interlocutor that the game is a lot of fun for her. She added that she can't win against the warden of the prison. Yue Bing was very surprised. He shouted that Master Crane had broken her leg. He asked the people, "Do they still have time to play with the warden?" The girl told the protagonist not to worry. She added that she had a set of techniques that would help Xiao speed up his recovery. The warden was holding a set of pouches. He said that he had carefully prepared these medicinal powders and suggested that the boy take them for himself. The protagonist smiled at his friends and said that he was grateful that they had found a method to cure Xiao. The warden and the girl thought to themselves unhappily that the guy had changed his attitude towards them very quickly. Xiao asked with great surprise at the main character, "What is he doing here?" Xiao explained to her interlocutor that only students from the martial arts hall could be in the bathhouse. She asked him what he was going to do. Yue Bin told the girl that she looked like a pervert. He added that he came here to prepare a bath for her. The protagonist told his student to get into a tonic bath. The girl thought she had a bad feeling. Xiao asked the master, "Can a healing bath heal her leg?" Yue Bing replied to the girl that regular bathing speeds up healing and brings health benefits. To the girl, it all seemed suspicious. The protagonist also seemed like her ex-principal Joe. Xiao imagined the guy would want to take a bath with her. In reality, the main character turned around and headed for the exit. He told the student to take a bath. Xiao thought to herself that her master had left without looking back at her. The girl sat down in the bathroom. She thought to herself that her friend was not a person like Principal Joe. Yue Bing walked alone and remembered the body of his student that he had just seen in the bathroom. The protagonist happily thought that the girl had really big breasts. The girl was talking to the warden. She said that she always felt as if something was missing. The warden informed the interviewer that he had forgotten to tell Yue Bin about the side effects of the powders. The interlocutor told the girl that his medicine could speed up the body's metabolism to speed up recovery. He explained that there could be aphrodisiac side effects. The girl became agitated after the warden's words. She realized that something was going to happen. Xiao was lying on the bed. She clearly felt that her leg didn't hurt as much after the bath. The girl felt that her body was tingling, and there was a great weakness in it. Yue Bing told his student that he would be using 7 forest techniques. He added that he would be giving massages. Xiao Yu felt to herself that the master's eyes were shining brightly. She decided that the guy would show his true face. The student was frightened. Her imagination was telling her that the protagonist could destroy her. Yue Bing activated a blue water dot on the girl's body. Her body should have felt relaxed by the slamming raindrops. Next, the protagonist used massage around finger tenderness. To complete the recovery, the protagonist used a third formula called Buddha, Renli, and Anger. The girl felt much better. She screamed. The protagonist headed for the exit. He informed the girl that the treatment was over and offered her to rest. Yue Bing reminded the student to wrap herself in a blanket to avoid catching cold. The master slammed the door shut specifically. He shouted goodbye to the girl to rest. Xiao thought to herself that her master turned out not to be lustful. Yue Bing looked at his hands. He thought that the solution the overseer had prepared had a strong effect. After the first massage, Xiao Wu girl no longer had any suspicion of the protagonist. Eventually, her vigilance dropped to 0. Yue Bing asked the girl with great excitement, "Does the master really want to see Xiao in the real world?" The interviewee explained to the guy not to worry. He wants to completely hide his identity. The girl looked at the protagonist and said they could pretend to be friends. Yue Bing very emotionally guaranteed his interlocutor that she would be satisfied. A couple of days later, the main character was out for a walk with his girlfriends. Xiao happily shouted that she hadn't gone shopping in a long time. The protagonist called joyfully to his student. He said that they had been waiting for her for a long time. Xiao saw a stranger standing next to the guy. She asked who it was standing there. Yue Bing explained that standing next to him was his distant relative from another country named Xiao Yi. The girl introduced herself and suggested to her interlocutor that she call her Xiaozu Yi. Xiao noticed that the stranger looked very old-fashioned. The student stroked Xiao Yi's head and said very cheerfully that she would take her to buy new clothes. Xiao promised her new acquaintance that she would definitely take her to the beauty parlor. After changing clothes, the girl came out and said she had changed. The main character and his girlfriend were surprised. Xiao Yi asked the main character, why is she wearing such a revealing outfit, and how can such a thing be worn? Yue Bing was surprised. He didn't expect his master crane to become a cute girl after changing clothes. The main character introduced a girl with country clothes and messy hair. She had a killer aura. After that, Yue Bin saw a girl wearing a fancy miniskirt and with a Mila aura. She was beautiful. The student was very amazed. She couldn't believe that the dress cost 78,000 yuan. A saleswoman told customers that their store sold luxury brands. Master asked the fellow how much rice could be bought for the price of the dress. The girl was surprised that 1,600 pounds of rice could be bought for the dress. Xiao Yi shouted to the protagonist that she couldn't take her clothes. She offered to buy rice and store it. The protagonist replied to the interlocutor that times had changed and not to worry. The girl thought to herself, the age she lived in was full of war and death. The main character called out to the salesgirl. It was a beautiful blue-haired girl. Yue Bing handed the girl his bank card and said he would pay for everything. Yue Bin thought to himself that this was the first time he was buying such expensive clothes for his girlfriend. The saleswoman was very happy to have such customers. She said goodbye to the protagonist. The girl happily shouted to the guy that she was jealous of their family. She added that he had a cute daughter. Xiao Yi realized that they were all seen from the outside as a family of 3. Master Crane decided that she had experienced severe humiliation. She considered the protagonist to be at fault. Passers-by saw a beautifully dressed girl. They decided to approach her. A man asked Xiao Yi with interest if she was a model in an agency. A passerby asked the girl with interest, where did she buy such a dress? The student told the protagonist that Xiao Yi didn't like her new clothes. The protagonist replied to the girl that she didn't know her new acquaintance well enough. Xiao approached her friend and said that she should be happy in her heart. Then the main character took his Master Crane out for ice cream. The girl loved it. Master Crane was not very aware of her surroundings, so she asked her new friends about everything. The student said she had to go back to work. She promised to play with Xiao Yi next time. Yue Bin was sitting on a bench. He told his companion that time was flying very fast. The main character said that after he practiced the killing method, it was easy for him to defeat Zhuang Hen. He asked the girl what kind of samurai defeated her then. Xiao Yi replied that she didn't know the samurai's name. She added that her opponent was a descendant of the gods of the Wu Feishan kingdom. The girl explained that her rival had a peculiarity that she would never forget. Xiao Yi remembered that the samurai had a cross-shaped scar on the front of his head. The protagonist was very surprised. He was interested in the fact that the fighter had a cruciform scar. The tiger was not allowed to be photographed or videotaped in the arena, but somehow the video got on the net. The video quality was poor, but the process of the protagonist's victory was fully recorded. The videotape of the battle spread over a vast area across the continent. At that time in Osaka, there was a combat training in a special hall. In the Shinbu Dojo Hall, warriors practiced sword fighting with each other. The guy said the word Shenyu and prepared to attack his opponent. The girl with blue hair swung her sword against the guy. The fighter shouted that he was staying. He added that the older Fujishima is very good, and he is no match for her. The girl said with a smile to her opponent that she used to practice Shenwu Fei Tianliu. She added that if the guy practiced, he could surpass her. The audience was amazed. One of them said that the Fuji girl could be one of the top 3 masters. The girl told her subordinates that if they practiced poorly and were lazy, they would be scolded by the master. The girl was holding a cell phone in her hands. She said that someone from China had uploaded an interesting video to YouTube. Fuji was very interested. It was hard for her to realize that China could have martial arts. The girls watched the video on their phones with great interest. They noted that the speed of the guy's punches looked like shooting stars. One of the warriors said that she did not expect that there could be such a person in China. Fuji noted that the quality of the video is very poor. That is why it seems to everyone that the guy is hitting very fast. The girl explained that it's really all just a lot of techniques. She added that Chinese martial arts are not very good. Fuji looked at the phone. She said that Master Yuang was simply very weak. The girlfriend said Fuji is very much in the know. The girl looked at her phone and said she hadn't seen anything like this before. An old man came out. He explained to the girls that this technique is called the crane fist method. The girls greeted the master. The old man said he had dealt with this style of fighting before. The girls asked who won in the end. The old man had a scar on his face. He said that he had defeated Shenwu Fei Tianlu. The master told his companions that Chinese martial arts was just an empty name. The master said that their school was one of the top 4 kendo schools. The girl listened to him happily. An old man asked a girl if she had packed her luggage for the flight to China tonight. The girl replied that she had packed everything. Fuji said goodbye to her grandfather. She yelled that she would remind her brother of everything. The girl thought to herself that Chinese kung fu was not considered good. She decided to try some Chinese food. The main character was at Feisheng University. He was out with a girl. The student pointed at the guy and asked why he hadn't been in class all week. The main character said he sees 3 of his best friends in front of him. The student with glasses realized that he had heard a familiar voice. He thought that all his complaints had been dispelled. Yue Bin waved the guy's hand and thanked him for helping him excuse himself. The student was surprised to see the protagonist next to the hottie. The student was very upset. He realized that the main character had a girlfriend and went to rent a place. He decided that it was a stab in the back for him. The guy grabbed the protagonist. He'd be very unhappy because the guy had a girlfriend. The apprentice realized that her master was in danger. She decided to act immediately. Xiao ran up and disarmed the student with a large number of punches. The guy was lying unconscious on earth. The main character asked the girl what she had done. The apprentice warned her interlocutor that the evil forces wanted to strike him. The girlfriend warned the protagonist that the guy with glasses looked like a murderer. Yue Bing calmed her down and said that the student was a regular glasses man. The main character's friends were very much surprised when they found out that he had a student walking next to him. Yue Bing explained to his friends that he had learned martial arts. Xiao was able to become his student. The protagonist asked his friend, "Hasn't he had a date with Zhou Qi yet?" A student said with tears in his eyes that he invited a girl to a movie. He wanted to get close to her, but she broke his finger. Yue Bing was surprised. To himself, he couldn't understand how his friend could do such a thing. The student with glasses smiled. He said that he had a new goal. He said that a Japanese exchange student, Fujishima Lee, was coming to their university. The protagonist thought about it. He remembered that he had heard the name Fujishima Lee somewhere before. Yue Bin remembered that last time. This girl or her brother came to study at the University of Languages. Then something big happened. Fujishima Lee and his brother jumped off the building on the same day in the same academic building and committed suicide. Yue Bing remembered that the suicide of the girl and her brother had been written about in the newspapers. The student hugged the protagonist and said that he was responsible for meeting Fujima Lee. He added that he had information. The guy said in a confident voice that the Japanese girl would definitely become his girlfriend. The protagonist thought about it. He vaguely remembered to himself how Fujishima's brother and sister had committed suicide. It was within 2 weeks after they were transferred to the school. Yue Bin thought to himself that it is often said that the people of China are under pressure, and because of this, the suicide rate is rising. But it is very strange that a brother and sister committed suicide on the same day. The main character told himself that he's not a superhero, and he doesn't care at all. The students lined up outside the entrance. They were preparing to meet Fujishima's sister and brother. Students stood next to the red carpet. Someone said that the school provided many special treatments for international students. The newcomers would receive free tuition and an allowance of $1,000. One of the guys said that international students get better facilities than they do. The guy replied that the visiting students would be respected with their money. Yue Bing thought to himself, there are many things foreigners like in this era. He remembered that there are schools that make their students accompany foreign students. The guy thought to himself, the current China still lacked confidence. He thought that after 10 years, China's strength would increase and the situation would improve. One of the students shouted happily that Fujishima's brother and sister had finally arrived. The girl greeted the University of Languages Feishan. Fuji stood looking admiringly at the school building. She wanted to find the cafeteria. The students got very excited. One guy realized that Fujishima was a beauty. A guy came up from the side and told the surprised girl that she had waited a long time for her. A student was holding a huge number of red roses. He decided to give them to a foreign student. The guy with glasses told the girl that he was a student representative. His name was Shu Da. He told the girl that he was good at computers and movies and even spoke a little Japanese. The main character thought to himself that in this world, people learn from childhood an additional language in addition to their mother tongue. Yue Bin thought the whole world spoke the same language. That's why everyone understood each other. Fuji was very surprised and excited because the student Shuda also spoke Japanese. She asked him to tell her something. The inspired student began to utter some incoherent phrases and words. Shu wanted to compliment the girl. She beat him up and yelled that he was a pervert. The main character watched everything that was happening with interest. He realized that Shu was worthy of being a person called an isolationist. Fuji was walking through the campus. She was hungry. She was looking for the cafeteria. The girl walked past the protagonist. He didn't pay any attention to her. Suddenly, the student felt something very strongly in her body. She was amazed. Fuji realized that when the protagonist passed by, her body uncontrollably went into a fighting state. The girl noticed that she didn't hear the main character's footsteps as he walked past her. Fuji decided to herself that she was very tired and was hallucinating. She wanted to try a dinner of fried rice and eggs. The girl thought to herself that her brother had disappeared somewhere after getting off the plane. At that time, a warrior came to Mount Jinlishan. The sun was gradually setting. The guest told himself unhappily that it was already evening and he had not entered the martial arts hall. The warrior asked himself, Is this really the end of the Taichi Fujishima clan? He didn't want to do this. The boy looked carefully at the gate. He realized that this was the hall he wanted. The warrior said happily that he remembered these Chinese characters well in his mind. He was surprised that there was a martial arts hall on this mountain on the grounds of this villa. The guy looked in front of him. He decided it all looked a little small for him, but he didn't care. The warrior decided that if he was accepted, it would be the first step for him in his plan for Fujishima Taichi. At that time, a sigh sounded nearby. The stranger became alert. A figure of a man approached the warrior from behind in the rays of the setting sun. The guy was carrying a bag of groceries. He was walking and looking carefully at the curb. Everything in the world around him had nothing to do with him. Yue Bing walked and thought to himself, what would be the best dish to prepare? Suddenly, the protagonist was very surprised. He noticed a stranger in front of him. The two men's gazes met. There was a great uneasiness in the air afterward. Yue Bing asked the stranger why he was standing in front of his martial arts hall. He offered him training for 500 yuan a month. The guest rejoiced. He decided very angrily that he saw a student in front of him. He decided to kill him with his weapon. The warrior remembered his special katana. It was handmade by a nationally renowned master smith. His grandfather had personally given it to the boy on the day of his majority. The sword is very quiet and sharp. The guy decided that with his swordsmanship skills, it wouldn't be a problem for him to destroy Chinese martial arts. Yue Bing asked with surprise at his interlocutor. Why does he carry around a real katana, he added. It's very dangerous. The Taichi warrior thought to himself that he was inferior in strength only to his younger sister and one other person. He decided that he could handle a student at the martial arts school without any problems. The guy told himself that he could not lose his first battle in China. Taichi shouted very angrily to his opponent that he was about to die. The warrior rushed to attack the protagonist. The guy barely had time to bounce back. Yue Bing jerked back abruptly. He even dropped his bags in surprise. A guy's groceries fell out of the bag he bought. There were a lot of eggs in there. Taichi was very much surprised and amazed. He could not understand how the guy could dodge his blow. The protagonist thought to himself that he had spent $12 on eggs. Yue Bing accelerated and ran to the side. He decided to use the soaring crane technique. The guy ran up and grabbed the eggs. He started laying them out neatly. Yue Bing said cheerfully. He caught all his eggs before they fell to the ground. Taichi was very surprised. He couldn't figure out how the guy got the eggs. One egg flew in a strange direction. The protagonist didn't notice it. Yue Bing looked to the side at the very last moment and noticed the falling egg. The egg crossed an even straight line. It hit the ground without hesitation. Then the shell shattered and it flew off in pieces in all directions. Taichi Fujishima plunged into dead silence. After that, there was a sound in the main character's head. Yue Bing felt as if an eruption and explosion had begun. It was like a symphony of hell. The main character was angry. He stood in line for 2 hours to buy eggs at a discount. He asked his rival angrily, does he really want to die? Taichi became extremely agitated. He saw a ferocious, murderous aura in front of him. Taichi was very frightened. He realized that death had a firm grip on the protagonist's throat. Yue Bing decided that he needed to teach his opponent a lesson. He picked up his wand. The guy was holding a disposable handy chopstick from the supermarket. Taichi was very angry. He didn't like that the guy wanted to use the chopstick as a weapon against him. Yue Bing swung his wand. He shouted at the last moment that he was sorry. The protagonist launched his wand and shouted that all of this is a hidden weapon. The flying wooden weapon struck the opponent with all speed. Taichi received a powerful and devastating blow to the head. He lost consciousness. Taichi never imagined that in the first battle he would meet the master. The protagonist wanted to give advice to his defeated rival as a farewell. Yue Bing told his opponent that if he wanted to buy cheap eggs, he should stand in line. He added that he would spare his opponent this time. Taichi Fujishima lay on the earth. A bloody stain appeared on his head. With the arrival of the brother and sister, Fujishima unknown undercurrent rages in the Feiken. The woman told strictly subordinates that they had finally arrived. She added that she had been waiting for them for days. The leader told the warriors that she would now begin to explain the purpose of the mission. The woman held a blade in her hand. She told her subordinates to kill Fujishima's brother and sister. The main character asked Master Crane what happened to her. The girl told the guy that she didn't know why. The master said that there was some deja vu in the sword that the stranger used. Bin told the girl that he was able to defeat his opponent easily. He added that his companion might be wrong. The girl looked carefully in front of her. She said that she was indeed mistaken. Yue Bing raised the sword in his hands. He said that this katana looked good. The girl asked the guy why he took the katana from his rival. She reminded him that the sword is more important than life for a samurai. The protagonist explained that he broke an egg because of his rival and suffered psychological damage. The protagonist said cheerfully that the katana was very heavy. He said he wanted to give it to a scrap metal collector. The master thought to herself that she felt shame as a teacher, looking at her student. At this time, Taichi came out of the hospital building in Faiken City. He felt strange. The warrior couldn't understand why he was in the hospital or what had happened to his head. The last thing he remembered was getting off the plane and going to the semi-form martial arts hall. Taichi decided that he should return to school as soon as possible. It was important for him to take care of the condition of his katana. The warrior, out of habit, reached out his hand to draw his sword. It was not there. Taichi was frightened. He shouted that his katana was gone and it was all over for him. The next day, a guy was sitting outside the University of Languages Faichen. Taichi sat sad on a bench. He realized that he had lost the expensive katana his grandfather had given him earlier. A student showed up. She asked her brother in surprise, "Why is he sitting here?" Fuji asked her interlocutor with surprise, "Why didn't he bring his katana?" Taichi realized grudgingly to himself that his sister was very serious. He was unlucky to be in this place. Out loud, he told the girl that he had left the katana in his bedroom. Fuji asked her brother to take him to see the katana. She added that she was worried about her. A student met her girlfriends. They suggested we go and eat in the cafeteria. The girl offered to eat beef and sour soup. The girlfriend asked Fuji what was the thing on her back. Fujishima told her interlocutors that in their family, all descendants receive a sword from a famous teacher after reaching adulthood. The girls were very excited. One of them said that the katana could have been left at home. Fuji told Strictly girls that for them, the katana is the most important thing in life. The sword must be carried daily and must not be lost. The girl explained that if anyone lost the katana, there would be a heavy price to pay. The girl said her friend's face looked really scary. She suggested we go to the cafeteria. The warrior looked at his sister and realized she was attracted to Chinese food. The guy thought to himself that he had lost his memory in battle. He decided that he would fight the same man again and his memory would come back to him. Taichi decided to himself that he could overpower anyone who fought him. While Shu was practicing his martial arts skills, he asked the guy, "Is he standing in the standard pose?" He asked the student, "Why did the student join the kendo club?" The student said slyly that Fujishima was the heiress of a family of swordsmen. He added that if he learned kendo, he could talk to the girl about a common topic. The main character told his friend not to give up even if he was beaten. At that time, there was a strong bang on the door. Taichi standing in puffs of smoke. He said grudgingly that the kendo club was small and primitive. A warrior ran in. He shouted to the kendo clan people that he was here to teach them a lesson. The protagonist glanced unhappily at the guest who had dropped by. He was annoyed with him. Taichi took a leisurely and calm step towards the guy. Yue Bing looked at the guy who had passed very unhappily. He remained silent. Taichi got worried. He couldn't understand why his heart started beating hard and fast after the guy's gaze. He even thought that maybe he was gay. When Taichi Fujishima thought he was in love, memories flooded into his mind. Suddenly, Taichi realized to himself that he remembered everything. Melodious music began to play in his heart. It seemed to the warrior that this was the case. He realized that he was now performing something. Taichi decided to himself that he was now doing a dance with death. The warrior told the protagonist that the katana really meant a lot to him. He asked that the guy give it back to him. Yue Bin told his interlocutor that the food was not flavorful yesterday because of the lack of egg. He demanded of his interlocutor that he pay him for the loss if he wanted to take back the katana. Taichi asked his interlocutor how much he should pay. The protagonist warned the guy that it would cost him a lot of money. He decided to take $100 from the warrior. Taichi shouted angrily to the protagonist that he would pay him $10,000. He added that he wanted to meet tomorrow night on the roof of the building. The protagonist was very surprised. He never expected to get $10,000. The leader decided to tell her subordinates that they would be acting today at the University of Faicheng Languages. The woman was holding a picture of Fujishima's brother and sister. She showed it to her subordinates. The leader explained to the fighters that this is what Fujishima's should look like. The fighters saw a picture of two children in front of them. One of the subordinates said it would be hard to find anyone in that baby picture. The woman explained strictly to her subordinates that the employer had placed an expedited express order. Therefore, they have no time to prepare. The leader said that Fujima is a samurai family. The katana is life to them. She explained that if any student on campus has a katana, it means it is a Fujishima brother or sister. The woman explained to the fighters that there are no difficulties in this world. No one can stop the Red Star organization from killing. Subordinates told their supervisor she was good at coming up with ideas. Someone shouted that they were thrilled. The woman commanded sternly for the ninja team to move forward. A warrior came up from behind. He told the woman named Qianmei that she was very determined. Qianmei turned around and sternly asked, "Who was it that came up behind her?" A woman saw two fighters. One of them was wearing some kind of special sign. Qianmei realized that she saw warriors with special skills in front of her. They were a group under the jurisdiction of Zhonggren. The woman asked the fighters, "Why are they here?" The warriors replied to the woman that the operation was very important, and that was why the boss had sent them both. The ninjas laughed and shouted that they were going after the Fujishima brother and sister. After that, they abruptly disappeared. Junmei thought for a moment. She realized that if the Zhongren squad came, they would definitely complete the task. The woman didn't understand where the anxiety in her heart was coming from. The leader felt a special thrill. She thought she saw something. The students left the building after studying. They decided to go to a nice restaurant. At that time, a ninja Tisu flew over the student city. In flight, he glided invisibly among the tall buildings. The ninja looked closely and realized he had found his target. He noticed a girl with a katana behind her back. Fuji was walking down the street and was deep in thought. She thought her brother might have lost his katana. At this time, one ninja was watching everything through binoculars. He told his captain on the comms that he had discovered something. The warrior told the commander that the target was on the roof of the training building A. The ninja thought he saw Taichi Fujishima standing in front of him. The guy stood with his eyes closed. He realized that now was a good opportunity to attack him. Yue Bing stood there and was deep in thought. He couldn't understand why the guy he knew hadn't come. At this time, someone suddenly launched a dagger towards the protagonist. The dagger hit Yue Bin at speed. He didn't react, but stayed on his feet. The ninjas started yelling to each other that they didn't need to hide anymore. They got ready to go out. One of the fighters couldn't understand why the warrior on the roof hadn't come down yet. The protagonist had a dagger in his teeth. He was able to catch it in flight. Fuji walked up to the river. She thought to herself that her brother wasn't answering. She noticed something suspicious on the surface of the water. The student looked closer and saw that there was a bamboo tube sticking out of the water. Suddenly, one ninja jumped out of the water. He shouted to his colleagues to grab the girl. Fuji asked the assassin's organization with surprise. "What are they doing here in China?" She clarified. Didn't they come for her brother? The girl noticed a knife-wielding fighter in front of her. She remembered her brother. Ninja folded his arms and said he belonged to the Red Star organization. Shadow clones appeared. One of them told the girl Fujishima Lee that she was going to die today. The fighters use shadow cloning. This technique creates a clone that has the same physical attributes and mindset as the host. This technique shocks the enemy. The fighter thought the Fuji girl was too scared to talk. He figured she couldn't fight. The girl was very surprised. She realized that she would be lucky to fight a ninja. After that, she even forgot about her brother. The fighters were amazed. They thought the girl had seen the essence of the shadow cloning technique. As long as the warrior is facing the target, the enemy cannot see four other men standing behind him. Chinese song dance performance utilizes the principle of shadow cloning. Shadow doubles must perform well in combat. So the five must have a perfect understanding of each other. For this reason, they must eat, sleep, and train together. The warriors were together all the time and tried to copy each other. Through common training, all the fighters achieved 100% synchronization. The ninjas shouted to each other that this was why they would never lose. Fuji raised her katana up and said it was all a small problem. The girl with the sword in her hand angrily shouted to her opponents that they would all die now. Fuji has decided to use the Shinu technique against her opponents. She must draw her katana and swing it to face her opponent in a fighting stance. If the katana is pulled out, the enemy dies instantly. The katana is 60 centimeters long. A circular space is formed around the girl. Fuji closed her eyes briefly. She told herself that she could do it. At which time one of the fighters accelerated and flew towards the girl. Fuji excitedly realized that she needed to act now. The girl swung her katana very quickly and professionally. After a powerful blow from the girl, several ninjas were struck to death. The fighter told the girl before he died that she was a very strong descendant of Shenu Fatian. The ninja added that Fujishima was in danger even after winning. He explained that they were just pawns in the organization. The girl became very worried. The dying warrior said the organization would kill her brother and come after her. Fuji asked her interlocutor, why are they doing this? A dying ninja said that the golden age of Yangtze martial arts will come. The fighter passed away. Before he finished the sentence, the girl's heart was full of worry. Fuji wondered. She couldn't figure out what the golden age of martial arts was. At that time, there was a big explosion on the roof of the building. The girl came to her senses. She remembered that she had to help her brother. After the explosion, the entire neighborhood was covered in thick and acrid smoke. One of the fighters told his colleague Sakia that he had accidentally blown up fellow members of the organization. The girl mistook the main character with the katana for Taichi Fujishima. She said she would be sad to kill such a handsome man. He realized to himself that the ninja had mistaken him for Taichi Fujishima. This meant that Fujishima's brother and sister from a past life had been killed by ninjas, and the whole thing had been disguised as a suicide. The ninja angrily shouted that she would use the Red Star Shinobu technique. The girl activated a special skill called Fireball. The ninja shouted to the guy that only a Junin could use such a technique. The girl asked with surprise at her opponent, Isn't he a descendant of Shannel Lu? She asked as the guy showed his katana. The protagonist calmly exhaled out of himself. He told the interviewer that he couldn't use the katana. Yue Bing exhaled air deeply with all his might. He shook off the fire. The ninjas were very much surprised. They couldn't understand how the guy was able to deflate the fireball. Yue Bing replied to the fighters that they just said that Taichi is the successor of Shannel Lu. Then the protagonist turned around and started walking away. The girl looked angrily at her opponent and said that the guy would now say that he was not a Taichi Fujishima. Yue Bin looked calmly at the interviewer and said that Oni was mistaken. He added that he was not Taichi Fujishima. The girl told the guy angrily that she was unlucky as the wind was headwind. She added that the next fireball would kill her. The girl wondered. She couldn't understand why her partner was standing upside down. The protagonist held his rival with his hands on her leg. He explained that if Taichi died, he would lose $10,000. After which the guy blew on the girl's bare leg with his breath. The surprised ninja asked the Taichi what the latter was going to do with his partner. The protagonist used a special skill called Archangel's Breath against the girl. The ninja felt a multitude of ants crawling on her legs. She could not endure such torture. The girl felt very sick. She couldn't hold back any longer. The protagonist saw his rival's body in front of him completely engulfed in flames. The girl fell dead to the ground. The fighter realized that this time they had underestimated the enemy. There are two types of people in the Fujishima company. One is employed in heavy industry. The other part of the people inherited the family's martial arts spirit. The ninja thought that a genius in the new Shinu generation named Taichi Fujishima was standing in front of him. The ninja was startled to realize to himself that the mission had already reached S-rank difficulty for him. The fighter decided to use a special move against the protagonist. He spun in place. Yue Bing looked at the guy across from him. He realized that the fighter was throwing something into the sky. The warrior threw a weapon into the sky. The ninja said that in a few seconds a multitude of weapons would fall down like a downpour. The ninja knew his opponent couldn't hide on an empty roof. He yelled to the guy that it would definitely destroy him. Huge amounts of deadly and sharp weapons were falling from above. To defend himself, the fighter used the art of iron armor. The warrior was completely encased in iron protection. He decided that when the star rain was over, he would finish the guy off. At that time, Taichi came running onto the roof with a bag in his hands. He shouted to the protagonist that he had brought money and demanded the katana, while a huge number of dangerous blades continued to fall from the sky. Yue Bin greeted the guy and said he had been waiting for him for a long time. Taichi thought he had a bad feeling. After that, the Taichi cried out very loudly as he was affected by the rain of blades. The ninja stood up happily thinking to himself that it was over, as he heard the shouts of Taichi Fujishima. Suddenly, the warrior was startled and greatly frightened. He saw something unusual in front of him. Yue Bing was able to reliably defend against the rain of blades thanks to the Taichi's body. Taichi very excitedly and fearfully cursed the protagonist to himself. Yue Bing shouted angrily to his opponent that his techniques were useless here. The ninja was surprised. He figured his opponent was the real devil. The girl was going up the stairs very fast. She heard her brother scream. Fuji ran out onto the roof from the open doors. She asked her brother if he was okay. The girl didn't see her brother on the roof. There was a guy standing there looking at the moon. He looked familiar to her. Yue Bing stood and thought deeply to himself where he would spend $10,000. The girl looked at the corpses of the ninjas in front of her, lying on the roof. Fuji couldn't believe a guy could defeat a special unit. Yue Bin went to the edge of the roof and prepared to jump off. He decided to go to McDonald's. Fuji got really excited. She asked the guy who he was. Yue Bing replied before falling to the girl that he was a master of the martial arts school and the successor of the 7 form techniques. In the summer of 2008 year, Zhu told the protagonist about computer games. He suggested that we team up to defeat Lord Rebirth. Yue Bin told his interlocutor that he was very naive. He explained that it was not easy to kill the daughter-son of Nordenlun. A girl screamed from the side. She was running at full speed towards the guy. Yue Bing thought deeply to himself. He realized that he had heard this voice before. Fuji thanked the protagonist for his help last night. She added that she wanted to be alone with him for a while. Yue Bin explained to his girlfriend that they also had other things to do. They needed to hurry. The girl agreed. Guy Shu was angry. He didn't like that the main character didn't have enough of his girlfriend Zhongling. Fuji handed the protagonist a card. She thanked him for helping her brother. Yue Bin held the card up and said that they show a chivalrous spirit when they see injustice. He told the interlocutor that Ta can take the money and go. Fuji told the main character that she was sorry. She explained that she had saved $100,000 of her pocket money on the card. The guy was surprised when he heard the amount. Yue Bin took the money card. He explained to the girl that he would take the card if she insisted. The main character explained to the surprised interlocutor that according to the rules of martial arts, you can't give the gift back. Fuji looked at the guy and decided that he wouldn't be very pleased. The girl excitedly told the guy that any help should be rewarded. She promised the guy that she would do anything for him. Yue Bin turned his back to the girl. He said he wanted something of value from Miss Fujima. The girl was interested. She looked excitedly at the protagonist. The main character decided that there are always more fake friends than real ones. He realized that let the past be the past. Yue Bin looked at the girl and decided that she was not a bad person. The guy decided to create a good and friendly relationship with his acquaintance. Fuji got really excited about the guy's request. She reminded him that Fuji is her savior. The girl ran after the guy. She reminded herself that she shouldn't hesitate. Yue Bin said aloud that it was late and he would go. Fuji abruptly ran up to the protagonist and told him to wait. The girlfriend abruptly ran up to the guy and kissed him unexpectedly. Yue Bin was very taken aback. The protagonist stood puzzled in front of the girl. He didn't know what to say to her. Fuji felt embarrassed. The boy thought to himself that he had been very careless in allowing others to get close to him. Yue Bin looked at the girl and realized that she was indeed full of passion. Fuji told the protagonist that she had seen a video of him fighting. She confirmed that seven-form techniques are a powerful martial art. The girl told the guy that her grandfather had fought against his master. She explained cheerfully that one day they would be able to learn new techniques from each other. The main character was very struck by such a word. He immediately remembered his master. Yue Bin asked the girl if her grandfather had a scar on his face. Fuji was surprised. She couldn't understand how the guy knew about the scar. Master Crane realized that the samurai who had defeated her was still alive. The protagonist has arrived in the forbidden land of the seven forms to meet the master. Yue Bin excitedly shouted to Master Crane that he was willing to buy her a ticket to Japan. He added that the girl could challenge Shenu Fatian. The girl told the protagonist that it was an older generation's fight. She added that the guy should stay out of it. The master thought to herself that with time such memories of humiliation would surely fade away. Several people reached their hands up. It was like they wanted to grab onto something. Firearms were pointed at people, and someone commanded them to start firing! The fighter thought to himself that he had failed to protect the students before. This time, Yue Bin let the teacher protect him. A guy came into a store. The salesman said he was offering him the best wig he could get. The client's name was Tianxiang. He was imprisoned for 3 years. While imprisoned, he practiced. He was recently released. Tianxiang met a great man in prison. He served him well. A prisoner named Tao Lu was a member of a criminal organization called the Lion Dance. He told the guy that when he got out of prison, he would write a recommendation. As a result, Tianxiang would be able to join the Lion Dance organization. For a man in the 21st century, the most important thing is connections. A guy met a noble man named Tao. He decided to help the girl and protect her from the old man Zhou Daoqiang. A guy spent a month raising money. He bought his girlfriend her favorite dish to surprise her. Tianxiang arrived at the house where his girlfriend lived. It turned out that she no longer lived there. The woman explained that Xiao had left about a month ago. Some man had come to pick her up. The landlady said she had the girl's new address. Tianxiang read the new address on the piece of paper. It said that the girl lived in a villa in the Jinlishan area. The boy decided to himself that he would rescue his girlfriend from the lair of Zhou Daoxiang's grandson. Yue Bin lived in a villa at a young age. He had a hot and beautiful student. The guy decided that many people were jealous of him. The people around him didn't know that the guy had sadness. There were many insects in the big garden, hiding in different corners. The protagonist had to train every day as a martial artist. By the end of the day, the guy was exhausted. He couldn't even stand on his feet. On her lunch break, a girl was fanning a guy. He was on her lap. Yue Bin thanked the girl for her concern. He said he would rather sleep in the courtyard than in the house. The student replied that it was her duty to take care of him. At which time suddenly someone came into the yard and threw a bag on the lawn. The main character picked up a strange guy in the yard. The girl said it must be the delivery guy. Tianxiang excitedly introduced himself to the girl. The girlfriend asked the guy with surprise, "Why did he get out so early?" She added that she almost didn't recognize him. The protagonist suggested to his interlocutors that they celebrate the liberation of Tianxian. They could sit down and talk. The boy shouted to his sister that he had brought her her favorite food. Tianxian took a closer look. He noticed the girl and the boy sitting at a beautiful table. Xiao asked her brother what he brought her. The main character said he was offering the guy the best sushi in town. Tianxiang realized that a rich guy was sitting in front of him. He was glad that his sister had not fallen into the hands of Zhou Daoqiang in the past 3 years. The guy told his sister to go with him. He added that Yue Bin doesn't look good. Xiao told her brother sternly that she would not leave this house with him. Tianxiang shouted to the girl that he had changed. He promised that he would protect her. At that time, the stomping of many footsteps sounded. A great number of professional fighters began to approach the door of the villa. The fighter commander sternly demanded that Yue Bin be called to him to discuss something. The girl told the people who came that she had offended Master Joe, and the guy had nothing to do with it. Tianxiang thought excitedly to himself the girl had contacted the third Joe Master. He was afraid that someone might kill his sister. The boy was startled and fell to the ground. He didn't know who could save his sister. The main character came out. He asked the girl to help his brother. Tianxiang asked apprehensively to his interlocutor, "What is the protagonist going to do?" Xiao told her brother to look carefully in front of her. He would see the reason why she decided to stay here. Yue Bin told the fighters that he had come to teach them a lesson. He suggested that they come up one by one. The girl frightenedly warned the lad that there are at least 100 men standing on the other side of the street. She asked, "Does he really want to fight them?" The student fearfully told the boy that the men in black were members of the Lion Dance organization. She added that it was not appropriate to insult the organization. Tianxiang stood up and told the protagonist that they should bow down and apologize. This should help save their lives. The protagonist said that he would never ask for mercy. At this time, one of the guys who came in coughed and decided to address the protagonist. The men in black all bowed very friendly and greeted the guy. Xiaoyu was very surprised. She had never expected the people who came to be so polite. Yue Bing pondered. To himself, Qianshu couldn't understand why the people from the Lion Dance organization were bowing down to the protagonist. The fighter said that Fei Lao sends a sincere apology for the protagonist through them. Also, Old Man Fei invites the guy to attend today's Feichin celebrity banquet. The man in black asked the guy to be sure to come to the banquet. He added that the issue is related to the martial arts world. Yue Bin decided to himself that he would go to the banquet. It would help him save money for lunch. The banquet was held at the Vacation Manor in the Yue Rong Hall. There were very many guests there. The girl told her friend named Zhang Ling that she sees a lot of people around. She added that she is here hoping to meet a handsome prince. Zhang told her friend Yuan that she attends 3 parties every week. She added that she would only stay with her friend for 10 minutes and then go home. Chen Yuan was the daughter of the richest man in town. She told her friend named Zhang that she would definitely be with her all night since it was Miss Ben's birthday. The girl thought to herself that she wasn't in a good mood. She remembered that the main character hadn't come to her once. Jun grudgingly thought to herself that the next time she saw Yue Bin, she would ignore him completely. The girl thought to herself, "This lady is terrible at anger." The party continued to draw guests. A girl with purple eyes arrived at the party. A man with glasses was standing next to her. Yuan told her girlfriend that the party looked awesome. Jun was reminiscing about the main character at this time. Some guy came up from the side and greeted Zhang Ling. He told the girl that he didn't expect her to come to the party. The guy said his name was Li Wei and he was a friend of Hu Yao. The guy explained that his girlfriend named Qin Xin was standing next to him. The girls at the party were very excited. One of them said that Li Wei, who owns the Maya network, had come. The guest said that the capital of the Li Wei family is hundreds of millions of dollars. The girl couldn't understand where the rich people of Feishan came from. Jun looked at the guy and couldn't remember if she had seen him before. She decided to find an excuse to leave the party. Zhang suggested her girlfriend go out and eat. Yuan agreed with the girl. The girl wanted to leave, but suddenly she bumped into some guy. The guest greeted the guest cheerfully and asked if she was okay. Yue Bin suggested to his companion that she dance with him. The girl was amazed when she saw her friend in front of him. Jun thought to herself that she was getting angry right now, and that's why she wouldn't agree with the guy. 3 seconds later, the girl was standing next to the guy by the hand. Zhang decided happily to herself that she would be able to dance with Yue Bin. The girl felt her hands sweating. She was worried that Yue Bin might sense it. Zhang began to repeat the words of the rhythmic song to herself to prepare for the dance. The girl remembered to herself that she had watched the instructional video many times. She thought to herself that love is a really difficult thing. The main character hugged his girlfriend and told her not to be nervous. He asked that the girlfriend follow him. Jun walked by the hand along with the protagonist. She felt her body go limp. Lee looked at the protagonist unhappily. He didn't like the fact that he went out daily with Jun? The friend said that the protagonist is not at home and is a loser. The guest they quite said that the suit on Yue Bin looked really bad. The girl didn't like that lower-class people got into an elite party. Lee said with a chuckle that the protagonist climbed over the wall to get free food and drink at the party. A guy and his girlfriend decided to teach the protagonist a lesson after the dance. Yue Bin invited his girlfriend, who had been practicing dance since childhood, to dance. The crowd admired them. People saw the guy dancing next to the girl. Guests noticed that from beginning to end, Yue Bin kept the girl's rhythm. The guests at the party were surprised. One of the girls said she wanted to learn this dance too. Yue Bing smiled at the girls and said that the training package cost $500 a month. The protagonist stood alone in the hall. Someone came up behind him. Lee pointed his finger at the protagonist and said that he had come here to eat and drink. He demanded that the guards throw Yue Bin out of here. Some pissed-off security guards came over. They asked the guy how he got to the banquet. Yue Bin replied that he got in through the wall. Lee angrily shouted that the protagonist had come here to eat and drink. Yue Bin said with a smile to his interlocutor that he had figured him out. Lee yelled at the angry security guard to beat the guy up and throw him out. The protagonist began to reassure his interlocutors. He wanted to give the name of the person who had invited him. Yue Bin told his interlocutors in a completely serious voice that he had been invited by a baboon. The man and the old man were standing near the entrance. Afterwards, the man asked his interlocutor why the guy hadn't come out yet. Fei Lao replied that martial arts masters were respectable and it was fine if they waited a bit. The guards angrily told the guy that there was no baboon here and it wasn't a zoo. They prepared to attack him. One of the fighters swung around and shouted that the protagonist would feel the impact of his fist. Yue Bin managed to grab the girl and set her up for a punch from the guard. The protagonist said in a serious voice to the fighters that he had managed to capture this girl. Lee was very frightened. He called his girlfriend Chin Chin and asked the protagonist why he used the girl as a shield. Yue Bin told his interlocutor with surprise that he thought it was his mother in front of him. Lee was very angry. He yelled to the main character that he would take care of him. Yue Bin activated his special skill called the seven-formed fist technique. The protagonist folded his hand and prepared to kick his opponent in the groin. Yue Bin struck the guy running at him with a powerful punch, striking him with a kick to the groin. Lee fell to the ground. He grabbed his hands from underneath and yelled that his children and grandchildren were hurt. The guy threatened the protagonist that he could kill him with the touch of a finger. The guy pointed his finger at his opponent and said that his father knew Mr. Ma from Teng Company. He threatened the guy that he would erase all his accounts. Yue Bin thought excitedly to himself that he had a 6-digit password, and this could be problematic. At that time, a man entered the room. He said that Chin could meet the old man here. Lee shouted at the stranger not to interrupt him and get the hell out. The founder of the company Tan was standing next to the girl. The man said the last time he saw the guy Lee, he was darker than he is now. The man said his name was Manhwa Tenu. He asked those present if he could invite anyone. Lee was very frightened and amazed. He could not believe that he saw Mr. M.A. in front of him. The guests cheerfully greeted the richest man in China. Yue Bin thought to himself, he sees Mr. May. The director told the secretary to check if their company was cooperating with the MA network. The girl looked at the computer and replied to the president that she had found one. The receptionist told me that a game from the Maya network is under their management, but the game has very bad reviews. The girl explained that the game wasn't paying off and had bad reviews. The receptionist explained that the players started a petition to remove the game. The director ordered a subordinate to call headquarters and order them to stop the game's operation and cooperation with the Mayan network. The guy fell to his knees on the floor in fright. Lee very excitedly explained to the man that their game could make tens of millions a year. He couldn't believe the director wouldn't cooperate with him. The director told the interviewer that he talks a lot instead of making money. He explained that the player's heart is broken. No amount of money can compensate back. The man turned around and started walking away. He said that his company's motto was that happiness should be created with the heart. Lee fearfully asked the man to change his mind. He shouted that their family would go bankrupt without the cooperation of the Teng Company. The director told the protagonist that under his leadership, they have gotten tremendous enthusiasm for the players. He added that they are planning to acquire a leading company in the U.S. Yuan asked her friend excitedly, who was the friend next to her? Zhang replied that she didn't know much about the guy. A man came running in. He asked the protagonist fearfully, why did he come here alone? He said that Mr. Fei had come and was waiting for Yue Bin in the backyard. Yue Bin waved his hand at Mr. Ma and thanked him for his help. He said he had a lot of work to do. The man thought to himself that the pleasant conversation was over. He decided that the young people were now flowing forward like a river. Suddenly, the protagonist remembers something at the last moment. He turns to Mr. M.A. The main character told Man that there is a man named Zhang Xiaohu with a good idea in his company. This guy can create a landmark product. Yue Bing told the surprised man and girl that Xiaohu could create a product called Prestige. The man told the secretary to immediately call Zhang Xiaohu and order the guy to immediately fly to meet him in Faicheng. Yue Bin went to Yue Rong's lot in the backyard. He had a meeting there. The guy was greeted by guests. The female athlete asked the guy with astonishment, is he really Yue Bing? She asked the interviewer. Does Fei really recommend this guy? The man looked at the protagonist with a studying gaze and said, he looks very young and weak. Yue Bing couldn't understand what the strange guests in front of him were talking about. Fei said with a smile to his interlocutors that he only wanted to invite their master. The old man explained that the cities of Faicheng and Hancheng are friends and often exchange knowledge of martial arts. Every 4 years, martial arts competitions will be held in the two cities. Fei sternly looked at the guy through his glasses and said that the competition was very fierce. The old man explained that there are no rules during a fight. The outcome is decided by lives. Participants sign a life and death certificate. Fei told the kid that the Hosaka Budo tournament has been held 3 times. People get killed and seriously injured during the stages. The old man told the head hero that in the last 3 tournaments, all the Feishin masters have lost. The competition is on, and the sides are fighting each other. They are fighting to win the tournament. Fei told the protagonist that 4 masters had been chosen. Yue Bing asked the old man, does he really want his master to participate in the duel? The old man said excitedly to the protagonist that his master could win glory for him in the world of Feisheng martial arts. Yue Bing asked his interlocutor, will Shen Yu Fei Chin Lu participate in the tournament this time? Fei excitedly shouted that all of Fei Shin's descendants would participate. The main character explained that his master lives in the mountains and forests. She can't participate. The guy added that he could participate, instead of Master Crane. The athlete shouted excitedly to the guy that the tournament was cruel, and he could die. The man told his interlocutor that he was taking a huge risk. The warrior said very displeased with the protagonist for being extremely arrogant. Yue Bin looked at his interlocutor and said that he would beat them all. This should prove his right to participate in the tournament. The girl's name was Chen Jifen. She was good at boxing. The athlete prepared to fight against the guy. The man's name was Zhou Li. He decided to teach the protagonist a lesson. The old man with the claws threatened the guy that he would cut him apart and feed him to the dogs. The protagonist, along with Old Man Fei, arrived at a vacation home. Someone said very horribly hurt someone's feelings. A guy in a wheelchair said that there were 3 members of the Budo Feiken Association next to him. He added that all martial artists should be polite and help each other. Fei thought excitedly to himself, the protagonist is in big trouble. Yue Bing did not understand what kind of person was standing in front of him. The guy in the wheelchair said he was the president of the Feicheng Martial Arts Association. His name is Xu Zhenxiang. Standing next to him was an assistant named Inuzi Schroner. She smiled evilly at the protagonist and requested that he set a quota of 7 former technique for his son. Inzi smiled and told father to order the main character to take part in the tournament. Fei told the wheelchair interlocutor that the right to vote belongs to him. He added that he allowed the protagonist to participate. She smiled at the old man and said angrily not to worry. The martial arts president suggested we listen to what the main character has to say. The guy disappeared at that time. She was very amazed. He couldn't understand how the guy could have disappeared. The boxer was surprised because the guy just ran away in a hurry. The president wasn't happy. He didn't like the guy leaving to go to the bathroom while he was giving a speech. She told his son Inuzi slyly that they were now moving on to Plan B. The father indicated angrily to his son that he should tear the protagonist to pieces. Yue Bin was in the restroom. The girl told him he should decline the invitation. The master said that the samurai who defeated her was very sneaky and cunning. She added that this samurai could kill the protagonist. Yue Bing asked the girl, did her rival use all sneaky means to defeat her? The girl remembered samurai yelling that he didn't believe in martial arts. Yue Bing told the lady that her heart was full of hatred. He asked if she would like to take revenge on her enemy. The master replied that she wanted revenge. That's when the Inuzi guy came from behind. He wanted to punch him out. Yue Bing swung around and pounded the guy from behind with all his might with his fist. Yue Bin said angrily that he was ready for the martial arts competition. He told his master that he wanted to avenge her. Shu listened. He said joyfully that he could hear what sounded like the crunching of shattered bones. The president saw a guy flying. He thought it was the main character after he was beaten up by the Inuzi. Shu looked closely and noticed that the battered boy looked familiar to him. He realized it was his son. Shu was very scared. He couldn't understand how his son could have been beaten up. Inuzi practiced monkey boxing, and the usual martial artists were no match for the guy. The man angrily shouted at his son to get up. He reminded him that the boy should become the president of the Feicheng Martial Arts Association. Fei told Mail that his son would not be able to get out of bed for a month after the beating. The old man told the man that his son would not be able to participate in the tournament. She was very angry. He realized that the protagonist had ruined his plan. He decided to kill the guy. The protagonist was in a wheelchair. He told the man that it turned out he was fine. He angrily told the guy to get out of his wheelchair. The president wanted to hit the guy with a King Kong fist. The protagonist yelled at his opponent to try and catch up to him. Yue Bin went full speed on his wheelchair. Shu couldn't catch up with him. The main character shouted to the people that he would achieve glory for the martial arts of Feicheng. He decided to become a champion. The fighters were very amazed. The boxer decided that the guy is very confident. The man thought to himself that the main character does not know how many masters will participate in the fight this time. The old man thought to himself. He said that Yue Bing is very interesting to him. She got very angry. He shouted that the main character had beaten his son and stolen his wheelchair. The president wanted to destroy the guy. She swore to himself that he would stomp on Yue Bing. He wanted to beat the guy so that Feicheng's martial arts wouldn't be a foothold for him. Li's boyfriend was very annoyed. He called his cousin and asked him to bring 20 men with machetes to kill the protagonist. A girl came from behind at this time. Lee started to dictate to some interlocutor the address, where to come. From behind swung the girl around. The foreman hit the guy with all her might. He went flying off at full speed. The girl kicked the phone with all her might and smashed it with her shoe and broke it. The master told the guy that she only used a percentage of her power in the strike. She added that the protagonist is under her protection. The girl thought for a moment. She decided to herself that he had gotten stronger again. The master with the blue hair decided that the whole Earth was going through a drastic change. In the city and at the headquarters of the Red Star organization, subordinates talked about the failed mission to kill Fujishima's brother and sister. The girl told the leaders that the protagonist was able to defeat the members of the task force. The mercenary asked to be given another chance. She promised to bring the head of Fujishima's brother and sister. The man told the mercenary angrily that she no longer had a chance. He specified that the girl was being taken by ship to Africa for the rest of her life. The girl told the man in a pitiful voice that she had only failed once. The ringleader told the girl that he liked her frightened face. He said that the mercenary would go to Africa and labor for the rest of her life, at which time an old man appeared from behind. He told the elders that they should give him their time. The men were surprised. They couldn't understand how the stranger could have gotten into Red Star's apartment. The elders noticed that all the guards near the door had been killed by the old man. The man shouted fearfully to notify the organization of the supreme danger urgently. The elder noticed the warrior holding the severed head of a shinobu. The warrior with his head on his hand said he was bored. He dreamed that he would enjoy a battle to the death rather than life. The fighter with the burning eyes said he might have to kill everyone here. The elders thought they were seeing a monster. An old man told the warrior Fujishima that there would soon be a Hyosoka Budo tournament. There he could kill as much as he wanted. Hosoka Budo Martial Arts Conference was held in Faicheng City this year. The tournament was held in a huge hotel on the top floor. There was an arena that held 100 people. The organizer told the guests that they had arrived at their final destination. He promised that everyone would have a wonderful weekend at the hotel. The fighters were very happy. One of them said that the hotel was very luxurious, and a night in it cost $1,000. A guy with blue hair told the interlocutors that the hotel manager was a friend of his father's. For this reason, the fighters would stay at the hotel free of charge. The girl thanked the Yukon guy. Zhang was very excited. She didn't understand why Weibin didn't come. The girlfriend grudgingly remembered to herself that at the last party, she had gotten close to the main character. She had hoped that their feelings would heat up. Yukon told the interviewer that the protagonist called yesterday and said he wasn't coming. The girlfriend was very struck by such news. She felt as if her life had lost its meaning. Zhang unconsciously slumped to the floor. The girl asked if she was okay. Shu thought to himself that the main character is now with girlfriend Fujishima Lee. A giant-sized warrior showed up. He told the guy to stay out of his way. The Yukon turned around and politely apologized to the huge fighter beside him. The warrior said he didn't make the quota this time. He promised his companion that he would support him as a spectator. The contestants were talking to each other. One of them said it was going to be a tough tournament. One of the fighters said it's best not to get your hopes up. The guy standing next to the master said it was lively. Shu said unhappily to himself that there were a lot of oddballs in masquerade costumes around. Yukon explained to his friend that this was a martial arts convention. A ticket would cost 10,000. The guy explained that only 8 masters could participate in the tournament. He told the interlocutors that they needed to be careful these days and not disturb the masters. One of the guys said that the tickets were expensive and they would not be able to get to the tournament. The main character appeared. The servant said that the organizers of the event had prepared special restrooms for the participants. Xiao thought that there would be free hotel accommodation and meals for 2 days of competition. Yue Bing decided that there would be more such fighting tournaments in the future. He would be able to save money on accommodation. Suddenly, some people appeared from behind and called out to the protagonist. Yue Bing turned around and saw 2 of his acquaintances. He greeted them cheerfully. The protagonist called the girl Bunny. She felt uncomfortable. Taichi was not happy when he saw the protagonist. He recalled an incident of a guy covering himself with his body from falling knives. Fuji asked the guy if he came here to watch the Sako Budo tournament. Yue Bin replied to the girl that he would be a participant in the tournament. He also added that he came to eat. Taichi was worried. He didn't want to fight against the protagonist in the tournament. Fuji realized that if a guy made it to the tournament, it meant that he was very strong in the city of Faishin. The girl decided that she could probably fight him. An old man came up from behind. He asked the guy and the girl who they were talking to now. The fighters turned around in surprise. The old man sternly told his interlocutors that the drawing ceremony would soon begin. He informed them that their brother had already arrived on the spot. The family's goal was to win the tournament. The master became agitated. She realized she saw the samurai who had defeated her in front of her. The girl yelled at the main character to stay away from the old man. The guy must not reveal his identity. The grandfather asked the protagonist, "What does he want?" The protagonist asked the old man, "Was he the one who defeated the Master Crane?" The old man immediately realized that the successor of the seven-formed fist was standing before him. Grandpa said angrily that the seven-forged crane fist had been defeated. He added that he didn't expect that there were still disciples of this clan in the world. Taichi was scared and worried. He didn't understand why a strong murderous aura had formed around his grandfather. The protagonist shouted to the old man that he had indeed defeated Master Crane, but he had used sneaky tricks to do so. Wei Bing promised his rival that he would wipe out his descendants. The guy and the girl were very amazed. They couldn't believe that the main character threatened to wipe them out. The old man was very angry. He didn't like the protagonist's threat that he would wipe them out. The fighter said his name is Ichiro Fujishima. He has been fighting all his life, and that's why he became famous. Old man asked strictly to the protagonist, how dare he insult and humiliate him? Fuji, along with her brother, got scared. The girl said that the main character made a blunder and said everything not intentionally. Taichi sternly demanded of the protagonist that he quickly apologize to his grandfather. Yue Bing happily offered the old man to fight him. He promised that he would destroy the Shenu Fishin Lu technique. The girl and the guy were very scared. Taichi decided to himself that the protagonist was on the verge of death. Ichiro calmed down. He told the protagonist that he could give him a chance to fight him. The old man told the protagonist that he would only accept his challenge if he could defeat the strongest man from the Shinu generation of Feishian Lu in the tournament. The guy said back at the old man not to regret his words. Ichiro thought to himself that the guy doesn't stand a chance. The protagonist will be opposed by a fighter named Monster. The old man told himself that the semi-form technique should disappear from the world. At the upper floor hotel, preparations for the battle tournament have begun. The organizer welcomed the guests and invited them to the Hosako Budo tournament. At this time, the draw of 690 participants was taking place. The boxer and her friend were talking. They saw a huge fighter. The girl said that the warrior had become even stronger. Faye told the interviewers that they see a man named Fujishima Saru King. He was last tournament's champion. The old man told his charges to be careful of this warrior. Yue Bing became anxious. He realized that he might fight the strongest samurai of the young generation, Shenu Feitian Lu. For the convenience of spectators, all matches were displayed on a large screen. The spectators stood and looked attentively at the huge screen. There was a schedule of all the matches. Taichi thought to himself fearfully that he would meet his older brother in the second round. Fuji realized fearfully that she would have to fight Yue Bin. Ichiro came up behind the girl and reminded her that she would be fighting against the main character. He asked if she knew what to do. The old man said angrily to the girl that he was urging her to kill Yue Bin. Fuji told the old man that Yue Bin is her classmate and savior. She added that she can't kill the guy, but can just beat him up. Ichiro was very angry. He smashed his stick into the floor. The old man angrily told the girl that she didn't even want to listen to her grandfather. The grandfather told the girl angrily that she could not fail. He explained that the main character's life was meaningless, and Ichiro added that he had destroyed an organization called Red Star. The old man angrily said that the Seven Fist are their enemies. The members of this organization must pay with their lives. Grandpa excitedly asked the girl if she could hear him. Fuji stood looking in front of her. She answered her grandfather that she had heard him. The main character stood aside. He watched intently as the old man interacted with his granddaughter. Yue Bing didn't understand why his future rival looked sad. He remembered that Fujishima herself wanted to see all of his techniques. The main character thought to himself that tomorrow is the first round, and he needs to relax tonight. The participants sat and chatted with Ekshu. One of them said that Oni was not going to peek. The student with glasses told his companions that they shouldn't just sit here on a beautiful moonlit night. He added that the students should do something in the evening. Shu glanced at the interlocutors and said they would be fair game. The guy explained that they had changed the men's and women's locker room signs. The student told his interlocutors that this was his brilliant plan. They ended up changing the signs. Yue Bin sat in the water of the pool. He told himself that he had already been here for 3 hours. Students looked carefully and intently at the signs near the locker rooms. Shu said excitedly to his friends that they had just replaced the signs. Outside is the men's locker room, and inside is the women's locker room. The guy said excitedly that there must be a lot of beautiful young ladies inside now. The guy realistically imagined what it would be like inside the locker room with the frightened girls. At that time, there was a loud stomping of feet. It seemed like a big man was walking. A huge and pumped-up female athlete walked in. She decided to consume milk after the hot springs. Next to her stood silently surprised students. The students were very surprised. One of them shouted that they had seen a monster. The girl was surprised and turned around. The boxer jumped on the guys and yelled that they were perverts. She started beating them badly. The boxer took a closer look at the sign and realized she was in the men's locker room. The athlete apologized to the students lying down and said she would take them to the hospital. Shuya's plan for peeping had completely failed, but his actions had put the other man in an uncomfortable position. A girl came in. She asked the main character what he was doing here. Yue Bin told the interviewer that he was in the male part of the source. The girlfriend confidently told the guy that she made sure before entering that she went into the female part. The protagonist thought to himself that he was excited, and that's why he didn't pay attention to the signs at the entrance. Yue Bing thought to himself that if anyone found out that he had stopped by, he would be considered a pervert. One of them said that there was a hot spring. The protagonist told his girlfriend with consternation that he could hear more girls approaching. Several female athletes in swimsuits were walking toward the water. A female athlete told her friend that she was very slim. The girl told her friend named Joshi not to make fun of her. The girls noticed that there was already one athlete sitting in hot spring. The female athletes greeted Fujishima sitting in the water. The girl with a strained smile told her interlocutors that it was a pleasure to meet her. Her friends stepped around the girl and asked, "Did she come to relax too?" Fuji fearfully replied to her interlocutors that she had come to relax in the spring. The main character was underwater. His girlfriend was sitting on top of him. He was holding his breath with all his might. Yue Bing thought to himself that he should hold on and not pop up, otherwise he would fall in girlfriend Zhong's eyes. The girl told Fujishima that she was an amazing athlete. June told her that she wanted to see her fight. Fuji said with a smile to the girls that her opponent in the fight would be Yue Bing. Zhong didn't expect Yue Bin to come to the tournament. Fuji was surprised that she also knew the protagonist. An hour later, June elaborated on how she met the main character. She revealed that she and her boyfriend had been in love since childhood. The athlete looked at Fuji in surprise and asked if she was okay. The girl told her interlocutor that she was full of bubbles underwater. Yue Bing was floundering desperately underwater at the time. June got very excited. She wanted to see what was under the water under the girl. Fuji was very scared. She realized that Jun must not find out that the main character was here. Fuji shyly shouted to her girlfriends that she had gas and scared them all. The girlfriends fell silent. She of them thought that the athlete's body had a lot of energy, since a lot of gas was released at one time. The sportswomen said goodbye to the girlfriend and said they were leaving. Fuji said goodbye to the girls and decided to dive underwater to check on the main character. The athlete took a deep dive. She was very startled and frightened. Yue Bin was underwater with his eyes open. He didn't give any signs of life. The girl looked at the boy anxiously. She thought he had suffocated. Fuji realized that she needed to give her friend first aid. The girl reminded herself that she needed to give the guy CPR right away. At the last moment, the girlfriend noted to herself that her heart was beating very fast for some reason. Suddenly, the main character opened his eyes and said he was awake. The girl was very much frightened. Yue Bin told the interviewer calmly that he accidentally fell asleep underwater. The girl accused the guy of floundering underwater on purpose to show her that he had suffocated. The girl looked at the guy and said he was fine. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to fight tomorrow. The main character called the girlfriend a bunny and reminded her that she always wanted to fight him. Fuji grudgingly informed the guy that her grandfather asked her that she should kill Yue Bin tomorrow. She added that she wanted to leave the tournament. The guy was surprised. He told the girl to put all feelings aside for tomorrow. Yue Bin wanted to fight Fujishima. The girlfriend listened to the guy in amazement. The protagonist explained to her that fighting her would be his greatest honor. Fuji told the main character that she understood him. She apologized to the guy if she accidentally kills him tomorrow at the duel. Yue Bin turned around and told the girl that it was time for him to go back. He said goodbye. The main character stopped. He wanted to explain why he got into the female part of the source today. The girl stopped the guy and said there was no need to explain anything. Fuji smiled and told the main character that she didn't mind if he got a little kinky. The protagonist was amazed. He never expected the girl to be so cool about it. Yue Bing firmly decided to himself that he must restore his honor in front of his girlfriend. The next day, the tournament was to begin in the arena on the upper floor. The host welcomed everyone to the Hosaka Budo tournament. She said that the competition would last 2 days, and the final fight would be incredible. The girl pointed out that the organizer for the winner prepared a reward of $1 million. One of the fighters said that the participants did not gather because of money. The man replied that $1 million is nothing compared to the reputation of a champion. The man said that many fighters are ready to give their lives in this competition. He asked the protagonist, does he support them? The protagonist suddenly felt a tremendous power. He was excited about the $1 million prize. The announcer told the audience that the first fight would feature a Chen girl against a Taichi fighter. Taichi thought to himself that to him, Chen's name sounded as if it was a weak girl. The host asked for the contestant to enter the stage. Taichi waited impatiently for his opponent. A boxer came up. She was carrying a big barbell in her hand. She told her opponent that he looked weak. Taichi was scared. He thought he was unlucky to fight such a monster in the first round. The guy noticed his grandfather was watching him. He decided to prove to the old man that he was worthy. The boxer swung around and took her opponent down with a powerful arm punch. Taichi swings wildly to the side after taking a heavy body kick from Chen. The anchorwoman said that Chen suddenly hit her opponent straight in the face. A boxer walked up to her lying opponent and told him he didn't respect her. Chen looked angrily at the fighter and told him to get up or give up. She explained that there was no point in continuing the fight any longer. Taichi Fujishima practiced kendo in the dojo from childhood. He was an invincible genius. No one wanted to fight him. It has even happened that a young Taichi has defeated opponents who were a couple of years older than him. Akira told his opponent that he was very talented. He was no match for him. Taichi told his friend to go to the infirmary. A young and promising fighter returned to his home. He decided to prepare a gift for a friend. Taichi was holding a model airplane. He decided to give it to his friend Akira because he had beaten him badly during the fight. The boy ran up to the infirmary. He still wanted to please his friend. At that time, someone said from inside that Akira had very good acting skills. Taichi didn't even realize that his friend was pretending. The boy became agitated. He couldn't figure out who on the inside Akira was talking to right now. Akira was sitting on the bed as if nothing had happened. He said cheerfully that he practiced a lot at home to make everything look real. His friend at this time was busy playing a computer game. The guy said that every time they lose to Taichi, he gives them gifts. He pointed to a gaming console. Akira said with a smile that Oni benefits when they lose to Fujishima. Taichi stood near the door of the infirmary. He could hear his friends discussing him in every possible way. The guy angrily threw the constructor to the floor. He realized that his battle rivals were just faking it. Taichi was angry because his friends all thought he was an idiot and a lowlife. From that day on, the fighter changed completely. He decided not to spare his opponents anymore. Taichi became violent and arrogant. He beat his opponents to the max. Fujishima angrily demanded of Akira that he get up and not lie on the earth. Taichi swung his sword and told his opponent that he would continue to beat him. Akira looked at his former friend with bewilderment and fear. Fujishima was feared by his opponents. There were fewer and fewer people willing to fight him. None of his opponents wanted to fight him for real. Taichi really wanted him to fight his opponent to the best of his ability in any battle. The fighter felt his body groaning in pain. Chen told his opponent to give up soon. Taichi shouted angrily to the girl that the force of her blow would not be enough for him to surrender. To himself, the fighter thought to himself that he had found the right opponent. The boxer went full speed ahead. She screamed that she was going to use all her strength. The girl prepared to strike her opponent with a swing. Taichi was ready to repel the attack. The boxer and her opponent simultaneously smacked each other in the face with their hands. 24 Taichi thought happily to himself that this battle was a real battle for him. The referee announced that the fight was over. Taichi was on the ground for more than 10 seconds. Chen was the winner. The boxer told her opponent that he was the first person who dared to fight her at full strength. The girl said that she had been practicing martial arts since childhood. Taichi smiled at the girl and suggested that they spend time together after the tournament. Chen was very happy. She remembered that she had never received such invitations before. The girl decided that she could learn the taste of love. The main character was happy that his friend had lost. In doing so, Taichi was able to find the girl he loved. The judge announced that the second fight ended instantly. The protagonist was surprised. He couldn't understand how the opponent could kill a man quickly. The favorite of the Fujishima family was able to defeat a swordsman from China with his katana very quickly with a mortal wound. The fighter held his sword hand above his head. He felt excitedly to himself as he grew more and more aroused by the smell of blood. The referee announced that contestant Ashu was seriously injured. The winner of the second round was Fujishima Saruking. The old man said to himself that Saruking has no weaknesses. He is the perfect fighting machine after 4 years of special training. He has gotten stronger and has started to use dodges better. Shen Yu Feitian Lu is one of the fastest techniques. Saruking felt like a monkey king waiting for a victim. The old man looked at the people carefully. He wondered which of the participants would be the first sacrifice to the great ape king. Someone in the audience shouted in displeasure that Saruking was very cruel and arrogant. One guy demanded that Fujishima apologize to everyone. A huge fighter came up behind his opponent. He said he wanted to kill him. The fighter was startled and fell to the floor. He asked his opponent how he could approach silently. Saruking called his opponent garbage. The warrior angrily said that all the Chinese warriors around him were trash. The spectators looked at the new contestant cautiously. Yue Bin realized that Saruking had a very murderous aura. In the third round, the winner was a boxer from Japan named Ping Yugen. He defeated Chinese Liu Xin. The winner of the fourth round was an Iron Claw named Lu Po. He defeated Ninja Tamagawa. The fifth round was won by a special soldier named Yamaguchi Yuma. The sixth round was won by contestant Jiang Qixin. Before the seventh round, the main character stood in the ring opposite his girlfriend Fujishima Lee. The girl excitedly asked the guy, "Is he really going to fight without a weapon?" She explained that the guy couldn't resist a katana with his hands. Yue Bing said with confidence to his girlfriend that she could attack. The girl took up the sword and said to start the fight. Thanks to the main character's words, the girl was able to get rid of the worry on her heart. She decided to put all her strength into the battle. Fuji drew her sword and used a skill called God Style. Protagonist no problem turned away from the sword strike very quickly. Yue Bing held an incredible pose while dodging katana blows. The audience was surprised. The protagonist used a leg grab to knock the girl down. Fuji wasn't happy. She decided that the protagonist wasn't showing her all his martial arts skills. Yue Bing said, with a smile to the girl. He fought her with his bare hands, but she thought it was a mistake he was able to capture her without showing his seven-formed technique. The protagonist told his rival he'd see how long she could hold that pose. The onlookers were very surprised. They could not believe that Wei Bing could completely immobilize Fujishima. The old man was amazed, too. The girl angrily thought the protagonist had cheated her. The guy thought his rival was strong. Yue Bing sensed that the girl would be able to break free. He realized that he had to use one last killing move. The protagonist decided to finish off his rival with a strong odor. Yue Bing gassed himself straight at the girl with all his might. Fuji lost her full consciousness after receiving from the protagonist. The referee announced that Fujishima was knocked out. The main character won. The viewers were outraged. Some of them shouted that Yue Bin was inhuman. Another viewer said that the protagonist couldn't do that to the beautiful Fujishima. Outraged people were screaming that the main character was a bastard and not a martial arts master. The guy stood and listened as he was called a Yue demon from all sides. Yue Bing held out his hand to the girl and asked if she was okay. He offered to help her. The main character asked his girlfriend if she was hurt. He asked for forgiveness for what had happened. The girl looked at the road with surprise. Fuji remembered that the protagonist used a similar method victory. Now he's acting calm, and he apologized. The girlfriend felt like she was like a flower that was falling apart. The main character showed her an important lesson. Women must be cunning to protect themselves. The rival hugged the guy and thanked him. She said that the protagonist was able to bear the shame for her sake. The audience was surprised. They couldn't understand why Fujishima suddenly hugged Yue Bin. One guy said that Fujishima's family lost 2 fighters in the first round. He added that the Japanese were not as strong. The old man was very unhappy because the girl lost. 2 members of his family humiliated them. Grandpa ordered the Saruking fighter to kill all the Chinese fighters. The referee said Chinese fighter Zhou Li won the last fight of the first round. According to the standings, Chinese fighters achieved record results. 5 of them reached the finals. The main character was in the back of a hotel with his girlfriend. Yue Bing said happily to the girl that he had a hearty meal at the restaurant. The apprentice suggested the master to sleep together. She said that the guy would have enough energy for the battle after dinner. The guy told Xiao's interlocutor that he was her master, and he didn't like her suggestion. An apprentice was sitting on the grass. She called the master to her. The master looked at her feet. Yue Bin fell asleep on his girlfriend's feet without any embarrassment. The main character was falling asleep. He had a long dream. He was in an era when martial arts were popular in China. Girl standing in some old house. He was looking at a painting that depicted cranes. The man told the young Xiao Yi that she kept looking at the painting. He asked, "Does she really like it?" The girl said she had never seen a real crane. He asked the master if he had seen these birds. The man told Xiao Yi that he saw cranes in the mountains near the city. These birds are very vigilant and fly away when approached. The girl said that she was jealous of the master. She wanted to see the crane with her own eyes. The man told her that she herself resembled this bird. Xiao Yi asked with interest to the man, "What does he mean when he compares her to a crane?" The man explained that the crane is an extraordinary bird. Xiao Yi has her talent in martial arts similar to the crane. The man told the girl that she had long surpassed the master in skills. Xiao Yi did not forget about her brothers and always gave them advice. The master told the girl that the future of the semi-form school depended on her. He added that the crane technique should exist forever. The man handed his student a book with all the techniques and a badge. He told the girl to keep the 2 things in a safe place. Xiao Yi asked the man where he was going. The master told his apprentice in farewell that he would go to the battlefield. The man said China was invaded by the He army. As a warrior, he must help his country. The girl was very frightened. She called her master very frightened. In the end, the foreman went off to war. He never looked back. The girl was left alone. Xiao Yi saw very soon when the master died. She was very saddened. The master died heroically. He killed many enemy soldiers. After being hit by a sniper's bullet, the man died. The girl was sitting next to the man's body. Xiao Yi told the deceased master that she would definitely keep an eye on his school. Xiao Yi asked the protagonist what happened. He jumped up very abruptly. The protagonist said he had a dream. When he was in the body of a girl, she was practicing martial arts. The student thought to herself that dreams manifested a person's subconscious mind. All this meant that Yue Bin had a subconsciously similar desire. Xiao Yi looked at her friend carefully. She remembered that the master doesn't hit on her, although they have been living together for a long time. Yue Bing realized that he had gotten Master Crane's memories. He decided to check with the warden. The protagonist told the student that they should go to the arena. There the competition should continue. The girl was excited. The fight began with a Fujishima death blow. Saru King chopped the boxer with his sword. The girl couldn't understand how on earth her opponent could hit her. She knew that she had put all her energy into defense. The boxer decided that she needed to use surprise attacks against the Saru King. Fujima cheerfully told his rival that he would amputate her arm. The boxer realized he had a chance. It was the kind of moment she was counting on. The girl accelerated as much as possible to hit her opponent. The Shuchun sect is located in the middle of the mountains northeast of Faicheng. These places have large ore reserves. For this reason, the training of Shuchunmon is special. The students would set the stone in a stone pillar. Each of the apprentices had to try to break it every day. After that, the inner stone was replaced with a harder ore. The stone ores corresponded to 10 levels according to these hardnesses. It also showed the rank of Shuchun disciples. Chen had been in the Shuchun sect for over 10 years. She was unable to break the 4th stone in hardness. In the end, the girl became a master. The student was puzzled by the stone pillar in the center of the sanctuary. The hardest stone was diamond, but this stone also had a cracked center. Chen knew that someone in the distant past had been able to break a diamond. This became motivation for the girl to improve her human body. The boxer lives in a time of martial arts decline, but she always hoped that the arts would blossom. Chen waited with very great impatience for this moment to come again. The fighter shouted to his opponent that it was over. He added that the Shenyu blade could not be stopped. Saru King chopped the girl with a very fast and powerful ball strike. After a punch from her opponent, the boxer realized she had lost her hands. Chen shouted that she was in a lot of pain. The audience realized that the girl didn't last 5 minutes. The referee said that Saru King is going to the girl to finish her off. He yelled for Chen to surrender and admit defeat as soon as possible. Then the opponent won't be able to kill her. The boxer angrily shouted that she did not admit defeat. She added that she could fight. Fei told the interlocutors that if the fight continued, one of the participants would die. The man replied that Chen was a member of a martial arts society and a participant in the tournament. The fighter said thoughtfully that in the process of rescuing the girl, Saru King might attack one of them. The man said that Chen herself did not admit defeat. The old man was very angry. He hated his interlocutors. Saru King shouted with hatred to his rival that she was about to die. Taichi was really scared for his girlfriend. He called her name. In the arena where the battle was taking place, there was a clash of blades. The warrior didn't finish the girl in time. Someone put their sword in time for Saru King to slash the boxer. The protagonist arrived just in time. He used his katana to block a fatal blow from the warrior. The main character was very frightened. He noticed that his sword had begun to fall to pieces. Taichi looked closer and noticed that the protagonist was holding his katana. Sarukin said angrily to his opponent that he stopped his punch with one hand. He asked the protagonist, who was he? Yue Bin introduced himself to the fighter. He explained that their Chinese martial art was based on harmony. The guy explained that Chen could no longer fight, and so there was no need to kill her. The viewers were very surprised to hear such words from the main character. Some of them said that Yue Bin is very brazen. Sarukin said that the girl was weak and it was pointless to kill her. He offered the boy to do the fight with him. The evil fighter looked at the protagonist and said he was waiting for him in the finale. Yue Bing thought deeply. He realized that he was about to face a serious battle. The main character told a girl named Chen that he had already called the hospital. Taichi said very angrily to the protagonist for daring to destroy his katana. Yue Bin shouted to his friend that he had no choice about the katana. He explained that he would pay the guy. Taichi thought to himself with surprise and realized that the protagonist was a fair man. Yue Bin took out a bill and handed it to his friend. He said it would be enough for the katana. The fighter was very unpleasantly surprised. He noticed that the protagonist had only given him $100. In the next battle, Ironclaw Ryu was able to defeat Ping Yuzhen. In the next battle, Jiang Qixin was able to win. The audience was pleasantly surprised. Someone said there would be 3 Chinese contestants in the final 4. In the quarterfinals, the protagonist fought against a Shadow Flow sect master named Zhou Li. A man told the protagonist that the tournament was important to him. He apologized to the guy and said he would maim him. Yue Bin called his opponent a man in long pants and said the latter could try to beat him. Zhou shouted to his opponent that he wasn't wearing long pants, but a special suit. After that, the fighter turned on the tape recorder and said that now everyone would hear his fight song. Suddenly, his clones appeared next to Zhou. They began to dance joyfully and in friendship. The audience was astonished. They couldn't understand where the clones could have come from. Fuji thought to herself that she had seen the shadow cloning technique before. She couldn't understand how Zhou Li on stage could do such a thing. The protagonist was astonished because there were 3 opponents in front of him at once. Zhou was pleased because of the fact that all the spectators were surprised. No one understood how he had pulled off such a trick. The man himself had never explained the secrets of his technique to his enemies. The man knew the different features of human vision. He understood how the eye worked. Zhou had a black-colored combat suit. The tight-fitting clothes made his figure shade. His smooth turns and movements made his enemies hallucinate. The fighter's technique deceived his opponent's vision. The man was confident that he could win his fight thanks to his cunning. Suddenly, the protagonist took off. He rushed at speed toward Zhou. The man knew it was useless to attack him. His technique made it impossible to hit him. Yue Bing ran up and kicked the music recorder with all his might. The music machine fell off and crashed. The music stopped playing. He realized that without music, his technique was useless. The protagonist ran up from behind. He used a quick crane wing attack against his opponent. The guy was able to take down the man with a powerful punch. The anchor said that Yue Bing was able to defeat the Shadow Flow sect master, Zhou Li. People were very unhappy. Someone shouted that such an arrogant person like the protagonist couldn't practice Huago martial arts. Another guy said that a lowlife like Yue Bing couldn't lead a martial arts clan. The president happily said that the audience finally started to complain about the protagonist. Sha angrily said that regardless of the results of tomorrow's game, he wants to destroy Yue Bin. The president said angrily to himself that the guy would be in the hospital soon. He would pay back his enemy. The host told the audience to meet the 4 finalists. All the contestants would give a short interview. The girl asked her interlocutors, why did they decide to participate, and what do they expect from the game? The fighter said he wants to enjoy a fight not to life, but to death. The girl said seriously, she wants to give Chinese Kung Fu its former glory. Let the majority come the way of martial arts. The host said that now it was time for the main character to answer. Yue Bin decided to tell everyone the reason for his participation in the fight. Shi assumed to himself that the guy would say that he wants to win and fight on. The main character told the audience that he wants to save up some money. He is participating because of the prize money. In the future, Yue Bin wants to become the new president of the association. The current president of the association was very much displeased because of the main character's words. The host said that current president Shi Zhenxiang is watching the game in real time. She checked with the guy to see if he really wants to become the president of this particular association. Yue Bing gave him a stern look and said that he thought it would be funny. The audience very surprised and amazed by this response of the main character. A fighter shouted that their president is the best. Sha is always thinking about how to continue to develop martial arts. The protagonist told his interlocutors strictly that he had something to add. Shu realized the guy was trying to justify himself. The main character turned around and ran sharply away. He said goodbye to the audience. The president was surprised and amazed. He realized that the protagonist wasn't putting anything seriously. A guy and his girlfriend went to a restaurant in the hotel building one night. Li told the girlfriend not to be angry. He apologized for the recent banquet. The guy told the girlfriend that he bought 2 tickets to the game to make it up to her. Lu suggested to his companion that she go and order some spicy food. The girl was overjoyed. The guy together with his girlfriend were walking inside the hotel. Suddenly, there was a big explosion from the side. After that, the girl flew in. There were ruins and dust all around. The girl held the tickets in her hands. She told herself quite enough that she would be able to come and support the protagonist. And his battered girlfriend lay unconscious in a pile of rocks. The protagonist was in the forbidden land of the 7 gates. He had an encounter with the warden. The warden told the lad thoughtfully that it would not be easy at all to see the memories of these lands. The interlocutor told the boy that 7 sinners were imprisoned in the forbidden land of the family. In their hands were martial arts techniques. Now their souls are sealed here forever without a chance to be reborn. The warden explained to the boy that the memories were flowing smoothly into his mind. He explained that the master had never tried to go outside before. The warden said there was another way. He explained to the boy that he had to help the master get rid of the obsession. The interlocutor demanded the guy to go to memories and find out as much as he could about Master He. He must save the man who is practicing national martial arts. A fighter came with bottles in his hands. He told Master Tsuyi that he had brought her a gift of wine that her family had made. He wanted to pray over the 7 gates. The master told the boy that he was still very young. She added that he should come back in a year. The girl looked at the guest and said that he could come here and improve his body. More training is waiting for the guy in the future. The guest cheerfully told his interlocutor that he too would one day become a great master like her. The fighters laughed. They told the boy of the year that to become a master, he must practice martial arts a lot. At that time, soldiers appeared at the entrance to the manor. Someone shouted that Tai Jun had arrived. A man in a military uniform appeared. The servant told his commander that the man who defeated their people with the Hwago martial art was here. The man shouted angrily to the soldiers to greet the army commander, Mr. Ueyama. He said that a couple of days ago, people had broken into the commander's residence and wanted to kill him. The man's name was Zhou Deqiang. He reported that one of the attackers of the commander was a martial arts master. Zhou said that the man who participated in the rebel unit was the head of this martial arts dojo. The man told the fighters with a smile that the commander was very interested in Chinese martial arts. The girl got very excited. She realized that the people in front of her had killed the master. She wanted to settle accounts with the soldiers and kill them with a special technique. The master realized that her students could be killed by the bullets of the soldiers. She realized that now she had to hold back. The time for revenge would come. The soldiers brought in a large box. Zhou explained that the commander had specially brought a copy as a gift. The girl became very excited. The bird was chained and couldn't fly. It put its head down. Chu was very angry when she saw the stork. She could no longer contain her anger. The master told her interlocutors that she would not meet the invaders. She shouted for them to leave. Zhou shouted fearfully to the commander to get out. The man replied that they should leave now. The soldiers, along with the commander, left the sect building and stopped in the forest. Zhou was displeased. He couldn't understand how the Tsui girl dared to put them out the door. He angrily asked the commander what to do now. The man said the girl had special skills. He explained that they needed to request Empire reinforcements. At that time, a warrior came from the side. He told the commander that he knew how to kill the master. Zhou was surprised when he saw the warrior. Ichiro Fujishima stood next to the commander. He was Fujishima Shenwu's successor. The commander asked his interlocutor how many men he needed. The man angrily replied to the commander that he would deal with his rival himself. He promised that the girl would report to the commander herself in 3 days. The master walked lonely down the street. She was carrying a watermelon in her hands. She thought to herself sadly. It became unbearable for people to live after the Kwantung army came. The girl told herself that her students must like watermelon. A young fighter came running up from the side. He shouted fearfully to Master Tsuyu that the dojo had been destroyed and asked her to go back. Chu was very frightened. She realized that she had to go back to the manor. That day in the dojo of the seven-formed crane fist, 20 people died horrible deaths. The girl looked at her dead pupils. She remembered their thoughts and plans for the future. Chu asked the student who attacked them. The guy said fearfully that a Japanese soldier came and killed 24 students alone. He also took a couple of guys with him and left a message. The soldier told the girl that if she wanted the hostages to stay alive, she must come to the Kwantung Army headquarters alone. The commander has something important to discuss with her. The master and his subordinate came to the cemetery. There were the graves of the disciples. A guy asked a girl to take him on as an apprentice. He wanted revenge for the dead heroes. The girl told the yearling to go home. She explained that the seven-formed crane dojo would never accept students again. The master at the grave of her pupils promised that she would repay them in full. It was late in the evening. The protagonist and his girlfriend were in a hotel. Yuebin was sitting on the bed. He told the girlfriend that he had dreamed of master's memories. The girlfriend was asleep at this time. Xiao was communicating with her master through her sleep. The main character realized that his girlfriend was training even in her sleep. He was glad that he had such a student. Yue Bing looked at the girl and realized that he would definitely protect her. He decided that he had to make sure that the tragedy of the seven-formed fist would never happen again. The protagonist looked thoughtfully at his girlfriend. He realized that he should definitely do this. Xiao Yu wrapped both her arms and legs around the protagonist. She was still deeply asleep. The main character felt that the girl used a technique called the key to death against him. At that time, a girl came to the presidential suite. Guest asked the Shay president what he invited her to his room at night for. She explained that she didn't like weak, ugly men. The president angrily told the interlocutor to see in what condition her son was. He explained that he had invited the girl to talk about something. The guest lifted her clothes. She was wearing a gun. She said she needed these tools. Shay was surprised because of the fact that the girl had a lot of weapons under her skirt. The man told the interviewer that he needed her help to ruin Yuebin's reputation. The man told the sly girl to act on his plan. In the end, she would be able to win without a fight. The president offered his interlocutor a win-win solution. He told the girl not to refuse his offer. The guest said that she refused. She explained that she could not tolerate ugly men. The man became very angry. He shouted at the girl to think before answering. Shui told the interlocutor excitedly that she was participating in a competition like martial arts. He promised to help her if she agreed to cooperate. The guest told the interlocutor to stop. Shi reminded the girl that he was the president of an influential martial arts association. He explained that he could restore Baiyun Tai Chi to its former glory. She threatened that if he contacted the protagonist before she did, she would beat him to a pulp. The girl said goodbye to the man that she would realize her plans. The man was angrily pleased. He realized that the protagonist would lose all his glory tomorrow. The president's son was also pleased. He couldn't speak. The next day, there was to be a fight in the hotel building. The host invited the guests to the second day of the tournament. The semifinals and finals were to take place. The girl said admiringly that the martial arts convention had turned out to be great. The girl noticed the main character with her. She realized that the guy had a confident gait. The announcer said that the first match was starting. Yue Bing was up against Jiang Qixin. It was announced that the first fight was about to begin. The protagonist stood in the ring opposite his opponent. Viewers were startled to notice that something was wrong with the girl. The contestant pressed her hands to her stomach as if something was hurting her. The president was overjoyed. He hoped his plan for revenge would come to fruition today. Last night, Shu explained to Jiang that she should pretend to be sick when she goes on stage. The main character will ask the girl what's wrong. Before the fight, the contestant pointed to the protagonist and said that he had been in her room last night. The guy had spiked her with poison. The rival accused the protagonist of resorting to tricks to win. The president told the girl that he would be on stage at the fight and could help sort out the situation. Last night, a man hired an actor. He took pictures of him so it looked like Yue Bing wanted to go into the girl's room. She explained to the girl that if you use criminal methods before a fight, it's a violation of the rules. As a result, the protagonist will be disqualified. The protagonist looked at his rival completely calmly. He asked if she was okay. Jiang wanted to accuse the guy of poisoning her. Yue Bin absolutely did not listen to his opponent. He hit her with his hand from behind. The guy crushed the girl without any emotion. He told Jiang in a calm voice that if she was sick, she should go to the hospital and drink lots of hot water.